Chapter 1, The Baby is Going to Find Mommy. Dongchang, a villa community in the depths of Lotus Flower. As Huo Jue arrives home, the butler reports, "Young master, young miss was called to the principal's office again today." Huo Jue tugs at his tie and says lowly, "What did she do this time?" "She hit a child at kindergarten." "It's always the same thing." As Huo Jue enters the house, he changes into his slippers and stomps in. Qiuqiu, with two little pigtails, runs up to him, clutching a big apple. "Dad, you're home. Have an apple." Huo Jue, stand against the wall. "Okay, Dad." Qiuqiu immediately runs up against the wall, gives his father a salute, and is not afraid of Huo Jue at all. Huo Jue's handsome face was helpless and affectionate. He took the apple and said, "You went to kindergarten for 4 days and beat up 3 kids. What did you want to do?" Qiuqiu waved his hands repeatedly. "Dad, I've been a good boy. They deserved to be beaten. They laughed at me because I didn't have a mommy. Of course I had to beat them up." Qiuqiu has never had a mother since he was born. Until now, at the age of 3.5, he has never enjoyed a single day of maternal love. When Huo Jue heard this, his heart softened. He crouched down, and Bulbul threw him 2 kisses, smiling, and her smile created 2 cute dimples. "Daddy is so handsome." Huo Jue raised the corners of his lips. "You little rascal, you are so smooth talking." "It's because Daddy taught you well. I didn't teach you to fight." Bulbul clenched her fists. "A baby has to be strong, and when I grow up, I'll protect Daddy." Huo Jue was once again won over by her. Every time the child made a mistake, she would coax him like this, and it always worked. Like the woman who deceived him in the beginning, she was sweet-talking and heartless. He picked her up and said, "No hitting. Tomorrow, I'll ask the butler to take you out to find your mother. No matter who you like, as long as you are willing to call her mother, I will marry her and give her everything I have, as long as she loves you." "Dad, can I really find my mommy by myself?" "Yes." "Wow." Bulbul excitedly shook her head and legs, hugging Huo Jue's face and kissing him fiercely. Huo Jue chuckled and carried his daughter upstairs, coaxing her to take a bath, eat, study, and go to bed. Night fell, and there was silence. He took out the long-cherished photo. The woman in the photo had rosy lips and white teeth, charming and alluring, with a smile flying at the corners of her lips and 2 charming dimples. There was also a mole on the right shoulder. It had been 3.5 years since she disappeared, leaving him and his newborn daughter behind. He had never been able to find her, and he probably would never see her again. So he would not wait any longer. He would marry a woman that Qiuqiu liked, and give Qiuqiu a complete family. The next day, Qiuqiu threw her school bag into the pond, grumbling, "Today, I don't need to go to school." She was going to find her mother. The butler was at a loss for words. She threw her school bag away as soon as he opened the car door for her. "She really doesn't like studying. She's got that from someone. The young master has always been a top student." Balls went on the car, all the way excited, face pressed against the glass, mouth kept saying "Mom," eyes staring at every girl passing by. However, Balls didn't find her favorite, and the butler took her to the mall and the pedestrian street to stake out for a whole day, but there was no result. When it was time to go home, Bao Bao saw a pet shop and perked up. She insisted on going in to have a look. The housekeeper had no choice but to carry her there. "Welcome." A young and pretty girl came over, smiling with dimples on her lips. "May I help you? We have all the cats and dogs on the market here." "Mummy." Bao Bao pointed at her and called, "Mummy." "Mommy, Mommy, I'm Bulbul, I'm your daughter." Bulbul reaches out for a hug, and the girl, confused, takes her in her arms. She laughs, "I'm not your mommy, I'm not even married." "Miss Sure, your butler is shocked." "My name isn't Sure, it's Su Yao." She wonders why these two are acting so strangely. While Bulbul wraps her arms around Su Yao's neck, her round, beady eyes fixed on her, and says sweetly, "Mommy, don't you remember me?" "I remember everything. When I was in Mommy's tummy, Mommy talked to me, and I remember her voice." Suyu thought the child must really want his real mother, so he talked nonsense. "My dear, I really am not your mommy." She was afraid that the child would cry, so she gave him a silver gradient cat to play with. "Here, play with this for a while." Qiuqiu petted the cat while also petting the back of Suyu's head, looking at the cat and then Suyu alternately. It was so cute. Su Yao laughed, "You little brat, you miss your mommy. Call your mommy. Auntie really has never had a cuter baby than you." Qiuqiu didn't hear a word of this. She was thinking that she had to get her father to marry her mommy. She liked this mommy anyway. The butler was standing there, wondering to himself, is she really not Miss Sure? She obviously has the same face and the same dimples, so why did she say her name was Su Yao? It seems that this matter needs to be investigated. Grandpa, buy all the cats here and take them home. Qiuqiu gave the order. She couldn't let her mother get tired. The butler bought them. Su Yao was at a loss for words as she went to complete the relevant procedures. Before leaving, she gave Qiuqiu a cat figurine she had knitted from cat hair. Mommy, Qiuqiu will come and see you again tomorrow. Goodbye, Mommy. Qiuqiu stood at the door of her own nanny car and waved goodbye to Su Yao. Okay, bye. Su Yao didn't correct her either. It was useless to correct her at such a young age. Just let her be. The child mistook the wrong person. She is still a little virgin. The housekeeper bowed to her, and Miss Su said goodbye. Su Yao quickly returned the bow, goodbye. They left and the shop was emptied. Su Yao closed the shop and went home. Her place was a 10-minute drive away. She didn't have enough money to buy a car, so she rode an electric bicycle with a helmet. The ordinary residential building was 2 blocks away, and she lived on the 6th floor of a 7-story building without an elevator. As soon as she entered, the phone rang. It was her boyfriend. By Su. Her sweet, syrupy voice came with the sound of the lights turning on. Little grapefruit, come to my house tomorrow and meet your future mother-in-law. What? So soon? We've only been dating for less than 6 months. It's okay. Bai Su wanted to hold hands after almost 6 months of dating, and they hadn't even kissed yet. He wanted to get married quickly and do other things. After getting married, she would have to agree to be affectionate with him. I can't wait to start a family with you. My mother is very kind, so don't worry. Tomorrow, dress up nicely, because a lot of relatives are coming to my house, including distant cousins. Okay. After hanging up the phone, Su Yao became anxious and was nervous, so she didn't sleep well that night. The next morning, she went shopping for clothes, found someone to do her makeup, and had her hands pampered. At 5 p.m., Bai Su came to pick her up. Bai Su was very satisfied with her outfit, which was fresh and gentle, and very appealing. Bai Su wanted to make out with her for a while. In his eyes, a soft and weak girl like Su Yao must taste very good. Su Yao refused, and Bai Su didn't want to do anything forcefully in the car, so he gave up. Bai Su's family lives in a self-built villa community in a more remote area. It has 3 floors and more than 500 square meters in total. Since his relatives and friends had not yet arrived, Su Yao also met Bai Su's mother. Outside, vehicles kept entering one after the other, and when his relatives and friends arrived, Bai Su went out to greet them. Bai Su's mother, Jiaoyi, saw that her son looked at Su Yao a little differently after he left, and she did not like Su Yao very much. She glanced at Su Yao and said, "Go, help me get some fruit from the kitchen." Su Xiao did not refuse this trivial matter, okay. Outside. Bai Su ran over to Qiuqiu and took the initiative to open the car door. This was their wealthiest relative, so they could not afford to be rude. Cousin. The man got out of the car, dressed in a suit, and looked extraordinary. Cousin, congratulations. Thanks, cousin. Where's the ball? Huo Jue sighed, fighting with 20 cats at home again. Chapter 2. A cold voice came from the doorway. Bai Su had never met Ball before, but he had heard about him from his mother. After all, the Bai and Hua families were worlds apart in terms of wealth, power, and status. The Hua family lived in the city center, where land was at a premium, while the Bai family lived in a remote self-built villa. So they didn't get around much. This time, Huo Jue also came at his grandmother's behest. Cousin, you'd better hurry up and find Ball a mother, otherwise Ball will have psychological problems. Huo Jue gave a flat him and had no intention of talking to Bai Su in depth. He remembered how last night, Ball had jumped up and down, tossing and turning, unable to sleep, saying that he had seen his mommy, and that she had bought him lots of cat things, and that she was going to go find her mommy again today. Huo Jue thought that if Ball liked the pet shop owner so much, he might as well get to know her and marry her. These days, it didn't matter who he married. Go inside. Cousin, go upstairs, my father is waiting for you in the study. Okay. The two of them went upstairs together. When Huo Jue disappeared around the corner, Su Yao came out of the kitchen with the strawberries. Su Yao and Jiaoyi took the fruit into the living room. Zhao asked, Miss Su, what does your family do? Su Yao said, my father owns a repair shop. My mother had a serious illness a few years ago and hasn't been able to speak since. Is she mute? Su Yao felt that Zhao Yi's words already carried a hint of contempt, and she felt that she might be oversensitive, so she nodded. Zhao Yi took a sharp intake of breath. She thought that this Su Yao's family must at least be in business, so how could they be so poor? So, her dislike for her deepened, and she didn't even bother to pretend anymore. Meme laughed, does your father repair electric cars or cars? Isn't a repairman very dirty every day, covered in oil, and you can smell it from afar, and you can't wash it off? If you're so poor, if Shuer can marry you, won't your family be of no help to Shuer's future? Won't it even drag him down? Su Yao felt insulted by her, and said sternly, Auntie, what do you mean? What I mean is that you're not good enough for our family. I don't look down on people from the lower classes. As long as the poor people don't get involved with our Shuer, I might give them a hand if I meet them, but I'll never marry them. That is, Shuer is so infatuated that he insists on bringing you here. You are not good enough for my son. Name your price, as long as it is not too much, I will give it to you. Take it back and help your parents. Tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars is just pocket change for my family. Just look at how much you are worth. Su Yao bit her back molars and said, why don't you just donate the money and do some good deeds? You. Su Yao didn't speak to him again. She went to the bathroom. She needed to calm down. She never expected to be insulted like this by her mother when she first came to her boyfriend's house. It seems that she and Bai Su can't go any further either. She had just walked past the corner of the sofa when Huo Jue came down the stairs. He walked from the dark corner to the stairs, and in the corner of his eye he saw a white dress fluttering, like a white swan gliding across the azure lake, leaving layers of beauty. He tilted his head to look, and froze. Shireen? Impossible, how could she be here? In a flash of realization, she had disappeared from view, only a fleeting glimpse. His eyebrows tightened. Xiao Hua. Zhao Yi smiled at Huo Jue in a most ingratiating manner. How are your grandmother and your mother? Huo Jue came downstairs. Aunt Zhao, they are both fine. Who was that just now? Oh, that was Suer's girlfriend. A child with no manners. I don't know why Suer would fancy her. Huo Jue, what's her name? Su Yao. Su Yao? Then it can't be her. Huo Jue rubbed his nose, which had become a little swollen, and thought that he might have been hallucinating. Aunt Zhao, I'm going out to make a phone call. Okay. Huo Jue left the living room. Zhao Yi went upstairs. She pulled Bai Su onto the balcony of the guest room, opened the window, and spoke in a position where she was sure Su Yao in the bathroom downstairs could hear them. Zhao Yi, are you really planning to marry Su Yao? She's poor and uneducated, what's so good about her? I introduced you to Miss Li last time, you two met and even had dinner together, she has a good impression of you. Su Yao in the bathroom heard every word clearly. Zhao Yi had introduced Bai Su to someone? They had met? How come she didn't know about it? Bai Su, Mom, I like clean virgins. Miss Li has had a boyfriend before, and I don't want to touch her. Su Yao is a virgin? Well, she's silly, and her family isn't well off. No one else wants her but me. Su Yao's pupils dilated. What? She couldn't believe that these words came from Bai Su, who had always said that he liked her. His words hurt her far more than Zhao Yi's had. Her emotions were in turmoil, and her heart ached. Mom, don't worry, I can weigh the pros and cons. I'll marry Su Yao off with a big show, and in 6 months at the most, I'll divorce her once I'm done with her. She's easy to talk to, and I'll just give her some money to settle it. As for Miss Li, I'll keep in touch with her during this time. It's a bit dirty, but I'll bear it. Bai Su has been chasing Su Yao for more than half a year, and finally got her. He has been acting like a gentleman in front of her for so long, and now he wants to have sex. Su Yao has been refusing, and he doesn't want to force her, because that would be no fun. He likes the kind of bedroom antics where you take from each other, like with his ex-girlfriend. So he wants to marry Su Yao, because he can still divorce her anyway. He'll play fair and have his fun first. He absolutely has to marry her, and he wants Su Yao's virginity. Zhao Yi was satisfied. Good son, you're so clever. Let Miss Li fix it up in the future. The main thing is that the alliance will be helpful to you. I understand. The two returned to the front yard, and Zhao Yi glanced at the location of the bathroom and sneered. The poor look should have heard it. Don't think about getting something for nothing. Her son doesn't really like her either. He just wants her body. She'd better wise up and get out on her own. Don't even get married. She doesn't want to spend a fortune on a wedding for a daughter-in-law she doesn't like, and she will only reluctantly agree to let her come over if Su Zi pays for the wedding banquet. Su Zi washed her face with cold water 3 times in a row, and she no longer cared if her makeup would smudge. She could only rely on the cold water temperature to control her pounding heart and the stabbing pain. Even though she had only been dating Bai Su for 5 months and they had never had sex, she had seriously invested in the relationship, only to be so insulted by him in the end. Why get married? Why not just break up with her? Why lie to her and tease her like that? She happened to see Bai Su sitting on the sofa with his back to her, talking on the phone. She couldn't hear what he was saying, but from his body language, she could tell that the person on the other end of the line must be a woman. After a while, Bai Su finished chatting and turned his head to see Su Yao. He looked a little guilty. He had just been talking to Miss Li, and they had arranged to have dinner tomorrow. I said, "Why are you standing behind me, eavesdropping?" Su Yao put her hand in her pocket. Her pretty, soft face had a restraint and calmness that Bai Su had never seen before. "It's for the best that we break up, Bai Su. From now on, you're not my boyfriend anymore." Bai Su's voice couldn't help but rise. "What did you say?" He was panicking inside. He hadn't even achieved his goal yet, so how could they break up? What was this woman doing? He grabbed her wrist, got tired of talking, and dragged her upstairs to the bedroom to sort things out. If they were going to break up, fine, but he hadn't even gotten a kiss in 4 or 5 months, and he was going to get some flesh before they broke up. "Bai Su, what are you doing?" "Su Yao, don't pretend you don't know what's going on. I'm not breaking up with you, come upstairs with me." "I'm not going." Zhao Yi appeared out of nowhere and helped push. "My son is your world, so you have to listen to him and go upstairs." The two of them thus forced Su Yao up the stairs. Su Yao was a little panicked. She felt that Bai Su's tug had a sense of destruction, and she sensed danger was imminent. Just at this critical moment, a deep and cold voice came from the doorway. "Cousin, what are you doing?" Chapter 3, I'm here, so no one will dare touch you. Bai Su turned his head. "Cousin, my girlfriend and I are just messing around in my room, so you go and sit in the living room for a while." Zhao Yi, right, they're just messing around. Huo Jue didn't want to get involved in other people's business, and perhaps it really was just some childish couple's prank, so he didn't ask any further questions. At that moment, Su Yao screamed, "Help, help me." She desperately looked up, her hair hanging down in her face, revealing a pale chin. Just her chin was enough. Huo Jue saw her, and it was her. "Cousin, we're going up." Bai Su took 3 steps for every stair, trying to quickly escape from her cousin. "Stop!" A stern shout. Bai Su stopped. "Cousin?" Huo Jue went up at breakneck speed, one hand on Bai Su's shoulder, the other grabbing Su Yao and half carrying her in his arms. It was her. The same touch in his arms, the same softness. She's back. She's Shireen. But how could Shireen be Shireen's girlfriend? How could Shireen even look at Shireen? "Cousin, don't hug her, give her to me, I'll take her to the bedroom." A scream was followed by a splash. Shireen fell headfirst down the stairs, and Huo Jue withdrew his hand. Zhao Yi ran over in panic. Su. Huo Jue pretended not to hear and patted Su Yao on the back to comfort her. "Don't be afraid, I'm here, I'll see who dares to touch you." Su Yao, oh. He's hurting her. She struggled, but he held her tighter. Who is he? He's acting so strangely. He can't be another pervert. Su Yao was hugged by him as they walked downstairs. Bai Su's teeth gritted from the pain, and Zhao Yi looked at Huo Jue. She wanted to question him, but was afraid to. Then, in a tone that sounded like she was flattering him, she said, "Young Hua, you pushed my son." Huo Jue looked at Bai Su condescendingly and said coldly, "Aunt Zhao, I lost my grip." "Oh, I knew you were an accident, not intentional. If I didn't make a mistake, my cousin would have already died." Zhao Yi drew a breath. What? Huo Jue's eyes were dark and sharp. "What do you two want?" Zhao Yi was completely unassuming in the face of Huo Jue, and became inarticulate. "Nothing, just a little lovers playing." Su Yao grabbed Huo Jue's shirt and, in his arms, her face flushed with anger, her tone firm, "We're not lovers. I just broke up with you. You two are conspiring against me. You want to carry me upstairs. I don't know if you want to kill me or rape me." Zhao yelled, "Don't talk nonsense." Huo Jue let out a short, threatening syllable from his nose. "What are you yelling about?" Zhao suddenly felt short of breath and her voice instantly became smaller. "Little Hua, we really didn't." Huo Jue gave another glance, and Zhao quickly shut up. Huo Jue bowed his head, and Su Yao looked up at him. The breath of the two of them mingled, creating a subtle, hot air current. Su Yao pursed her lips, feeling that this man's gaze was like a whirlpool, able to sink people in, and quickly averted her gaze. Huo Jue said to her white face, "What do you want them to do?" Su Yao gently pushed him, and Huo Jue let go very understandingly. Su Yao walked up to Bai Su, who was still angry when he looked at her. However, before he could speak, Su Yao kicked him in the chest, and Bai Su fell to the ground in pain once again. Zhao was about to go up and punch Su Yao, when Huo Jue's low voice sounded like a stone hitting the ground. "Aunt Zhao." Zhao didn't dare to move, and started to act pitiful. Why did she want to hit Su'er? Su Yao held her hand, her patience making her veins stand out, because he deserves it. "You." "Bai Su, from now on we are like bridge and road, don't ever show your face to me again, you scum." Bai Su was too in pain to speak, and Su Yao looked at Zhao again. "In the eyes of my parents you are the pediculosus pubis under the Chong Sam, evil and vicious." Zhao Yi's anger overwhelmed her, and she fainted for a moment. Su Yao finished speaking and left, and Huo Jue grabbed her wrist. Her strong masculine scent wrapped her in a sense of security. "Don't want to hear them apologize to you?" Su Yao leaned into him. "Yes." "Okay." Huo Jue's gaze followed suit and lowered, fixed on Bai Su and Zhao. "Apologize." Zhao definitely didn't want to apologize to Su Yao. But Huo Jue was standing in front of her like a mountain, suppressing her arrogance. She weighed the consequences of offending him. It was too much to offend. She had no choice but to agree. "I'm sorry, Miss Su. It's my fault." Su Yao didn't want to accept her apology, but as she tilted her head, she accidentally buried her face in the chest of this strange man. A nice smell came to her nose, familiar but not, as if she had smelled it somewhere before. But on second thought, she hadn't. She had never even met him, so how could she have smelled him before? Huo Jue shifted his gaze to Bai Su, his meaning clear, waiting for him to speak. Zhao smiled apologetically. "No need, Su'er is in so much pain that he can't even stand up." "Then kneel down and talk." Bai Su. Zhao was 100 times reluctant, but she had to coax Bai Su. After coaxing for a while, Bai Su reluctantly said, "I'm sorry, Xiao Yu, I scared you." He was suffocating, and Su Yao was too good for him to kneel. "Huo Jue, from now on, our Hua family has no relatives like you. Also, don't let me see you bothering her in the future, or I'll raise this place to the ground." He dragged Su Yao out. Su Yao's throat was choked, and her nose ran several times. If she hadn't really wanted to live a good life with Bai Su, she wouldn't have appeared in his house today, and as a result, she was stripped of her skin and bloodied by what he did. When Huo Jue got her into the passenger seat and fastened her seatbelt, he saw her red eyes. How could Shireen cry? She is the kind of arrogant woman who will give you an inch and take a mile, who will give you a mile and take your head. When has she ever shed a tear? Huo Jue's throat felt hot, and he muttered, "Shireen." Su Yao sniffed, looked up, and her clear black and white eyes were misty. "What did you call me?" "I'm not Shireen." Huo Jue looked at her without saying a word, his eyes crumbling and shaking. "Why are you looking at me?" Su Yao sniffed again. Huo Jue whispered, "Don't cry." "How could I? I would never cry." Huo Jue fastened her seatbelt, and Su Yao leaned back, clinging to the seat in case he touched her. Huo Jue's eyes darkened. After they exited the suburbs and saw the bus stop, Su Yao said, "Thank you so much today. You can let me off at the bus stop up ahead. I'll take a ride back." Huo Jue missed 4 bus stops in a row as if he hadn't heard her. Finally, they entered the city and parked in front of a building. Su Yao was anxious. He had just been bullied by that scumbag Bai Su, and now this guy was not going to do. What did he want? "Sir, where are you taking me?" "Although you saved me." Huo Jue's hand was on the steering wheel, and he squeezed it quietly. Interrupting her, "Don't you know my name?" "Ha? We just met for the first time, how would I know your name?" "Ji." The harsh sound of the brakes was deafening, and the Cayenne stopped in the street. The sunlight was blinding, and through the car window it fell onto Huo Jue's dark eyes, seeing his restraint crumble and shake. "You said we met for the first time?" "Of course. What's wrong with you?" Huo Jue's thin lips opened and closed a few times, and then he slammed his eyes shut. Shireen, have you lost your memory or are you pretending not to know me? Huo Jue didn't believe it. There was no way in the world that there could be someone exactly like Shireen who wasn't Shireen. Who has lost their memory? I haven't lost my memory at all. I really don't know you. You're looking for the real Shireen. Why is she the same as that old man yesterday? That old man also called her Miss Shireen. Could it be that she looks a lot like Shireen? She opened the door and got out of the car. He took her hand, pulled her back, and pulled her collar down, revealing a large expanse of snow-white skin. The sexy mole on her right shoulder suddenly came into view. Chapter 4, Huo Jue, you have a heart of ice. Su Yao covered her chest with her hands. What are you doing? That mole was a calming incense to Huo Jue's heart, calming his spirit and confusing his soul. Shireen. His hoarse voice was calling her, and the person in his heart. The person in front of him was Shireen, but his words and actions were a million miles away from Shireen's. Su Yao slapped his hand away. You rascal, you said you weren't Shireen, but you just want to take advantage of me, don't you? She pushed open the car door again, but Huo Jue grabbed her again. Su Yao screamed in fright and bit him on the wrist. Her sharp teeth made Huo Jue's hand bleed. Su Yao bit and ran. Huo Jue didn't care about the injury on his hand at all and got out of the car. Shireen. I'm not Shireen, if you keep this up I'll call the police. Huo Jue endured. Calm down, be careful, don't run, I'm not going to chase you. He walked towards her. I'll take you home. You stop. Su Yao backed up, her eyes full of caution. Don't come near me, you, and I don't have a home. Huo Jue stopped, hissing. We used to live on the top floor, have you forgotten? Su Yao looked up at the roof of this building. Holy shit, it's so high, straight into the clouds. It's such an expensive location, the roof is even more expensive, she can't afford it. Su Yao felt that he must be having a problem with his brain. There must be a limit to mistaken identity. She didn't bother arguing with him anymore and retreated first. If we meet again by chance, I'll pay for your medical expenses. She saw Huo Jue about to approach her again, so she let out a woof and turned around and ran. Huo Jue saw her hurriedly fleeing figure and his thin lips tightened up. Why had Shireen become like this? She didn't seem to be faking her memory loss, it seemed like it was real. What happened to her during the 3 years she disappeared? How was he supposed to convince himself that a woman who had disappeared for more than 3 years was standing in front of him, but had a new boyfriend and didn't know him at all? Get in the car. Get your phone and make a call, find out where a person named Su Yao lives and what she does for a living. I want all her information for the past 4 years, in detail. Qiuqiu started up again and returned to the villa deep in the lotus flowers. Stand still, all of you. If anyone shits again, I'll sew up their butts. Qiuqiu stood in the courtyard, holding a ruler in her hand and a head full of cat hair on her head. In front of her was a row of cats, lying down and standing up, obviously not convinced. It's Qiuqiu's fault. I'll get a knife. I'll scare you, ha. She ran, but before she could take 2 steps, she was picked up by Huo Jue, who brushed the cat hair off her head and looked at her lovingly. How can you fight with cats, idiot? I'm not stupid, I want to tame them. Huo Jue stroked her face, his heart aching. Dad saw your mom today. He didn't say the last 2 words. He was afraid of giving his daughter hope and then disappointing her. Shireen was no longer the same as before. She didn't recognize him, and she wouldn't recognize her own daughter. What did Dad see? He saw a particularly beautiful dress, and tomorrow Dad will take you to buy it. Okay, Dad. Qiuqiu was excited again, and her dimples reappeared. Dad, can I go find Mummy today? No. Huo Jue whispered, you can't just recognize Mummy, and Dad doesn't want to just marry her. When Qiuqiu heard this, her eyes reddened. She cried out in a small quaver, I want Mummy, and I'm going to find Mummy. When Qiuqiu became stubborn, Huo Jue could do nothing about her. She cried silently, sat on the sofa without saying a word, and refused to eat or drink. She was determined to find her mother, whom she had never met. Huo Jue felt distressed, but he didn't want his daughter to call just any woman mom. If she hadn't met Shireen, Huo Jue would have agreed. He thought she would never show up, but she appeared before him today. He no longer wanted to settle for less. Huo Jue went to the office, and he didn't feel distressed when he couldn't see her. As soon as he left, Qiuqiu wiped away her tears. Huo Jue, you have a heart of stone. She said angrily, clenching her fists, and he was actually unmoved by her crying for so long. Dad's gone, so I'm not going to pretend anymore. I'm starving, so I'm going to find something to eat first. After I eat, I have to find a way to sneak out. I don't care what happens, I just want to find my mommy. Since Dad's not home anyway, she snuck out. The housekeeper, Grandpa, had taken the day off and was not there either, so she went to find the security guard. The security guard took her out into the street, but when they got there, she was at a loss. She only knew that her mother's shop was a pet shop, but she had no idea how to get there. The housekeeper, Grandpa, could not be reached by phone either, and she could not find out from the housekeeper, Grandpa. The two security guards drove her around in the car for a while and then went back. Qiuqiu was so angry that she sat in the back seat, puffing up her cheeks and saying, Huo Jue can really be annoying. Her head was buzzing with anger. When she saw the fried chicken restaurant, her head stopped buzzing, and she started dancing and gulping. This is a delicious food on earth that Huo Jue forbids her to eat. If she wants to eat it, she has to eat it. Huo Mansion. Huo Jue sat at his desk, a cigarette in his hand, the butt not lit, his eyes half closed, his mind on the radiant Shireen from the past and the timid and weak Su Yao from the present. Soon after, his subordinates sent over Su Yao's personal information. Su Yao, female, 25 years old, originally from Suzhou, grew up there since childhood, moved to Dongcheng with her parents a year and a half ago, currently living off a pet shop. This information report had nothing to do with Shireen, who Huo Jue knew. Except for the age, nothing else matched. But she was Shireen, the birthmark was the same, the voice was the same, the facial features, height, everything was the same. Why is her name Su Yao, and why does she have such a fake personal information? There is only one possibility: the information she put on the market that can be found is all fake, in order to hide her real identity. He thought, this has a lot to do with her amnesia. Further down there is her romantic relationship with Bai Su. They met last year and confirmed their relationship in April this year. However, when Bai Su was with Su Yao, he was also having an illicit relationship with 3 other women at the same time. Huo Jue took the car keys and left the company. He went to the pet shop according to the investigation. The door was closed. He waited for a long time outside, but she still didn't come. At 10 o'clock, Huo Jue thought he should go home. His daughter was still there. She had been in a bad mood earlier, so he had to go back and comfort her. It was impossible for his daughter not to eat. He understood her. He wondered what she would do if he wasn't home to ask the maid to cook for her. Having inherited the true essence of Shireen, he relied on his mouth to get by in the world. Just as he was about to leave, the woman in the off-white home furnishings caught his eye. Huo Jue looked at her without a trace of emotion. The breeze was warm, the night was gentle, and her slender figure passed through the light of the brilliant dusk, taking root in his eyes. She felt for the keys in her bag and opened the shuttered shop. Huo Jue went up to help. Su Yao felt the breath of the man as he handed her the keys, and she turned her head. Why is it you again? Chapter 5. Huo Jue gave a half smile and said, Yes, you are very beautiful. The shutter slowly rose, and the 2 silhouettes, one tall and one short, were reflected in the glass door. Huo Jue said, I was just passing by. Su Yao looked at his hand and used 2 band-aids to cover it. Today, he saved her life, and she bit him in return. She felt bad about it, so she didn't chase him away. She went in and turned on the lights. The shop was not big, about 50 square meters. There were no dogs or cats to be seen, and it was very quiet. You can sit down, Su Yao said lightly before getting busy with herself. After returning from Bai Su's house, Su Yao went home and threw away all the gifts Bai Su had given her. The dress she was wearing had been touched by him, and she threw it into the trash can as well. She had never been in love before, and Bai Su was the first person she had ever been in love with. She was heartbroken, and he was the kind of scumbag who had no bottom line. She was also annoyed and blamed herself for not seeing him clearly sooner. Fortunately, it's not too late. She is stronger than she thought, and she thought she would burst into tears when she got home, but she has no desire to cry, just a feeling of stuffiness in her chest. She has an order to fill tonight, and she can't stop working just because of that rotten man. She sits down and takes out her phone to call the customer, asking him to come pick up the dog food. Huo Jue watches her from a distance of 3 meters. She is Shireen, but she doesn't feel like it. When has Shireen ever had to work for a living? She is the second daughter of the Shi family, and she has never lacked money. Every gesture, every smile, was a gesture of waiting for someone to serve her, a chic gesture that exuded confidence from the core of her being and was full of charm. Now, she had to work overtime so late at night, and she had to work hard and travel a lot. Soon the customer arrived, a rotund man. That'll be 1,500 yuan. Su Yao handed him the cat food. There were also some dental sticks and a hair removal brush, and the cat litter was free. Why is it so expensive? Are you importing it? Su Yao stacked up a standard service smile. Everything is according to your requirements, all of it is imported, even this teething stick is from Switzerland, marked price, honest business. The price is 1,000. Su Yao's eyes widened. Sir, can you not bargain by looking at my heels? I told you the price before, you said it was okay, so I contacted my foreign friends to get it for you. This is really essential, I'm sorry. The man rolled up his sleeves, and Su Yao retreated guardedly. He said imperiously, I said it's 1,000 yuan, young lady. It's not that I'm bullying you, but I've bought this stuff before. I'll give you 1,000, and you'll make a profit. I'll take the goods, and I'll scan the payment to you later. He picked up an oversized shopping bag, used his phone to scan the payment code on the table, and walked out, not sure if he had scanned it or not. Stop. The voices of a man and a woman sounded at the same time. Su Yao heard him speak and turned his head, only then remembering that there was another man here. Huo Jue stood up straight and walked up to the man, jaw clear and cool temperament leaping out. He said, 1,500, I gave him the money. Who are you? He looked at Huo Jue. He was quite tall, but not as strong as him, and with a man like this, wouldn't he be overpowered with just one finger? He sneered immediately, I advise you to quickly disappear from my sight, otherwise I'll knock you out with one punch and you'll have to kneel down and beg for mercy. Huo Jue didn't show any emotion, raised his hand, and rotated his wrist slowly and carelessly. The man sneered and reached out to push Huo Jue away, get out of the way. Then. He didn't even see how Huo Jue struck. His speed was like a ghost. He grabbed him by the collar with two fingers and pulled down. The explosive force made him fall to his knees with a thud. He immediately let out a wail of pain, fell down, and his whole body hit the ground, his chin touching the ground again. Ah! Another scream. Su Yao saw this and quickly took the scanner and went up, squatting, and placed it in front of her. Her delicate eyebrows knitted. Brother, you still don't know, he has practiced and can kill a pig with one punch. I saw it with my own eyes last time. The pig screamed twice and went to the Western paradise with one punch. Who are you scolding? I'm not scolding, I'm just telling the truth. He really has practiced. What if he kills you by accident? The fat man looked sideways at Huo Jue's perfectly pressed suit trousers and shiny leather shoes, and his heart fluttered a little. Su Yao hurriedly said, hurry up and ask him to let you go, don't look at him, if he gets angry and gives you another kick in the back, will you be able to have children in the future? The fat man was taken aback. Huh? Hurry up. Huo Jue moved his foot in a threatening manner, his masculinity clearly on display. The fat man drew a breath, and, lying on his stomach, said to Huo Jue, I'm sorry, sir, please spare me. Huo Jue didn't say anything, and Su Yao looked up, turning her fair little face towards him and winking at him. Big brother, please forgive him. He used to take care of my business, never owed me any money, and was very good to me. Huo Jue really took care of you? Of course. Huo Jue, fine, I'll spare him for your sake, but if there's a next time, I'll make him wish he was dead. Su Yao gave him a thumbs up in appreciation, then lowered her head and changed her expression, worriedly saying, my big brother has a particularly bad temper, and when he gets angry, he doesn't care about family. Huo Jue. Su Yao, bow your head to him and pay him and then leave quickly. The fat man quickly took out his phone and paid the money, 1,500, not a penny less. After getting up, he took the dog food and limped out the door, and Su Yao said goodbye from the door, have a nice day, sir. After the man left, she turned around, her face showing a smile like a flower, walked up to Huo Jue, and gave him a thumbs up, well done, you're really something. Huo Jue saw that she was praising him, and his brows relaxed, it's you who cooperated well. Hey, there's nothing you can do as a small business owner you can't afford to offend any customer. Do you often get harassed like this? Su Yao covered her face, and nodded at Huo Jue with two round eyes, is it because I'm too beautiful? Huo Jue's thin lips were slightly hooked, as if he were smiling, yes, you are very beautiful. Su Yao took her hand away, she was joking. Hey, you can't follow me just because I'm pretty, I'm really not Shireen. Maybe you've forgotten. I haven't forgotten. Su Yao said seriously, I have never had amnesia. I remember things from when I was a child, I remember going to school, I remember my alma mater, I remember my past. I really have nothing to do with Shireen, and I have never had amnesia. Huo Jue didn't believe her. He wanted to see some telltale signs of lying on her face, but there was nothing to go on. She was telling the truth. But how was that possible? Chapter 6, You Don't Even Care About Me. Huo Jue knew that she was Shireen. Fine. Huo Jue didn't want to push her, and took his time, knowing that he would eventually find out the truth. Let's just say I mistook someone for someone else. He reached out his hand to her. Su Yao saw that his hand was long and strong, with clearly defined joints, and that it was clean and unadorned, looking like a hand she could hold. There was an okay bandage on the wrist that she had bitten. She shook his hand, and as soon as she did, his hand immediately tightened, wrapping her cold little hand tightly. Su Yao felt strange, and this skin contact, the transmission of temperature, made her heart feel a little numb. Su Yao, he called. She looked up, and her gaze crashed into his dark pupils, being absorbed by his depth. My name is Huo Jue, it's an honor to meet you. Su Yao drew back her hand and smiled politely. My name is Su Yao. It's a beautiful name. Thank you. Su Yao hurriedly avoided it, as she felt his gaze like it was going to melt her. Could it be that he really liked that Shireen? And he was so infatuated. A little guy came yesterday and bought all the cats here, so she had to organize some cat food and dog food. Before she could finish, Huo Jue said, Miss Su, I've bought all the cat food. What? It's already 10:30. Go home and rest early. I'll take all of this, I happen to have a cat at home. Su Yao smiled like she'd found money. Okay. The total for all the cat food was 30,000 yuan. Huo Jue scanned her QR code and soon the shop rang out with its stereotypical voice, 300,000 yuan has been credited to your account. Su Yao's eyes widened. Sir, you've given me too much. Huo Jue was unruffled. Sorry, I pressed an extra 0. I'll add you on WeChat and refund you. Huo Jue's eyes darkened, and he uttered a low note, okay. He sent the WeChat message, refunded the money, and the two parted ways. Huo Jue watched the slender and graceful back as she got on her little electric bike, full of energy and heading into the wind. He followed at a leisurely pace, seeing her enter the small community where the lights were not very bright, and watching her disappear into the night. The moonlight was beautiful tonight, and the wind was gentle. Huo Jue returned to his home and saw Qiuqiu in her pajamas doing somersaults excitedly in the house from afar. She was clutching a grilled chicken leg in her hand. When he parked the car in the yard and entered the living room, Qiuqiu was hugging a cat and lying on the sofa with her mouth agape, looking like she had been abandoned. Huo Jue walked over, and the chicken leg hid under the coffee table. He couldn't help but laugh, sat down next to her, looked down, and touched her face. Asleep? Qiuqiu immediately responded with a cat-like purr, startling the cat in her arms, which sprang out with a swish and glared at her, as if to say, What are you doing, scaring me? Huo Jue took Qiuqiu's hand, which still had crumbs on it from hastily wiping it on the paper, and gave her a wet paper towel to wipe it with. Just now, when they passed by the dessert shop and saw the red velvet cake, with the strawberry sauce almost spilling out of the bread, she had already started drooling, but she stubbornly refused to open her eyes. Huo Jue took a blanket and covered her up, telling her to go to sleep. He said that he would let Grandpa would take some cats to eat them some other day, because our cat shouldn't go hungry either. Bao Bao couldn't hold back any longer, opened her eyes and jumped towards Huo Jue. Give it to me. Huo Jue hugged her little meaty legs. Are you awake? Humph. Are you still angry? Humph, you wouldn't let me find Mummy, and you didn't care when I cried. The baby didn't even have dinner, and her tummy was rumbling with hunger, but you didn't care about me. As soon as she finished speaking, the cat dug out the chicken drumsticks that were hidden under the coffee table. The cat stood up and scratched Qiuqiu's bottom, as if to say, Go ahead, eat. Qiuqiu, she was so angry that she wanted to give the smelly cat a meow meow punch. Huo Jue didn't point out her mistake, petted her little head, picked her up and walked towards the kitchen, asking, Tell Daddy, where did you buy your cat from? From Mummy. Where is Mummy? She was so angry at Daddy today that her memory is bad and she can't think of it. In fact, she forgot and didn't know how to get there. If she hadn't forgotten, she wouldn't have been unable to find Mummy. Little brat. Huo Jue put her on a stool, made her a cup of formula, and carried her upstairs. Tomorrow, Dad will take you to find your mom together. I'm going to send her already. Mommy's pet shop is already empty, and she must be my daughter to do such a silly thing as buying all the cats at once. Qiuqiu gulped down the milk, her little eyes darting about. She's not silly, she just doesn't want her mom to get tired. We'll go with Dad tomorrow, Mommy's job is very dangerous, we have to protect her. Good Daddy. That night, Su Yao didn't sleep well. Bai Su's hurt was always a thorn in her heart. Even though she was in a good mood and calm, without being hysterical, it was a cancer hidden in her heart. Early in the morning, Su Yao transferred 5,000 yuan to her father, who worked fixing cars. She rode her bike to work, and halfway there, her father called. She answered on her headset. Su Yao, how are things with Bai Su? Didn't he say yesterday that he would take you to meet his parents? Su Yao was afraid that her parents were asking, but what was meant to be would still come. Bai Su had gone to her house several times when they were not dating, and his behavior was good, so her parents treated him very well. To be honest, Su Yao had not planned to accept Bai Su's pursuit. Her parents had pressured her, saying that they were getting old and her parents were not in good health, so someone had to take care of her. They lobbied her repeatedly to accept Bai Su, and Su Yao initially agreed to reassure her parents. Perhaps Bai Su was just too good at pretending, and she thought he was not bad. Although the two only saw each other once a week, he behaved very well. In the end, she was the one who was blind. Dad, I broke up with him. He is a complete liar. What happened? Tell me. He and your mother teamed up to bully me. If someone hadn't come to my rescue, I might not be able to stand here and call you right now. He is not a good person at all. That bastard, I was wrong to trust him. It's good that we broke up. Don't be sad, Dad. It's not good. Dad insisted that you be with him. Dad, don't say that. Su Yao saw two people standing in front of her shop, one big, one small, guarding the entrance. Dad, I have to go, I have a customer. Su Yao hung up the phone, and her electric bicycle rolled to a stop. Before she could get off, the little guy came running towards her like crazy. Mommy, finally, I get to see you. Su Yao picked her up and explained patiently, my dear, I'm not your. Before she could finish speaking, Qiuqiu let out a wail, crying out of sadness and excitement. While crying, she glanced over at her father, as if to say, Dad, I listened to you and saw my mom, so I hugged her and cried. Look how sad I am. Chapter 7, Demolish our kindergarten with a forklift. Su Yao, of course, did not notice this. She quickly picked up the little one and wiped her eyes, which were about to overflow with tears. Mommy. Qiuqiu's eyes squeezed shut and tears rolled down her face. She thought that if she behaved like this, her father would reward her with a big drumstick when they got home. Mommy, I miss you so much. Why didn't you come find me? Qiuqiu's chubby, soft hands wrapped around Su Yao's neck, and she sobbed. Her head of fluffy black hair was tied in a messy little bun, her skin was so tender it could be pinched, her pretty, round face was so captivating that people couldn't take their eyes off it, and her big, grape-sized eyes were overflowing with tears. I didn't mean to not look for you. She coaxed the little guy, going along with her words, don't cry. She got out of the car, but because she still had the baby in her arms, she couldn't hold the car steady. Huo Jue came over, put a hand on Su Yao's shoulder, and in an instant Su Yao felt the strength of a mature man's physique, with a strong sense of control. He took her half a meter away from the car. Huo Jue parked the car, and Su Yao handed him the keys as he opened the shop door. Su Yao held Qiuqiu and cooed at her, be a good girl, sweetheart, you'll catch a cold if you keep crying. No, I'm pretty even when I cry. She sniffed her nose and spoke with a quaver in her voice. Su Yao couldn't help but smile, and lovingly patted her. Seeing how delicate and pretty she was, all the gloom in her heart disappeared, and she felt as if she had been washed clean by a stream of water. She kissed her on the cheek and carried her into the house. First, she found a comb and combed out the mess in Bao Bao's hair, tying it into two pigtails. Bao Bao wiped away her tears and excitedly looked at herself in the mirror. Daddy, doesn't Bao Bao look pretty? She leaned over Huo Jue's lap, tilted her head, and her expression was exactly the same as Su Yao's, the angle of her dimples exactly the same. Huo Jue stared at her face, his eyes full of tenderness. Yes, Bao Bao is the prettiest. He. Bao Bao ran off to look at herself in the mirror again. Su Yao couldn't help but smile as she watched her back. It must be a blessing to have such a lovely daughter. When she turned her head, Huo Jue's knowing gaze fell right on her face. The gaze was deeply engraved, like the water of a deep pool, with the power to draw her in. Su Yao's smile faded, and she leaned into him. I'm Su Yao. Huo Jue's lips curled up, and his Adam's apple rolled. I know. Then why are you still looking? Miss Su, my daughter was born without maternal love. She has never seen her mother, nor has she ever been held by her. She longs for maternal love very much. Really? That's so sad. So when she saw you crying and laughing, she naturally thought you were her real mother. As her father, I feel so guilty. Su Yao took a sip of water, which made her plump lips look even more appetizing. Huo Jue stopped talking and looked at her lips, his gaze gradually darkening. Did you do something evil, so that Shireen abandoned you and your daughter? Are you a scumbag? Su Yao opened her mind, otherwise it's impossible. If I were Qiuqiu's real mother, I wouldn't want you, but I would want her. Huo Jue, he stroked her fingers lightly, as if he were looking for the tingling of their past skin-to-skin contact in her heartless words. I have only had her as a woman. Why didn't Neen want you guys back then? What did she do? He looked into her eyes and said, I also want to know why she disappeared after giving birth to the baby. I also want to know what happened to her during those few years of disappearance. Okay, I don't want to pry into your business either, except that your daughter calls me mommy whenever she sees me. As soon as he finished speaking, Qiuqiu ran over with a dog bone-shaped pillow, and the little meatball quickly crashed into Su Yu's arms. Mommy, mommy. Su Yao had to hug her and look at Huo Jue. Are you going to do anything about it? Huo Jue chose to remain silent in the face of her questioning gaze. Su Yao puffed up her cheeks and glared at him. Ball, let's discuss something with mommy. Go and play for a while, Huo Jue said to Huo Ball. Su Yao? Who are you going to discuss something with? What are you talking about? You don't correct your daughter's address and you're even worse. Okay, Dad. Qiuqiu ran away. Su Yao looked at him again, his eyes lively. Mr. Huo, if you keep this up, I'll be angry in a moment. Huo Jue looked at her expression, and his eyes couldn't help but soften, as if the April wind was blowing across the turquoise lake, intoxicating. Then I'll coax you, okay? Su Yu's face suddenly turned very hot. Air. It seemed she blushed. She immediately covered her face, looking cute and innocent. Huo Jue pursed his lips, his throat tightening. He suddenly felt dry and thirsty, so he took a drink, and the warm water rolling down his throat brought a tingling sensation. Cough. Su Yao sat up straight. I'm not angry, you don't need to coax me, and you shouldn't say things like that in the future. You said you weren't a scumbag, but you molested me. His lips twitched slightly. Sorry. What the hell did you bring your daughter to see me for? Tell me quickly, I have business to attend to later. I want to invite you to my home to be my daughter's personal butler. What? Shireen is afraid that she won't be able to return for a while, and my daughter really needs you. She has already decided that you are her mother. Because she lacks love, she often gets into fights with other people, and I'm worried that she will go astray because of this. Miss Su will work as usual during the day, and live in my home at night, taking care of my daughter and me. I'm responsible for her alone. Why do you have to be responsible for you too? Su Yao had an expression of don't think I don't know what you're up to, and I refused. I'm only responsible for my daughter for 20,000, and for the two of us for 100,000. Su Yao was about to lose her breath. How much? 100,000 a month, and if she behaves well, there's no upper limit. 100,000. She couldn't earn 100,000 in 6 months working hard at her pet shop, and she's actually getting 100,000 a month. She was secretly delighted, but put on a serious face. She slowly let out her breath. 100,000 a month? That's a lot. You don't have a lot of demands, do you? No, I just need to take care of the daily needs of my father and me. Miss Su can do whatever she wants with her time. Su Yao thought that the world of the rich was really outrageous. To find a woman who looked like his sweetheart and go home to give his daughter maternal love, that was really stupid and rich. She thought of her father fixing cars and her mother who couldn't speak. The family's situation really needed to improve. Okay, I promise. Huo Jue remained expressionless and calm. Good, a driver will come to pick you up this afternoon to sign the contract. We'll meet in the evening. Good. I'll leave when Shireen comes back, okay? Huo Jue, good, if Shireen doesn't come back, you'll just keep doing it. Any questions? Su Yao, no problem. 100,000 a month, with no upper limit if you perform well. Only a fool wouldn't do it. Huo Jue hugged Qiuqiu and left, while Qiuqiu waved goodbye to Su Yao reluctantly. Sitting in her father's car, Qiuqiu is very proud. Daddy, is my baby good? Huo Jue strokes her head in praise. Very good, but the chance for you to be even better is still ahead. Qiuqiu tilted her little head, her big eyes full of confusion. What do you mean? But what the heck? Dad, you have to reward Qiuqiu. Okay, what do you want? Qiuqiu's body desperately tried to push its way out of the restraints of the car seat, her head arching forward. Take our kindergarten and shovel it with a forklift. Chapter 8, No Kissing Mummy on the Mouth. Huo Jue, when you turn 14, you do it yourself. Okay, I'll send some. Ha? No. Huo Chue's big eyes are full of big questions. Why wait until the baby is 14? Turning 14 means being criminally liable, and the police can arrest you in an open and aboveboard manner and put you in jail, so that dad doesn't have to worry about your future food supply. Huo Chue takes a sharp breath. You're a very bad boy. Huo Jue smiles faintly and remains silent. Huo Qiuqiu sees that this method won't work, so she tries another one. A big chicken leg should work. But before she can say anything, she hears her father say, "Go home and get your school bag." You remember where your school bag is, don't you? Huo Qiuqiu blinks her big eyes. What? A school bag? She threw her school bag in the pond. Hee hee. Huo Qiuqiu, baby is as smart as daddy, so she doesn't need a school bag. She can read without one. Let daddy know that she threw away her school bag. Huo Jue nodded with satisfaction. Very good, then go straight to school. Huo Qiuqiu twisted her fingers, pouting with grievance, her little eyes occasionally flying to Huo Jue. She hates him, so she says this kid is bad, and now she dares not ask for a big drumstick. At 8:30, the pet shop was bustling with activity. Wang Shi and Wang Yu, the two employees of Su Yao, also came to work, and the three of them worked from morning until afternoon. At 4:30, a middle-aged man came in. He was the same man who had come with Huo Qiuqiu the other night. He had a kind smile. "Miss Su, I've come at the behest of my eldest son to sign a contract with you." Very well. The contract had very few items. Party A was Huo Jue, and Party B was her. During the term of the contract, Party B must live in Party A's home, and her job description is as follows: the personal butler for the father and daughter, i.e. responsible for the daily lives of Huo Jue and Huo Qiuqiu. Party A will pay Party B a monthly salary of 100,000 renminbi on the first day of each month. Note, this is not a fixed salary, but only a basic salary, which may be increased depending on the situation. And finally, a note, as Shireen has not returned, so you may not leave without permission. Su Yao is astonished. What if Shireen never comes back? Do I have to keep working? No, if Miss Su wants to change identities halfway through, we will agree to it. Huo Yong wrote it down. Su Yao nodded, that's more like it. But she overlooked the real meaning of change identities halfway through. She thought it meant quitting, but it didn't. It could also mean girlfriend, wife, mistress, or mother. Huo Yong corrected it and handed it to her. The contract didn't do any harm to Su Yao, so she signed her name. Huo Yong's smile deepened. Welcome, Miss Su, to our family. When are you free? I'll accompany you to pack your belongings and see what you need to buy. Thanks, I'll do it myself. Okay. Huo Yong gave her an address and left. Su Yao told her staff and left on her own, going back to her rented room to pack her things. As she packed, she figured that once she earned some money, she would buy her parents a proper house, because they were suffering in the backyard of the repair shop. With money, she would tell her father not to run the repair shop and take her mother to the hospital for a proper checkup. She threw away what she could and took what she could carry with her. Then she rode her little electric bicycle and took a suitcase to the villa deep in the lotus flowers. The villa in the deep lotus pond is in a very luxurious neighborhood, which is quite luxurious and covers a vast area. It is shady with trees, the asphalt road winds like a painting, and the villa stands in the vast expanse. Someone came to pick her up. Are you Miss Su? Yes. I am the cook at Mr. Huo's house. You can just call me Sister Yun. Please follow me. Okay, thank you. Sister Yun led her into the Huo family. The villa is so expensive that you can build an amusement park inside. Her bedroom is on the second floor, with a direct elevator. The 100 square meter bedroom, with a walk-in closet and bathroom, is organized in perfect order. The closet is filled with the most beautiful and popular limited edition dresses of the moment, and the bed is covered with little pandas folded by the maid from bath towels. Su Yao is amazed. Is this my bedroom? Yes, Mr. Huo personally ordered it. If you see anything that doesn't suit you, we will replace it. There is nothing I don't like, but who is this closet full of clothes for? Miss Su, our little princess said she wanted to buy it for you. She's been looking forward to your arrival. Oh, it was Huo Qiuqiu who asked for it, that little brat. Thank you, you can go now. Yun Jia went downstairs, and Su Yao surveyed the bedroom. According to market prices, her 100 square meters was worth 5 million, and with the renovations, it was almost 10 million. Thinking about this money made her head buzz, so it seemed that she couldn't afford not to work hard. After changing clothes and going downstairs, Huo Jue and Qiuqiu returned. Huo Jue unfastened her seatbelt, and Qiuqiu couldn't wait to run down from the car. "Mommy, where's Mommy?" Su Yao stood in the living room, and she was torn between saying yes and no. Saying yes would be admitting that she was her mother. If she said no, it would upset the child, and she didn't want to pour cold water on him. In the end, she could only smile, crouch down, open her arms and wait for her. As soon as she entered the house, without even changing her shoes, Qiuqiu threw herself into Su Yao's arms and knocked her over. Qiuqiu pressed her head and started kissing her face, cooing. Su Yao couldn't open her eyes from the kissing, her face was full of saliva, she could hardly breathe. Just as Qiuqiu's messy kisses were about to land on her mouth, her arms fell empty, and she was then pulled up by a strong, large hand. Huo Jue said to Qiuqiu, "No kissing Mummy on the mouth." Qiuqiu grunted, "If I can't kiss Mummy, can I kiss Daddy?" Huo Jue. Su Yao. She wiped the saliva from her eyelids, opened her eyes, and smiled at the god of wealth in front of her, as beautiful as a flower. "Welcome, Mr. Hua home." Huo Jue was caught in her bright smile, his lips curling slightly. "So happy, huh?" "Of course I'm happy, I'll get rich thanks to him." "You sit for a while, I'll play with Ball first." He replied softly, "Okay." So you grabbed Ball from Huo Jue's arms and kissed her back, pressing her head. "Ouch!" Qiuqiu screamed, surprising her. So you gave her a wild kiss on the face. "Little brat, here you go." Qiuqiu giggled, reached her hand inside Su Yao's clothes and felt around. Su Yao didn't notice this little molester either, and forbade her from saying anything to her father. "Do you hear me, or I'll spank your bottom." Huo Jue. The mother and daughter disappeared in a flash, and Huo Jue stood in the living room, all alone. He took a shower and changed clothes, but he had no heart to work. He went to the living room and read a magazine that he had already flipped through countless times. He was waiting. He couldn't tell what he was waiting for. But he didn't wait before dinner, and he didn't wait after dinner either. The mother and daughter went out for a stroll. He guarded the door of the empty villa for them. They returned late, both panting and flushed, and walked in together. Who said that Qiuqiu was carved from the same mold as him? Their daughter clearly looked just like Shireen. Chapter 9, Nosebleed. Mr. Hua. So you pulled Qiuqiu past him at a run. "I'm going to take a bath with Qiuqiu, and I'll let her sleep with me tonight. Good night." "Hurry, Mommy." Qiuqiu couldn't wait either, and the two of them disappeared like the wind from Huo Jue's sight, quickly disappearing around the corner on the second floor. Huo Jue could still hear Su Yao's words in his head, "I'll play with Qiuqiu first," which clearly meant she would play with Qiuqiu before playing with him. Now. Even if Shireen's personality has changed, she's still not the same person, and she doesn't remember him. Some of her traits haven't changed, like always lying to him. Huo Jue went upstairs, stepping on the dark carpet. He felt a peace in his heart that he hadn't felt in over 3 years. The person he'd been waiting for had finally returned, and she was right in front of him. At the same time, he felt restless, as if there was a fire burning inside him. Su Yao's bedroom was next to his, and the door was ajar. He pushed it open and entered. From the bathroom came the sound of a mother and daughter talking. "Mommy is so pretty. Baby is so pretty too. Mommy, can I suck the ball?" Huo Jue, a picture suddenly appeared in his mind. "Little rascal, don't look around with those eyes." "No, just a little bit." "No way." Su Yao mumbled again, "This is my future husband's." Qiuqiu was puzzled, "Huh? She doesn't understand." There was something hot dripping from her nostrils. Huo Jue touched it and realized he had a nosebleed. He went back to his bedroom, entered the bathroom, turned on the shower, and the water temperature turned hot in 3 seconds, pouring down from the head. The image in his mind still couldn't be erased, and the thought of it made him even more aroused. In the end, he turned it to cold water, but the cold water still did not extinguish the past and the passionate lovemaking and tender affection with Shireen night after night, as well as the strong desire he now felt for Su Yao next door. Su Yao did not know that Huo Jue was in dire straits at the moment. She happily finished bathing with Qiuqiu and put her to bed. Qiuqiu had never slept with her mother before and was very excited, talking non-stop about her daily life in kindergarten. Su Yao listened patiently and responded with patience until midnight, when the two of them fell asleep. After Huo Jue had become self-sufficient, he sat on the balcony and smoked a cigarette. The night was dark, and the balcony was unlit, so it was pitch black, with only the red dot from the cigarette glowing intermittently. He rarely smoked, and never at home because of his daughter. For more than 3 years, this was the first night he had not taken his daughter to bed and cared for her personally. But his heart felt as if it were blocked by something, like the thick fog in the forest, which was hard to dispel. After finishing the cigarette, he leaned back on the deck chair and closed his eyes. He drifted off to sleep, dreaming of the time when he was 24 years old and met Ziyin. The sky was cloudless and blue, and they were in the capital of country F. It was the morning of Huo Jue's internship at Huo's overseas company. Get lost. This crisp voice rushed into his ears, and he turned his head to see a young girl in black clothes and black pants 10 meters away from him under a tree, kicking a burly man over with a unique and nimble kick. She was facing him sideways, with a protruding front and a curvy back, a slender waist, and a spirited temperament. How dare you hit me? The girl sneered, you piece of trash who stalks and harasses women like this, you're out of luck running into me. She gave him another kick, which sent the nearly 200-pound man flying into a stupor. She withdrew her foot, took a lollipop in her mouth, and walked away with her hands in her pockets. Very cool. She was graceful in the dappled tree shadows, revealing a small waist that was slender and attractive. He didn't ride off until she disappeared. At the end of the day's internship, when he returned home, he saw a girl in a maid's uniform sitting in the living room, still chewing on a lollipop. The air that day was exceptionally clean, and he always felt that the air was filled with sweet, sweet scents. He could smell her fragrance from afar. When she noticed him, she gave him a toothsome smile, a smile that was enough to ruin a country and its people. It was her. Huo Jue narrowed his eyes. Who are you? She walked up to him, smiling, with intoxicating dimples. Hello, I'm Shireen, the maid who applied for the job today. Huo Jue gave a nonchalant hum and asked, can you cook? Of course, you'll be left with a lasting impression. Indeed, Shireen came to his home and successfully made him lose 3 pounds a week. Later, he learned that she had secretly bought it outside and then warmed it up in the microwave to eat when he returned. She came with an agenda, weaving a web for him, and he watched as he was drawn into the vortex she created. Huo Jue, wake up. Someone's calling you. Huo Jue opened his eyes, and Shireen's incomparable face enlarged before his eyes. For a moment he couldn't tell if it was a dream or reality. He grabbed her shoulders, pulled her into his arms, held her waist tightly, buried his head in her neck, and said hoarsely and lovingly, Shireen. Aha. Su Yao desperately slapped him. Let go, you pervert. Huo Jue came to his senses, his hand loosened slightly, and Su Yao got up from his arms and gave him a direct kick. Huo Jue looked up. It turned out to be dawn. The morning light spread from behind her, and the halo depicted her charming face, unparalleled. Are you awake? If not, I'll give you another kick. Su Yao said angrily. Huo Jue took a pillow from the side and placed it on his lap to block it. If he hadn't done this, it would have been fine, but once he did, Su Yao remembered that just now when he was holding her. Ah, this pervert. Outraged, he added another kick. Huo Jue, he took 2 kicks in the stomach. Leaning back on the recliner, he looked at her with a composed expression. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Then you meant it. Men's mornings are a bit out of control, please forgive me. Who told you that? You have no shame. So fierce. Just like Shireen. Huo Jue could only feel his agitation growing worse and worse. He adjusted his breathing secretly, and his eyes were heavy with fog. Do you need something from me early in the morning? Of course I do. I came to your room to get milk powder for the ball, and I saw you sleeping here. I kindly asked you to go to bed, but you just ignored me. Su Yao said disdainfully, men are really no good. You deserve it for Shireen to abandon you. Where is the milk powder? Huo Jue didn't say a word. He saw Su Yao clench her fists in anger, as if she wanted to punch him. He took a deep breath. It was strange. The angrier she got, the more impulsive he became. It's in the second cabinet by my bed. Su Yao ran to get the milk powder. When she got it, she accidentally saw her photo. No, it should be Shireen's. It was very well protected by plastic, and it could be seen that it had been well preserved. This girl looked exactly like her, not a single difference. It was amazing that there were actually 2 people in the world who looked so similar. No wonder Huo Jue and Qiuqiu had mistaken the wrong person. She put the photo back in place, got up, and Huo Jue was standing behind her, looking extraordinary. Su Yao thought about his situation just now and subconsciously glanced at him. Fortunately, it was blocked by the bathrobe and she couldn't see anything. Huo Jue's rosy lips swept across the corner of his lips, and he spoke, "It's still lit." Su Yao took 2 seconds to come back to her senses, ashamed and indignant. She gritted her teeth and said, "If you don't put it out, I'll chop it off with a knife." Chapter 10. Dad, are you talking sense? Su Yao took the milk powder and went to her bedroom. Once she was inside, her heart was pounding, and the feeling of sitting in Huo Jue's arms wouldn't go away from her mind. This was the first time she could remember something like this happening. Is that what men do when they first wake up? Can they get up in their sleep? What was he dreaming about? He's so perverted. Su Yao's face was burning, and she didn't know what to do. Her body felt like it was on fire. It took a while for her to calm down, and when she did, she thought that she had kicked him a little irrationally. She didn't want him to dock her pay for that. She liked Qiuqiu and she liked money, so she didn't want to lose this job. She went to wake up Qiuqiu, but the little girl could sleep really well and wouldn't wake up when she shouted. Su Yao sat by the bed and stared at her. Her hands were held in fists above her head, her black hair a little curly, her forehead full, her eyelashes thick, her nose straight, her face round, her lips pink. She looked a lot like Huo Jue, and occasionally her expression looked like that of Shireen in the photo. She was the most beautiful child Su Yao had ever seen, and her cuteness was irresistible. Her pajamas were rolled up, revealing her round belly, and her legs were crossed. She was so cute. Su Yao was overwhelmed with maternal love, and kissed her hard. If she could really give birth to such a pretty little girl, she would be truly blessed. This made her think of Bai Su again. Although she had never wanted to have children with Bai Su, she had thought about living a good life with him. Bah, this trash. I can't think about it. Su Yao changed her clothes and went downstairs. Huo Jue was wearing a snow-white shirt and a black tie. He sat in the living room with a straight and casual posture. The faint sunlight swept away, and his sharp eyebrows and starry eyes, with clearly defined contours, hit her hard. The visual impact of his masculine appearance was very strong. His skin was top-notch. It's just a bit sexy. Su Yao walked over and said, "In the future, I won't kick you, and you won't fire me." Huo Jue said, 50,000 yuan was deposited into your account a minute ago, Miss Su. Today is your first day of work, and this is to welcome you. This money is in addition to your salary. Su Yao blinked, suddenly feeling that he wasn't as lecherous as before. She narrowed her eyes and smiled, "Thank you, boss." Huo Jue seemed to know what she was thinking, and said in a seductive voice, "Even if you kill me, I won't fire you, don't worry." That's good. So Su Yao straightened up and her tone hardened, "Then you mustn't have any improper thoughts about me, and you mustn't touch me, or I'll call the police and make you notorious." Huo Jue pursed his good-looking thin lips, his eyes unfathomable, and changed the subject, "Is the ball still asleep? It's almost 8 o'clock, and kindergarten classes start at 8. She's still asleep. Let her sleep a little longer." "Oh, did you hear what I just told you? Miss Su just met my daughter, so she probably doesn't know her very well. She's a girl, but she's never been quiet like other girls. If you don't wake her up, she can sleep until 12 o'clock. After she gets up at 12, she'll find all kinds of reasons to refuse to go to school, and you won't be able to convince her. At night, she plays until midnight and sleeps late. She jumps around the house like a monkey, which is very annoying. Su Yao, I'll go wake her up now." She went upstairs, completely forgetting what she was supposed to confirm with Huo Jue. Huo Jue's eyes were deep and dark, and he turned his wrists around and tidied his cuffs. There was still a band-aid on the place where Su Yao had bitten him. "I think it will leave a scar." "Yun Jie is here, master, shall we eat right away?" "Yes." "You eat first?" "No, every morning from now on I will eat with Miss Su and Qiuqiu." "Good." Yun is also happy. In the past, when Bulbul was lazy and didn't want to get up, it was master who would eat first and go to work. She feels that good things are about to happen in this family. Soon Su Yao comes downstairs with Bulbul, who is still half asleep. Bulbul is about to cry, but when he sees Huo Jue, he says, "You must have told mummy to drag me out of bed, huh?" Huo Jue, "Yes, I did." Angry, Qiuqiu jumped from Su Yao's arms into his, opened her mouth wide and bit her father. Huo Jue covered her mouth and spoiled her. "Good girl, let's eat." The three of them went to the dining room. Qiuqiu wanted Su Yao to carry her, but Huo Jue refused, "Let mommy rest for a while. You should lose weight. Mommy is tired carrying you. Qiuqiu's eyes widened. Daddy, are you speaking human language? Su Yao picked up Qiuqiu, put his arms around him, and ignored his father. He hates it. Qiuqiu is not fat, he is cute. That's right. Qiuqiu fell into Su Yao's arms and shot Huo Jue a provocative raised eyebrow. Mommy says you're annoying. Huo Jue gave a half smile, his expression betraying a sense of satisfaction. It was the first morning that Mommy had fed Qiuqiu. Qiuqiu ate a lot, and she was happy, flailing her 2 legs under the table. After the meal, Huo Yang brought a new school bag and put it on Qiuqiu's back. Qiuqiu no longer resisted going to school. Mommy, you can give me a ride. Okay. Su Yao took her out the door, put on her helmet, and Qiuqiu had been eyeing the electric bicycle since yesterday, and today she could finally ride it. Huo Jue, however, said, I'll give you a ride. No, I can ride a bicycle very easily. I'm afraid it's not safe, so I'll give you a car. I'm a very good cyclist, I don't need a car. Su Yao asked Qiuqiu to sit behind her and hold her waist. The electric car turned, and the 2 of them rode off. Ah! Qiuqiu shouted excitedly, his legs beating against the sides of the electric car. The wind blew against their faces, brightening their cheeks, making them look cute, young, free, and carefree. Huo Jue glanced at the 10 cars parked in the garage, his eyebrows furrowing slightly. He suddenly felt that the car was very much like a cage. Uncle Hui. Young master, what do you say? Is there an electric car that can seat 3 people? As far as I know, there isn't one on the market. Huo Yang laughed. Young master, you found Miss Shi, and you want to continue your relationship with her? Huo Jue looked into the distance, and the warmth in his eyes gradually cooled. But she had forgotten everything. Huo Yang, Miss Shi is already living in our home, and after spending a long time together, she will definitely remember. Su Yao doesn't necessarily remember, Huo Jue thinks. If she simply has amnesia, how come all the information is false, and her past has been wiped clean? I just don't know where her current memories come from. On the way to school, Qiuqiu says to everyone she sees, my mommy rides a bike to take me to school. It's an electric bike. She was especially proud, as if this was some new and extraordinary mount. Su Yao laughed secretly, and when they arrived at the kindergarten, Su Yao took her little hand and led her inside. When they got to the classroom, Qiuqiu went to the podium and said loudly, I see that you radish heads still dare to laugh at me for not having a mommy. I didn't pop out of a stone crack, I was born to my mommy, and my mommy is super beautiful. Su Yao picked Qiuqiu up in her arms. Hearing these words from Qiuqiu, she felt a pang of sympathy in her heart. She stayed in the kindergarten with her for 1 more class before leaving. The moment she got into the electric bicycle, she received a strange phone call. Hello. By Su, you've grown up, you even blacklisted me and came to the hospital to see me. It's you, go to hell. Hang up. He rode off on his bicycle, not even seeing Huo Jue, who was waiting outside. Chapter 11, Miss Su is more than 2 months pregnant. The sky is blue and the clouds are white. The breeze is not dry. A pink and white electric bicycle carries a girl with long flowing hair towards the road, which is covered in sunshine. The fragrance fills the air, and the climate has become much more lingering and gentle. Huo Jue doesn't take his eyes off her until she disappears. For a moment, he wonders if she were the old Shireen, there is no way she would be riding an electric bicycle through the streets. Su Yao is a simple and lovely mortal girl with a breath of life. Shireen is a gorgeous woman from Jailing, proud and sexy, aloof from the mundane world. Why is there such a big contrast? What exactly is the reason that has made her become like this? It is mysterious and interesting. Huo Jue walked towards the kindergarten entrance. The security guard saw him and said politely, Mr. Huo, would you like to go in and see your daughter? No, the lady who dropped off my daughter is my daughter's mother. Please take care of them in the future. Thanks. The security guard was also stunned. Didn't they say that Qiuqiu came from a single-parent family? Has she never had a mother? Young Master Huo actually came in person to confirm it. Okay, no problem. Huo Jue bowed, you've worked hard. No problem. Huo Jue got into his car and left. Only then did they go to the pet shop. Su Yun was half an hour late for work today because she had to take the ball to school, took a detour, rode to the charging station to charge the battery, and then went to the shop. Wang Shi and Wang Yu were already there. Wang Shi looked glum and her eyes were red, obviously from crying. What happened? Wang Yu, boss, Wang Shi has been cheated on. Her boyfriend has been seeing someone else for months behind her back. She only found out yesterday. The scumbag even asked her to return the gifts she gave him before, and his attitude was particularly bad. This made Su Yao think of Bai Su all of a sudden. She patted Wang Shi's head and comforted her. It's okay, if it's meant to end, it ends. Scumbags aren't worth holding on to, and they aren't worth crying over. It's enough to feel sad for a while, then hold your head high. Wang Shi got up and pulled a difficult smile. Su Yao, that's a good girl. Xiao Yu, go buy 2 cups of milk tea, I'll treat you. Okay. Wang Yu ran out of the door, and Su Yao sent her an 88 yuan red envelope. She sat down and whispered to Wang Shi, it's okay, I broke up with someone the other day too. Bai Su, you know him, he's not a good guy either. You can feel sad, but you can't let it get you down, understand? In fact, Su Yao should be grateful to Huo Jue and his daughter. If they hadn't taken up her free time, Su Yao might have been able to sleep through the night. It's easy to advise others on matters of the heart, but when it comes to yourself, you can't help it. Wang Shi's tears fell. Boss, are you pregnant too? What did you say? I'm pregnant. Wang Shi was terrified, and her tears fell again. You mustn't tell anyone, I'm afraid my mother will kill me if she finds out. Okay, I won't tell. Suzy quickly said, calm down and think about whether you want to keep the baby. I don't want it, and I can't keep it. I don't even have $1,000 in savings, so how can I support a child? Wang Shi's tears fell like rain, and she was filled with remorse. Suzy took her wrist. It's okay, don't worry about money. How much do you need? Wang Shi sniffed her nose. Maybe 3 to 5,000. I need to have an operation. Okay, wipe your tears. I'll go with you. Wang Yu brought the milk tea and came back. So you took Wang Shi, whose eyes were red, and said to Wang Yu, I'll take Xiao Shi for a walk to let her take her mind off things, you look after the shop. Okay. Su Yao and Wang Yu went to the roadside and hailed a taxi to the hospital. In the car, Su Yao took tissue paper out of her bag and gently wiped the tears from Wang Shi's face. Be good, don't cry, I'll give you a holiday after the operation, I'll buy you nutritious food, rest well. Okay. Wang Shi was moved to tears and leaned her head on Su Yao's shoulder. When they got out of the car, Su Yao got out first. Wang Shi saw Su Yao's ID card fall out of the seat. She picked it up, and for a moment, she didn't know what to think. She hid the ID card in her sleeve and didn't give it to Su Yao. Su Yao was oblivious to the fact that she had lost her ID. When they arrived at the hospital, Su Yao's phone rang. It was a call from the neighbor at the repair shop, saying that Su Yao's father had gone out to buy materials and hadn't returned for 5 hours. Su Yao's father had a bad leg and couldn't walk very well, so she was worried that something had happened to him. Su Yao was told to hurry back. Su Yao anxiously looked at Wang Shi, who said, you go back quickly, I'll be fine. I can register for hospitalization on my phone now. Then call me if anything happens to you. Su Yao transferred 5,000 yuan to her on the spot and left in a hurry after the transfer. Wang Shi completed the registration on her phone and went to the obstetrics and gynecology department. In the office, the doctor smiled at Wang Shi. Don't be nervous, what's your name? Wang Shi took out her ID card. My name is Su Yao. She couldn't let anyone find out that she had an abortion in the past, not friends or family. The doctor took the ID card, took the ID photo and compared it with Wang Shi, just as Wang Shi lowered her head to wipe away her tears. The doctor didn't want to look any longer and simply started the registration. Su Yao ran back to her father's repair shop in the alley of the downtown area. After asking the neighbors for information, she found a taxi and gave the driver 500 yuan on the spot to hurry up and find someone. After 2 hours of searching, she finally found him in a ditch at the foot of a mountain. His father didn't have a car, and usually rode a tricycle to make deliveries. Today, he rode it here and overturned it. Su Hua was limping on one leg, so he couldn't get up at first. Since no one was passing by, he just laid there for a few hours, and fortunately, he wasn't seriously hurt. After getting his father back home, he insisted on not going to the hospital. Su Yao called a doctor to the bedroom in the backyard of the repair shop to take a look. After the doctor said that there was nothing serious, Su Yao was relieved and left. It was already 4 p.m. when they got to the hospital. There was no time to pick up Wang Shi from school. Wang Shi couldn't go home for fear of her mother finding out, so Suzy arranged for her to stay at a hotel near the pet shop. In the process, Wang Shi quietly slipped her ID card into Suzy's bag again. It was already 5 p.m. after they settled in, and there was no time to pick up Wang Shi from school. She sent a text message to Huo Jue, "Boss, I'm sorry, I'm a bit busy today and can't pick up Wang Shi from school. Can you ask Uncle Hua to do it?" Hua Group. After the meeting, Huo Jue returned to his office and only then did he see Su Yu's text message. He replied to her, "Okay, you're busy, don't overwork yourself. If you need any help, just let me know." Su Yu replied, "No help is needed, thanks boss." There was a number at the end, which revealed her playful mood. Huo Jue loosened his tie, and his frown eased a little. At 4:30 p.m., Huo Jue finished work and prepared to pick up his daughter from school. As he walked to the underground parking lot, one of his subordinates sent a message. "Mr. Hua, according to the latest news investigation, Miss Su has been pregnant for more than 2 months. AB ultrasound and color Doppler ultrasound report is attached." Huo Jue's footsteps paused, and he picked up the phone and read it again word by word. There was no mistake. Su Yu, she was pregnant. Whose? His mind flashed to Bai Su's face. His blood suddenly went cold. Chapter 12. He lowered his head and kissed her on the cheek. Kindergarten. It was already 5:20 when Huo Jue left, and Qiuqiu was the only one left in the entire kindergarten. She pouted her little mouth, her eyes red with tears as she carried her little school bag. Huo Jue knelt down, his voice soft and fragile, "Daddy is late, I'm sorry." Qiuqiu looked behind him, her little eyebrows knitted together, and she said in a pitiful voice, "Why didn't Mummy come to catch the ball?" "Mommy has something to do, so Daddy is catching it." "Okay then." Qiuqiu rubbed into Huo Jue's arms, sniffed, and pouted, "I want Daddy to hold me." "Okay." Huo Jue carried Qiuqiu to the car and placed him in the car seat. Qiuqiu asked, "Where did Mommy go?" "Mommy." Huo Jue paused for a moment, then touched her face again. His voice was a little hoarse. "Qiuqiu, do you like your younger siblings?" "Yes." Qiuqiu said, "Are Daddy and Mummy going to have a baby?" "Well, after the baby is born, will Daddy still love Qiuqiu?" Huo Jue's heart sank, his eyes misty. He kissed Qiuqiu's forehead and said softly, "Daddy will always love you." He. Huo Jue returned to the driver's seat and drove back to the villa in the depths of the lotus flowers. When they got home, Qiuqiu was looking for Su Yu and hadn't returned yet. Huo Yang took ball out to play, and Huo Jue went to the study. The clouds in his heart turned into rain, forming a wall around him. His emotions were indescribable, so the smoke became a sharp weapon. The choking smoke tried to break through the obstruction. After the last 2 cigarettes were finished, his heart became more and more suffocated. He opened the cabinet and took out a not-so-new mobile phone from inside, and turned it on. The wallpaper was a time-lapse video. She is sitting on a swing eating a lollipop, with her home in the capital of country F in the background. She has lazy curly hair, is wearing his shirt, and underneath it she is wearing the enchanting body that only he knows about. She is sitting cross-legged, looking at the camera with a reproachful expression, as if to say, "What are you filming?" Without any filters, she is beautiful and elegant. Huo Jue's fingers slowly slide across the screen, as if caressing her exquisite features. The encrypted photo album is full of her. There are so many pictures of her in his arms, messing around in the kitchen, in the study, driving a car, sleeping. The more he smoked, the more depressed he felt. He threw the cigarette butt into the trash can, got up and went to the window, opened it. It was dusk, and the sky was covered in a warm yellow light. His daughter was playing in the sand there. From this distance, she looked so small that he could pick her up and put her in his pocket, and take her with him wherever he went in the world. Why couldn't he give his lovely daughter a complete family? He had never given his daughter less than 100% of his love, and although he felt that his daughter's life was stable, with the most affluent living conditions and his unwavering companionship, she was still lacking in happiness without her mother's love. He did not give up looking for Shirin, but he did not know that she had changed her name and had no memory. She no longer had him in her life, nor did she have a daughter. Even if it was fine, she was there. But since she had already appeared, it was fine for her to have a boyfriend, but why did she get pregnant? Huo Jue squeezed the balcony railing, and his arm veins bulged. In the end, what should he do with Shirin? It was past dusk and night had fallen. It was already 6:30 when Su Yu returned to Huo Jue's house. She didn't see Qiuqiu. Just as she was going upstairs to take a shower and change into some home clothes, half an hour later she came down the stairs with her hair in a bun and wearing a pair of beige home clothes. She looked light and fresh, her skin was fair and firm, and her figure was exquisite. Still, she didn't see Qiuqiu. She only saw Huo Jue sitting on the sofa alone, his face stern, as if he wasn't in a good mood. "Boss, where's Qiuqiu?" Huo Jue said indifferently, "At the neighbor's house." Su Yao thought that she was still responsible for Huo Jue's daily life, so she went to pour him a glass of water. "Boss, are you in a bad mood? Have a drink to calm you down." Huo Jue glanced at her still flat stomach, and his gaze returned to her face, his expression inscrutable. "What do you think of getting pregnant before marriage?" Su Yao sat in front of him, sinking into the soft sofa, looking very small. In this day and age, people love and hate freely. As long as two people like each other, it's okay to have a child out of wedlock. "So you accept this?" "Of course I accept it. She didn't have a child out of wedlock, so why wouldn't she accept it?" Su Yao half leaned over and looked at him, whispering, "Have you and Shireen gotten married?" Huo Jue smelled the scent of the shower gel she was wearing, which he had personally selected. Thinking that she was pregnant, he couldn't help but feel annoyed. "No." Su Yao patted his arm to comfort him. "Don't worry, I won't laugh at you. Even though you had a child without getting married and lost the mother of your child, as long as you don't lust after women, I will consider you a good man." Su Yao added, "Don't be discouraged, you're rich and good looking, there must be girls who want to marry you." She leaned over again, her eyes gleaming, and said slyly, "If you get married, can I have the ball?" Huo Jue clenched his fists. Su Yao hurriedly got up. "Don't be angry, I was just discussing it with you. What if your wife is not good to the ball?" Huo Jue looked at her with extremely sharp eyes. "Have you forgotten the contract? If you don't answer, you are not allowed to leave. What if you marry another woman? You are not allowed to leave either." Huo Jue stood up, his 188 centimeters tall figure was like a wall approaching her, his aura was intimidating. Su Yao backed away, until her back hit the cupboard. She gulped at him. "Why? Su Yao." He rarely called her by her name, and it sounded so close, like the veins and blood were connected, making people's breath quicken. "No matter what the reason, you are not allowed to leave here. Even if you want to get married, you have to marry from here. Even if you become a mother, you have to give birth to your child in this family." Su Yao. What's wrong with him? Whoever wants to get married or become a mother? It made her heart beat erratically. "Mr. Hua." Huo Jue suddenly lowered his head, and his strong breath hit her, and Su Yao's heartbeat stopped for a moment. His face was only a few centimeters away, their breaths intertwined. She was scared and nervous, and he was domineering and self-assured. Su Yao didn't know what he wanted to do, kiss her? No way. She didn't dare to move, her heartbeat was erratic, and her cheeks were flushed. "If you dare to kiss me, I'll." He lowered his head and kissed her on the cheek. The touch was very light, like a feather teasing the surface of her skin, causing an uncontrollable tingling. In that moment, Su Yao's mind went blank. "Mommy, mommy!" Qiuqiu shouted from outside as he returned. By the time she ran into the house, Huo Jue had already left. After he disappeared, Su Yao sat down on the ground with a thud, her legs weak. "Mommy!" Qiuqiu ran over. "What are you doing sitting on the floor?" "My! Mommy, your face is so red." Qiuqiu ran off. "I'll go tell Dad that Mommy is sick." Su Yao quickly grabbed her back. "Don't go to your father." Her heart was pounding like a drum, and the face he had kissed felt like it was on fire, burning hot. She felt that Huo Jue he must be crazy. Chapter 13. She looked like she was inviting people to seduce her without knowing it. Su Yao couldn't sit still all night, and she couldn't sleep well. After putting Ball to sleep, she tossed and turned until the morning. She still had sore eyes, so she got up at 6 o'clock. Since she couldn't sleep well anyway, she might as well go for a walk. As if by fate, she ran into Huo Jue at the door, going out for a run. He was wearing a black tracksuit, and his mature male figure exuded a strong sense of testosterone. Su Yao's back teeth clenched when she saw him, and she glanced at him without saying a word. Huo Jue found her plump and displeased side face very vivid. He walked over at a slow pace, and the first thing that caught his eye was her fair skin, so pleasing that it looked as if you could pinch water out of it. "Up so early?" Su Yao looked at him with her chin. "If I get mad at you, will you dock my pay?" She looked defiant and submissive at the same time, causing Huo Jue's lips to twitch slightly. "No." Su Yao's courage suddenly grew, and she looked at him directly, her beautiful eyes blazing. "You know that what you did yesterday was called sexual harassment, right?" Huo Jue opened his lips and looked at her charming face, saying, "I'm sorry, I was drunk yesterday." "Can you be more convincing when you make up lies? You didn't even smell like alcohol yesterday. You're not the only one who can get drunk." What does that mean? She didn't understand. Su Yao took a step forward to stop him, very quickly. Huo Jue subconsciously glanced at her stomach and instinctively said, "Slow down, be careful." Su Yao snorted, "I'm not going to fall over. Give me a reasonable explanation. Your reason is not enough to convince me. You're just horny." Huo Jue, "I'm not lecherous." "You're still arguing." Huo Jue, "Okay, I won't argue, I am." After he admitted it, Su Yao was even more angry. She was angry and didn't know what to do with him. Her cheeks puffed up and her eyes widened, as if she were seducing someone without knowing it. Huo Jue felt like a needle had been stuck in his heart. If only she wasn't pregnant. He rubbed her head and said, "Why don't you slap me?" Before he could finish, Su Yao slapped him on the back of the hand. "Don't you ever touch me again, you pervert. Apologize to me." Huo Jue said, "Sorry. You said you'd never touch me again. Say it." Huo Jue didn't say anything, but instead walked down a flight of stairs. Su Yao thought he was running away, so she went to pull him back. She lost her balance and fell. And fell right into Huo Jue's arms. Huo Jue unobtrusively withdrew his leg from beside Su Yao's feet, put his arms around her waist, and set her upright. "Does this count as touching you?" Su Yao was speechless. "I was really drunk last night, Miss Su, don't worry about it. If you're still angry, you can hit me and scold me." Su Yao felt much better when he said that. "I'll hit you again some other day, so get ready." "Okay." Su Yao reported a series of numbers. "Remember? What is this?" "In the future, when you want to hear the sound of your voice, just think of this phone number. Don't ever come to see me." She went back to her room. She felt that she had vented half of her anger, so she didn't need to go for a walk, but went to sleep. Lying in bed, she suddenly remembered her sentence, "You said you would never touch me again next time," to which Huo Jue had never given a response. Sleepiness soon set in. An hour and a half later, Su Yao pulled Qiuqiu out of bed, tied two cute pigtails in her hair, put on a pretty little dress, and took her outside on the electric scooter to go have breakfast while Huo Jue was upstairs taking a shower. When Huo Jue came downstairs, Yun Jie said, "Miss Su took Qiuqiu out to eat. Would you like to eat at home, young master?" Huo Jue glanced out into the courtyard and saw that the electric scooter was gone. "We'll eat at home." "Okay." Yun Jie went back to the kitchen. Huo Jue thought to himself, Su Yao is pregnant, but she's so careless, riding an electric bicycle, not afraid of accidents? He made a phone call. "Where has Bai Su been these past 2 days?" "Mr. Hua, Bai Su has been in the hospital. At your behest, we have been watching him, and he has not left the hospital gates." "Have you seen Miss Su?" "No. If not, then Bai Su definitely doesn't know that Su Yao is pregnant. If he knew, Bai Su would definitely not be able to sit still. It would be best if Bai Su never found out." He wanted to get her a car and driver so she wouldn't have to ride a bike anymore, which was very unsafe. He didn't have Su Yao's phone number, only her WeChat, and when he sent her a message, she didn't reply. Huo Jue dialed the number she had told him in the morning again, and the other person picked up immediately. "Su. Hello, this is Doncheng Fuwai Psychiatric Hospital, may I help you?" Huo Jue. As he hung up, an email came in from work, which he clicked on. On his way back, he accidentally saw another email. It was only 10 minutes since the email about Su Yao being pregnant, and he hadn't noticed it yesterday. "Mr. Hua, Miss Su has already had the operation and the baby is gone." Huo Jue was shocked. She had an abortion? So quickly? He felt inexplicably relieved, but then quickly thought, she had an abortion yesterday and came to work today, could she possibly have withstood it? Shireen is such a pain-averse person, how could she bear lying on a cold bed and suffering such devastation? Bai Su really deserves to die. Call again. President Hua. Huo Jue said word by word, "Tell Bai Su to get out of the hospital." "Yes. And in the future, report any information about Miss Su to me at the same time, no need to stagger it." "Yes." After Su Yao dropped off the ball at the kindergarten, she went to the hotel near the pet hospital to check on Wangshi. She also asked the hotel to prepare a nutritious breakfast in advance. After Wangshi finished eating, she went to wash her face. Her phone was left on the table, and just then, a text message came in. Su Yao could see it on the screen of her phone and glanced at it. "Miss Su, yesterday the pharmacy didn't have the right medicine, but now they do. Come by when you have time to pick it up. If you don't feel well, you can ask your friend to come instead. Miss Su? Is that a typo? When Wangshi came out, Su Yao forgot to ask, gave her a few instructions and left. It was still early in the day when she arrived at the store, and there were not many customers, so she went to the hospital. She had nothing better to do, so she went to the hospital to help Wangshi pick up her medicine. She went to the obstetrics and gynecology department. Are you Su Yao's friend? The nurse asked her. Su Yao was stunned for a moment. Su Yao? Yes, your friend Su Yao had an abortion yesterday. Weren't you here to pick up her medicine? Su Yao smiled lightly. I'm here to pick up the medicine. Okay, sign here. The doctor took out the bill, along with a series of contracts for the operation performed yesterday. Su Yao said, Can I take a look? Well, no other meaning, I just want to understand it, and then be able to take better care of her. The nurse handed her the papers, and Su Yao flipped through each one, and the patient on each one was Su Yao. The ID number and photocopy, as well as the signature, were all hers. Su Yao was shocked. Chapter 14, I didn't sleep well, it's killing me. Su Yao almost knew what was going on. She smiled at the nurse and said, Thank you, I understand now. The nurse put all the information together, thanked her, told her to stay in bed and not to touch cold water for a while, and gave her all the instructions she needed. But she still told Su Yao that girls have to love themselves and think about themselves, and take precautions. You're right, I'll definitely pass that on. Su Yao wrote Wangshi's name at the bottom of the medication list, took the medicine and left for the hospital. After she left, Zhaoyi came out from behind the stairwell. Su Yao? What's she doing here? It seems necessary to find someone to ask for confirmation. If she's pregnant with Suer's child, then no matter what, we have to find a way to make her get an abortion. She doesn't deserve to be pregnant with Suer's child. Su Yao rode her bike back to the hotel and gave Wangshi the medicine. Wangshi was momentarily stunned. Boss, how did you know to get the medicine? Then she suddenly felt guilty. You saw the text message from the hospital, didn't you? Su Yao sat down on the sofa and looked at her with a calm expression. Although she tried her best to remain calm, she was still heartbroken. I saw it. After I went to the hospital, I found that the names of all the people who had the tests yesterday and the surgery were mine. How did you steal my ID card and put it in for me? Faced with being exposed, Wangshi's face was very embarrassed. She hurriedly explained, Boss, I'm sorry. It was yesterday when you accompanied me to the hospital and took a taxi. I picked it up when you dropped it. I can't let my mother know that I'm pregnant. She is a doctor at the affiliated hospital of that hospital. Although they are not in the same hospital district, she can easily see that I had an abortion. If she finds out I was pregnant, she'll kill me. Su Yao is very calm. If you're afraid of your mother finding out, why didn't you and your boyfriend take precautions in the first place? Wangshi can't help but cry when she mentions this. It was him who didn't want to wear a condom, and there was nothing I could do about it. Su Yao thinks this is just her stupidity. Did it never occur to you that I would find out one day? Boss, I'm really sorry. Wangshi cried, Forgive me. I didn't mean any harm. I don't think using your name will cause you any harm. I was afraid to tell you, I was afraid you wouldn't agree. I will definitely work hard to repay you in the future. Su Yao felt the same way about her as she did about Bai Su. They had both given their true feelings and treated them sincerely, but they both coincidentally. One directly and one indirectly suffered harm. No, the money I gave you yesterday is your salary. I've been running this hotel for half a month, and there's a total of 10,000 yuan, which is your bonus. From now on, you don't need to work at my place. Wangshi was shocked. To be honest, she really wanted to work at Su Yao's pet shop. First of all, she had freedom of time. If she was absent-minded at work, Su Yao wouldn't say anything to her. From time to time, she also invited Wang Yu and herself to go out for dinner and shopping. Secondly, the salary was good and the work wasn't tiring. Boss, I was wrong. I really was wrong. Please forgive me, I beg you. Su Yao stood up and handed her a tissue. This matter can be serious or not. If it gets serious, my husband will find out that I was pregnant and had an abortion. How can I prove my innocence in front of him? Will he hold it against me and be distant with me after that? If it's not serious, as long as I don't tell him, he won't find out, and I'll still be innocent. Wangshi, boss, it's not that serious. He won't find out. Su Yao, even if it doesn't hurt me, I can't use you anymore. From now on, we'll just go our separate ways and pretend we don't know each other. When she left, she closed the door, which also cut off Wang Shi's cries. Outside the hotel, she let out a deep breath. Wang Shi and Wang Yu came to work one after the other a week after she opened the shop. It's almost been a year now. She treats them like good sisters and manages their friendships and superior subordinate relationships with care. When did she ever think that Wang Shi would do this? Back at the pet shop, she thought that the thing Wang Shi did was a trivial matter, or even irrelevant. It wasn't until she saw Zhao Yi in the shop that she knew it wasn't as simple as that. Wang Yu, Auntie, our boss isn't here, so if you have something to say, just say it. Zhao Yi said arrogantly, You? You're just a worker, you're not even a human being, you're a servant, stay away from me. Wang Yu was so angry that her face turned red. Su Yu walked in. She was not short, 168 centimeters, but she had a small frame and a sweet appearance, so she looked slender and willowy. She gave the illusion of being very easy to bully. Su Yu sat down seductively. It's better to serve little brats than to serve certain people, otherwise it's better to be a brat. Where does this idiom come from? Wang Yu listened to this and raised her chin in pride. Zhao Yi angrily said, Who are you cursing? Su Yu is sitting across from her, and she responds with lightness and coquetry to her anger. You're not taking the seat by number, are you? Zhao Yi slaps the table with a face full of anger. Su Yu, don't try to be quick-witted, you think you're something good. She took out a piece of paper with a copy of a pregnancy test on it. Wang Yu took a gasp when she saw it, and she glanced at Su Yu's stomach. Su Yu knew that Zhao Yi was here for something bad. Zhao Yi, whose baby is it? My son's? I'm telling you, I advise you to get an abortion as soon as possible. Don't even think about using your pregnancy to force a marriage, don't even dream of it. Su Yu speaks lightly. It seems that your connections at the hospital aren't very good either. Is this the only pregnancy test you have, and there's nothing else? What else do I need? This is enough. Zhao Yi, get an abortion immediately. Just thinking about you carrying my son's child makes me sick. Su Yu rubbed her sore nose. Not having slept well, it was really killing her. Rich and powerful wives all use money to get rid of their sons. At least they get a check. Either you can't write a check or you're not rich and powerful? Zhao Yi, I knew you poor wretch wanted money. Fine, how much? Pay whatever your son is worth. As long as you say your son is worthless, a scum and a scourge, you don't have to pay a penny. You. Zhao Yi's face turned even uglier. Wang Yu smiled. She poured the boss a glass of honey water. Su Yu took a sip of the sweet drink. Zhao Yi took out a check and wrote a 2, hesitated, wrote 4 zeros, and then hesitated again. Then she put down the pen and snorted, My son is priceless, but you are worthless. 20,000 is enough. So you didn't even look at the check, and Wang Yu took the scanner over. Auntie, you don't need a check for 20,000. Why bother the bank with such a small amount? Just scan it. Zhao Yi felt like she was being forced into a corner. She didn't want to scan it. A check is different from cash. If Su Yu took the check to the bank to exchange it for cash later, she could still report Su Yu for extortion or contact the bank to refuse to give her the money. But now. Chapter 15, So how dare you two touch my people? Su Yu said indifferently, Xiao Yu, how can you just let someone give you money like that and go look in the warehouse to see what dog and cat food is there? She gave Wang Yu a wink, and Wang Yu understood at once. She ran to the back warehouse and looked for the expired ones. Su Yu then said to Zhao Yi, I won't let you give it to me for nothing, I'll trade you something for it. Humph, you're smart. Zhao Yi counted 20,000 yuan, and Wang Yu took a large bag of dog food, imported. It's expensive, this bag is worth 10,000 US dollars, you're getting a bargain. Zhao Yi was disgusted, and said to Su Yu, hurry up and get rid of the baby, and don't let me know you're doing anything with it. Don't worry, your son won't have an heir. Zhao Yi was furious. She felt that Su Yu's mouth was as poisonous as strychnine. Su Yu, don't mess with me next time. She took the dog food and left, throwing it in the trash can as soon as she was out the door. Wang Yu came up to Su Yu, Boss, you really didn't buy Su and I didn't even pull it. I told you, then this inspection list. Su Yu, she framed me. Arrogant old woman, she really has no quality. Su Yu rubbed her temples. She didn't say anything, but she felt very uncomfortable. She always felt that this matter would not end so easily. The dog food was a trigger, and I guessed she would come back to get the 20,000 yuan. She paused and said, contact the sanitation department and take care of the trash can in front of the door. Okay. Su Yao donated the 20,000 yuan that Zhao Yi had just swept in to help the homeless children. As Su Yao expected, Zhao Yi came back within half an hour, accompanied by Bai Su. It had only been 3 or 4 days since they last met, but Bai Su had lost a lot of weight. Before, Su Yao had thought that his facial features were okay, but now she realized that he was just not that ugly. Biting his teeth, Bai Su asked Su Yao, "You're pregnant, whose is it?" "Have I touched you, Su Yao? How dare you cheat on me?" Su Yao rubbed her sore eyes again, and the more she thought about it, the more she hated Bai Su. What a slut. Zhao Yi could finally find a reason to vent. "If it turns out that the baby isn't my son's, how dare you ask me for money? Do you have any shame?" Wang Yu defended Su Yao. "Our boss didn't ask you for money, you're the one who's been aggressive since you got here, and you volunteered to pay 20,000 yuan. Zhao Yi pointed her nose at her. "If you say another word, I'll smack you, believe it or not." Su Yao told Wang Yu to go away, and she stood up and put it in front of Wang Yu. She is wearing flat shoes, which are taller than Zhao Yi's high heels. "I'm telling you, I'm pregnant with your son." Bai Su pulled away from his own mother, his face hideous. He had endured for so long without doing anything to Su Yao, but he never imagined that she had cheated on him with someone else. How could he swallow this insult? "Su Yao, you dare to ask my mom for money, you are really embarrassing. Give the money back or I'll smash your shop. I won't let you go." Zhao Yi, "Yes, pay back the money." "Su Yao, your 20,000 yuan was exchanged for a bag of imported limited edition dog food. It was an equal exchange. When did it become yours to give to me?" "Zhao Yi, you're full of shit." "Su Yao, okay, give me the dog food back in its original packaging, and I'll give you the money right away." Zhao Yi looked outside and could see the empty trash can through the shop window. There was no dog food anywhere. She really regretted it now and shouldn't have thrown the dog food away. She was furious. "Who knows if you picked it up after I threw it away?" Wang Yu quickly moved the computer over, just in time for the surveillance camera at the door to see it. Less than 5 minutes after Zhao Yi left, the sanitation workers came to collect the trash. They took away the bag of dog food. Zhao Yi clenched her fists. Was she supposed to go to the garbage station and sort through it one by one? Are you kidding me? Bai Su couldn't hold back anymore at this point. He grabbed Su Yao's clothes and said viciously, "You little bitch, you dare to cheat on me, I won't let you off." He was about to slap her. Wang Yu was so scared that she wanted to protect Su Yao, but as soon as she pounced over, she heard a loud bang. The man in the suit seemed to have fallen from the sky, and no one knew when he had arrived. He stood in front of Su Yao, looking down at Bai Su with a cold, frightening voice. "What did you just call Su Yao?" Su Yao opened her eyes and saw Huo Jue's broad back. She felt relieved. Although he was lecherous, she felt safe with him. But if it was just him, Su Yao felt that she would not be safe. "Sir, he's calling the boss names, and they're not nice." Wang Yu was indignant. At the same time, she realized that things were not good, so she ran out to call Wang Shi. "Boss is in trouble, come over and help." Zhao Yi, as soon as she saw Huo Jue, was like a mouse in front of a cat, and her arrogance was gone. "Huo, don't listen to this girl's nonsense, how could we have called Su Yao names?" Huo Jue ignored her words and instead walked towards Bai Su. He was like a wall, making Bai Su's cowardice rise from the bottom of his heart. Cousin. Huo Jue grabbed him by the lapel and lifted him up. His cold and ruthless tone was like a blade in the wind. "How dare you scold her, you want to die." He threw him to the ground and punched him, knocking 2 of Bai Su's teeth out. He fell to the ground, spitting blood. Zhao Yi wanted to go over and help, but Huo Jue gave her a look that was as intimidating as thunder, and Zhao Yi didn't dare to move. Xiao Hua, are you going to beat him to death?" Huo Jue's voice was low and fierce. "It seems that you two have forgotten what I told you last time." Like a king who rules over others, he made a phone call. "Everyone listen, the Starry Sky community in the eastern suburbs, the self-built villa in Building 05, I don't want to see it exist in the world, demolish it." Bai Su's face turned pale. "Cousin." Zhao Yi's legs suddenly went weak. That was the only house in their family. If it disappeared, Bai Su's father would beat her to death. With a thud, she knelt down without caring about anything. "Xiao Hua, don't move my house. If the house is gone, we won't have a place to live." "Huo Jue, then how dare you two move my people?" "Su Yao. Since when has she become his person?" She sat down, started drinking water, and peeled another banana. "I have to say, it feels great to have someone help you out." At this time, Huo Jue was really handsome and unparalleled. Zhao Yi was about to hug Huo Jue's legs, crying and panicking. We will never appear in Su Yu's presence again. Huo, don't touch our house, for the sake of your grandmother. Huo Jue also sat down, lying like a dragon, his majesty emanating without anger. My grandmother no longer recognizes you as a relative, and it is not me you should beg forgiveness from. Zhao Yi froze. She looked at Su Yu, who was biting into a banana in a graceful posture, as if waiting for her. She couldn't care less anymore, so she rubbed past her and knelt in front of Su Yu, speaking softly and with tears in her eyes. Miss Su, we shouldn't have come to your place to let you give birth to Suer's child. You can do whatever you want with the child. Is that okay? Please let Suer have a family. Huo Jue's face sank downward, and a chill emanated from his body. Chapter 16, If you let her lose a single strand of hair, I'll peel off a layer of your skin. And you still dare to talk nonsense. Huo Jue's eyes were cold and dark. Don't you want your tongue anymore? Zhao Yi didn't know what she was insisting on. Xiaohua, I'm not talking nonsense, I came here. One you came and interrupted her. You're really a joke. You insulted our boss. After learning that the boss was pregnant, you said all kinds of nasty things and told the boss to abort the baby, and you also called her shameless. I think you're the shameless one. Zhao Yizhu is fighting for his life. I didn't say it, she's making it up. Wang Yuzhen has never seen such an old woman with no bottom line. It's really unjust that such a person still has a villa to live in. Huo Jue, she never changes. It seems I don't have to leave you guys any face. The second call was to the deputy general manager of Huo's. President Xiao, all cooperation with the Bai family is to be stopped immediately. All the businesses the Bai family has been doing under Huo's name, and all the Bai family's customers, take them over. Huo's family will take it all, and the Bai family can only wait to be robbed. They are completely helpless. Bai Su pounded on the ground, his eyes and face showing deep despair. Su Yu threw the banana peel into the trash can, and then used a paper towel to wipe her unpainted lips. She looked at Bai Su first. Seeing his pain, she felt an indescribable sense of pleasure. She was ashamed of having ever wanted to live a good life with him. Only Zhao Yi said again with unyielding resolve, Xiaohua, what are you doing, killing everyone? How can you? Huo Jue slammed the phone down on the table, his long, powerful fingers with clearly defined joints exuding hidden explosive power and sexual tension. Su Yu glanced at it a few times. Su Yu is mine, and to make things difficult for her is to make her my enemy. He said, starting today, the Bai family will check the Dongcheng market for no such person. Bai Su's whole body fell over. He couldn't accept this reality, but he was also unable to speak clearly. Su Yao, how can she be yours? She is clearly mine. Huo Jue stood up, his strong masculine aura like a storm pressing down on the city. Yi Zhu. Two bodyguards came in from outside. He shook his wrist and said, take Miss Su to the milk tea shop next door to sit for a while. Okay. The bodyguard told Su Yao to get up. Su Yao thought, so that's it? That's it? She got up, and Zhao Yi came over to hug her legs. Huo Jue picked her up and she felt his strong masculine strength and seductive hormones. Miss Su, I beg you, Zhao Yi sobbed. How did the Bai family disappear in an instant? Huo Jue whispered to Su Yu, go out and have something to drink, I'll come find you in a while. Okay. She ignored Zhao Yi and Bai Su, and dragged Wang Yu away. After she left, Huo Jue's aura became even more intimidating. Aunt Xiao, you have gone through many twists and turns with my grandmother to be considered a relative. You have done many unsavory things in the name of the Huo family, and I have turned a blind eye, but you should not have treated Su Yu that way. He said, in this world, I will not allow anyone to hurt her. If you let her lose a single strand of hair, I will peel off a layer of your skin. You, Zhao Yi, were shocked. What is your relationship with Su Yu? You don't need to know. Huo Jue rolled up the cuffs of his white shirt and rolled up the shirt to his elbows. He picked up the remote control on the table and closed the curtains in the display window. Suddenly the shop was enveloped in darkness. He glanced towards the door, and another bodyguard dragged Zhao Yi out. Huo Jue left the shop, and the bodyguard closed the door. Huo Jue walked up to Bai Su, knelt down, and his gaze was dark and foreboding, his meaning penetrating. Bai Su trembled, what do you want? Don't you want to know what kind of person Su Yu is to me? Huo Jue said, she is my future wife, and the biological mother of my daughter. What? So you dare to let her get pregnant, and then have her miscarry? You dare to do this to her, and I can make your life worse than death. He punched him, with such explosive power that Bai Su spat out a mouthful of dark blood, and he flew 2 meters away. Bai Su couldn't even get up after being beaten, and his head was bleeding. Su Yao is pregnant with someone else's child. My cousin never touched her. I never even touched her hand. Huo Jue is astonished. Is this true? It's absolutely true. Huo Jue, even if it's true, you deserve to die. Next door. Su Yao is drinking hot red bean milk tea. You didn't really feel like drinking it. Boss, what's wrong with Shi? I called her to come and help, but someone falsely accused you of being pregnant. She said it wasn't her business, that she wouldn't care, and that she wouldn't come to work at the pet shop anymore. How can she be so cold? Su Yao guessed it. Yu, although we're not real sisters, we've known each other for 4 or 5 years, have the same last name, our names are so similar, and we work together. Don't be sad, people will always scatter. After Yu had drunk a few sips of milk tea, she had Shi in her heart and asked Su Yao gossipily, "Boss, who is that gentleman? He's so handsome." "He's my boss." "Huh? I work part-time as a housekeeper at his house, but don't let his appearance fool you, he's a real scoundrel, with dirty hands and feet, and likes to touch girls. You mustn't fall for him." Huo Jue came in through the door. Yu saw him and stood up, her eyes pink. "Sir." Huo Jue told her to go out first, and Yu left. He sat down, looking composed, telling everyone that I'm lecherous? Su Yao, you are. But not every kind of lechery can fascinate me, and I can't take my eyes off someone who isn't as lecherous as you. Su Yao gave him a look that said, I won't be fooled by your smooth talk. Wow, I was right to say you're a rascal, and you're flirting with me with your words again. Huo Jue smiled faintly and didn't say anything. Su Yao asked him again, what did you do with the mother and son? They said they would never appear in front of you again and never slander you. They will leave Dongcheng tomorrow night, and you will never see them again. So you really let their family business fail? Why not? They deserved to suffer like that. If I had been merciful, they would have thought I was weak and would have done it again. Su Yao thought, as expected of a businessman, he was fast, accurate and ruthless. She sighed again, wow, I'm really lucky to look like Qiuqiu, and to have someone like you protect me. Huo Jue said, as long as my daughter calls you mommy, I won't tolerate anyone bullying you. Su Yao happily raised an eyebrow, thank you. Huo Jue looked across the table at her belly, pregnant? No, how could I be? Huo Jue let out a sigh of relief, and the cloud of pent-up emotions in his heart instantly dispersed. Bai Su, why did you say you were pregnant? Oh, it was a misunderstanding, and I don't want to go into the details. Anyway, I'm not pregnant, it was just a misunderstanding between them and their son, who thought I was pregnant and came looking for me to settle the score. It's good that you're not pregnant. Huo Jue gave her a shallow smile. The smile was faint, but it was also stunning like a splash of ink on a landscape painting. Su Yao blinked, you seem to be in heat when you smile like that. He felt that the ball really lived up to its name, as it was constantly surprising him. But she was right, he did. Really want it. Chapter 17 Miss Su, behave yourself. Huo Jue, I misunderstood you yesterday, it was my problem, I made a rash comment without asking clearly, so to make it up to you, I bought your shop in your name. Su Yao swallowed a mouthful of milk tea, her lips were moist and even more seductive, and she reached out and licked them again. It was a subconscious act, but it made an indescribable current of electricity slip through Huo Jue's heart, making him feel hot and bothered. How much is it? I can't afford it. It's a gift. Su Yao, wow, thanks to Shireen, I might reach the peak of my life thanks to Shireen's face. She smiled, showing her beautiful teeth, thanks, boss. Huo Jue looked at her smile, which was intoxicating. You're welcome. Su Yao finished the milk tea, and her belly was bulging. She touched it, if I get pregnant, the father must be this milk tea. Huo Jue's deep, dark eyes gently widened, and his gaze was extremely tender, that's cute. Who's cute? How did Miss Su, who was so insensitive to romance, become a boyfriend and girlfriend with Bai Su? I'm obsessed, aren't I? My parents are not in good health, and life is quite difficult. Bai Su kept coming to my house when he was courting me, and he was very good at pretending. Pretending to be a gentleman, pretending to be a good man, and my parents thought he really was a good man. Su Yao, how can I put it? They intentionally or unintentionally put pressure on me, thinking that I'm not young anymore and it's time for me to fall in love and get married. I also wanted to reassure them, so I agreed to Bai Su's pursuit and tried it with him, but I didn't like his touch and didn't do any intimate things with him. Bai Su had 1,000 faults, but one good thing was that when I didn't agree to make out, He wouldn't force me, so I mistakenly thought that Bai Su was also a good person. I never expected. Huo Jue, are you sure he didn't force you because he respected you? Isn't that the case? A dog that cheats on its owner is not anxious to eat, because it must have eaten while outside. Su Yutong understood after a few seconds, and she was only surprised, not saddened. She said, "You made him go bankrupt," which was absolutely right. You're awesome. Huo Jue felt like a cloud floating lightly in his heart. He brainwashed Su Yutong, then you don't like him, you even hate him, but you want to be with him because of your parents. Su Yutong was confused, really? Huo Jue continued, but it's just a temporary illusion, a false impression caused by your wrong judgment. We have a lot of these illusions every day. You don't like him, you hate him, and you don't want to see him. Otherwise, why wouldn't you want to have physical contact with him and make out? The most intuitive way to show that you like someone is to want to have physical contact with them. You don't, which shows that Bai Su has no weight in your heart. Su Yu thought about what he said and realized that he wasn't wrong. You're right, I really don't like him. That's right, forget about him. Well, I won't miss him. Good girl. It's closed today, let's go play catch. Sure. The two of them left the milk tea shop together. She looked at her shop, Yizhu and Wang Yu were talking, and the cleaning lady came over. She turned her head and got into Huo Jue's car, buckled her seatbelt. Huo Jue started the car and headed towards the school. Can Mississippi Su drive? Su Yu, I can a little, but I'm not very good at it. I'll teach you someday. Su Yu quickly waved his hand, don't teach me, I'll hire a coach. Huo Jue's scarlet tongue swept past the corner of his lips, and a sense of absolute beauty was palpable. Are you afraid? Of course, I'm afraid you'll molest me. Su Yu, although I'm with someone else, you make me feel very safe. But when I'm alone with you, I feel very insecure. Huo Jue's veins are clearly visible as he puts his hand on the steering wheel, smoothly turning it halfway around. The car turns right, and the setting sun falls into the car window, blurring and spreading the relaxed indifference at the corners of his eyebrows. It seems that I can't get rid of the label of lecherous in your mind. Not necessarily. As long as you don't touch me, behave yourself, and over time, I will naturally think you are a good man of integrity. Huo Jue smiled faintly without saying a word. Soon they arrived at the kindergarten. They arrived half an hour early, and there were no parents outside the kindergarten yet. There were only a handful of cars in the parking lot, and it was quiet. Su Yu unbuckled her seatbelt and got out. When she arrived at the entrance of the kindergarten, the security guard greeted her respectfully. Mrs. Huo, are you here to see Bulbul? Su Yu smiled politely and courteously. My name is Su Yu, I am not Mrs. Huo, please don't make a mistake. Mrs. Huo, you are joking. Mr. Huo told you that you are the mother of Qiuqiu, of course you are Mr. Huo's wife, or do you want us to call you Mrs. Huo? Su Yu looked back at Huo Jue, gave him a dissatisfied look, and asked him in a low voice, what did you say to the security guard? It was a bit close. Breaths tangled in the air. Huo Jue said slowly, I only told them that you are the mother of Bulbul, and that you can let you directly enter the campus in the future to pick up and drop off. Saying hello is also considered normal. Huo Jue bent down and lowered his head, and the clean breath of a man instantly enveloped her. Su Yao's heart suddenly skipped a beat, her eyes wide, looking at him nervously. She hurriedly said, don't be a pervert, this is at school. His breath brushed against her cheek, without letting her escape, without making her feel too intimate, the size was just right. Ms. Su, behave yourself. Su Yao, who's behaving badly? He whispered in her ear, if you don't admit that you're Mrs. Huo, you must clarify your identity, otherwise they won't let you in, so as to avoid safety risks for the students inside. Can't I come with you? I'm your family's housekeeper. She muttered, while wondering why his eyelashes were so thick, his eyes so deep, his skin so firm, and his jawline so dainty. No, Uncle Hua has never even entered the school campus. Uncle Hua has never entered? Su Yu, okay then. Huo Jue looked at her rosy ears, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of his lips. He got up, leisurely and composed, as calm as an old fox that had seen it all. Su Yu turned around and went back to the door. The security guard said, Mrs. Hua? Yes, it's me. Do you want to go in? Ah, yes. The guard opened the door, and Su Yu entered, followed by Huo Jue, who still bowed to the guard. Guard, Mr. Hua, it's not yet time for class. Would you like to take a tour with your wife? She hasn't seen the facilities yet. Su Yu frowned at this, why did he keep calling her wife? With her back to Huo Jue, she glared at him fiercely. She told herself, this is for the sake of the ball, bear it. Huo Jue, no, I'll show my wife around. Okay. Su Yao took a deep breath, she'll bear it. Huo Jue quickly followed, I have an investment in this kindergarten, I'll show you around. Su Yao, find a place with no surveillance and no one around. Huo Jue, what for? Chapter 18, You can't keep a man who doesn't listen. You'd better hurry. Huo Jue led her to the corner behind the teaching building, where there were $2 million Buddhist pines. There was no one around and it was out of the surveillance camera's view. Okay, what did Miss Su want to say or do? Su Yao tilted her head back and her cheeks puffed up, stand still. I'm standing still. Su Yao clenched her fists and punched him in the stomach. Huo Jue. Ouch. Su Yao's hand hurts, so she rubs the back of her hand and glances at his stomach again, wondering why it is so hard. Does it hurt? Huo Jue asks, reaching out to rub it for her. Su Yao hides her hand behind her back defensively. Huo Jue withdraws his hand, what I mean is, you can also choose to kick me. That makes sense. Su Yao lifted her leg, but then thought better of it. She would be meeting her teacher later, and it would be inappropriate to see footprints on his leg. She retracted her leg. She warned him, if you call me madam again, I won't hold back. You're not helping me find a boyfriend, are you? Security guards call me that, and I do it for the sake of my ball. And you're calling me that too? What do you mean? Huo Jue said indifferently, I'm just saying. Bullshit. Okay, I'll try not to call you madam at school, but doesn't Miss Su think that making money is more attractive than finding a boyfriend? If you meet another guy like Bai Su, you'll spend the rest of your life in the hands of scum. Su Yao, don't I know how to find a boyfriend who is rich and has good character? Huo Jue's lips moved slightly, and he pursed his lips again. Su Yao looked at him sharply. You little move, you don't mean you, do you? Huo Jue was silent again, and silence is acquiescence. Su Yao's chin jutted out, you can't, you're a lustful thief. Huo Jue. I just want to earn your money. Okay. Su Yao instructed him, this time I'll let it slide, but you're not allowed to say anywhere else what kind of person I am to you, especially words like madam that will cause misunderstandings, got it? That's more like it. Su Yao turned around and walked away, muttering to herself as she walked, you can't keep a man who doesn't listen. Huo Jue looked at her small figure as she walked away, smiling faintly and indulging her. He followed her. The sun was about to set, and the sky was a color between bright and warm yellow. Su Yao had tied her hair into a high ponytail, was wearing a false two-piece lady's shirt, and below was a pair of straight leg pants with a very elegant drape, and a pair of clean white shoes. She was walking in the midst of the grass, looking like a picturesque beauty in a poem, outshining everything else. Huo Jue followed behind her, and the first thing he saw was her fair, graceful neck, with strands of hair swaying from the back of her head. Su Yao. Su Yao didn't turn around, why? If you keep walking like that, you'll fall into the pond. Su Yao stopped. When she stopped, Huo Jue's chest slammed into her back, and Su Yao's body swayed, and she fell to the ground. Instinctively, Huo Jue wrapped his arms around her waist and lifted her up. 5 seconds later. Huo Jue. Huo Jue's hands moved away from her body. He couldn't tell from her expression, so he spoke indifferently, sorry, I didn't mean to. I was afraid you'd fall. Su Yao was too angry to say a word. And the high salary he offered made her too timid to say anything like, if you keep this up, I'm quitting. She couldn't take it anymore. She kicked him in the leg. I'll give you a big footprint. Huo Jue looked down at the shoe print on his pants. Luckily, it wasn't too big. What did you say? Su Yao was even more angry. Huo Jue looked at her with burning eyes and curled his lips. Su Yao was so angry, she was about to die, how dare you laugh? Huo Jue pursed his lips, I'm not laughing. You did smile. You still won't admit it, I'm very funny. Huo Jue, I was wrong. Su Yao wanted to give him a good lecture, but he admitted his mistake. Where did you go wrong? Huo Jue, I was wrong not to smile when I saw how cute you are, and I was wrong to feel so good when I saw the beautiful Miss Su. Su Yao, you. She ran out of words. What to do? It seemed like she wasn't angry anymore, and she even wanted to smile a little. No. Hold it together. You can't just let him praise her and lose your principles. So she pretended to say, if you keep talking nonsense, I'll punch you. I'm telling the truth, Miss Su is the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. Ah. What an asshole. What a mouth. Su Yao quickly turned her head, because she couldn't hold back the smile and he couldn't see it. But Huo Jue was so much taller than her, how could he not see the way her cheeks spread out to the sides? So cute and eye-catching. He couldn't help but lightly curve his lips. Su Yao walked away, striding with long strides, her hair fluttering in the wind, her posture light. From her hair to the soles of her feet, she exuded a certain kind of message. She was in a good mood. Huo Jue had achieved his goal. He hoped she wouldn't remember the harm that Bai Su and her mother had done to her. It wasn't worth feeling sorry for people like that. The campus was huge, and after the two of them had walked halfway around it, it was time for class to end. The teacher led a group of children out of the classroom, and Qiuqiu was standing in the front row, carrying her little pink school bag, with two pigtails and wearing their kindergarten's tens of thousands of yuan school uniform. She was holding a sign in her hand, Class 2, Happy Class. She looked serious, like a little adult. The children behind her followed her, and she didn't forget to tell them, follow me, don't wander off, you'll see your mommy and daddy soon. Su Yao saw her and was full of joy. She felt a sense of pride in her daughter. Bao Bao also saw her, and gave a toothsome smile on her tight face, waving at her. Then she continued walking, missing Su Yao and not coming to find her. Bao Bao led the students from Class 2 to the school gate. She shouted, look carefully at your parents. Don't follow anyone else, and listen to the monitor. A group of little kids excitedly stamped their feet, all looking happily towards the gate. When a parent came to pick someone up, she asked the child if they knew the person. After all the children in her class had been picked up, she took the sign and gave it to the teacher. The teacher was pleased and gave her a lollipop. Today's monitor did a really good job. The teacher is very happy for you, keep up the good work next week. Qiuqiu giggled, Teacher Wang, I will definitely keep up the good work, I will protect all the children in our class, don't worry. Teacher Wang rewarded her with a hug. Huo Jue and Su Yao arrived, and Huo Jue bowed to the teacher, you have worked hard. Su Yao also bowed, saying hello to the teacher. Teacher Wang smiled and said, Qiuqiu has been doing better and better these past 2 days. She hasn't hit any of the other children, she hasn't had any conflicts with her classmates, and she's getting along better and better with them. This is inseparable from the guidance of Mr. and Mrs. Hua. Huo Jue, you're too kind. It's your guidance that's effective. After a few humble words, Teacher Wang said, there will be a parent-child sports day next week. Please come and join us, Mr. and Mrs. Hua. Huo Jue was silent, and Su Yao hinted to him, say something. You said you'd come alone. Huo Jue said, Teacher, Balbal's mom might have something to do that day. Teacher Wang said, I haven't even said which day it is yet. Balbal's mom has been absent for many years. Since she's back, she should pay more attention to her child. I hope to see Mr. and Mrs. Hua together that day. I'm sure Balbal will be very happy too. Qiuqiu hugged Su Yao's leg, his eyes wide with anticipation. Qiuqiu nodded, yes. Su Yao, okay, I'll be there. The teacher left with a smile. Su Yao crouched down and touched Qiuqiu's face, that's great. Qiuqiu also crouched down and pulled an egg out of her empty school bag, Mummy, here. We had eggs for lunch, and Qiuqiu saved this one especially for you. Su Yao took the egg and felt warm inside, ashamed that she had not come to the sports day. She was deeply moved, thank you, my baby. Qiuqiu said in a baby voice, you're welcome. She took out a cup of yogurt and handed it to Huo Jue, Dad, here you go. Huo Jue took it and said, is this for Dad? Yes, Mum has some and so does Dad. She pulled the zipper of her school bag up, put it on her younger brother's back, tilted her head, and her young face beamed with a smile. Mommy and Daddy, Balbal was very obedient at school, and I missed you both today. Su Yao couldn't help but pick her up and kiss her. She didn't have children, so she couldn't experience the hardships and happiness of carrying a child for 10 months, but now she understood the unparalleled sense of satisfaction that a child brings. Mommy misses you too. Huo Jue's eyes darkened. This was the first time Su Yao had called herself Mommy. Qiuqiu pouted, so Su Yao held out her face for her to kiss. Qiuqiu went to grab Huo Jue's shoulder again, so Huo Jue held himself out for her to kiss. Pats. Kiss Daddy. Su Yao carried Qiuqiu out, and Huo Jue took the school bag off her shoulders. The three of them walked out of the school grounds. When they reached the door, Balbal excitedly told the security guard, Daddy and Mummy came to pick me up together today. Did your daddy and mummy come to pick you up? Security guard. Ball waved her limited edition sneakers and blew the security guard a few mischievous kisses. When they reached the parking lot, Ball didn't see Mummy's electric car. Her mouth pouted. I want Mummy to pick me up on an electric car. She doesn't want Daddy's broken Porsche. At that moment, the security guard had finished work too. The DD electric car was unlocked, and he rode it proudly and stylishly in front of Ball. I have an electric car. Oh, you don't? Ball, you're so pitiful. Ball, Huo. She jumped out of Su Yao's arms and went to grab the security guard's car. Before she could get down, the security guard ran away with a big smile. A gust of wind blew into Huo's face. It was a wind full of arrogance and provocation. Qiuqiu stamped her foot. Dad, I don't want to take the car. Huo Jue calmly said, Are you sure? Yes. I don't want to take the car. Okay. Huo Jue opened the car door and let Su Yao get in first. Su Yao cooperated, jumped in, and said to Qiuqiu, Baby, Daddy and I are going back. Qiuqiu stood pitifully on the ground, her small figure looking blankly at her heartless father and her obedient mother. Huo Jue reminded him again, Get in the car or you'll have to find your own way home. Qiuqiu looked stubborn. Fine, I'll find my own way home. I'm not worried. Su Yao, this kid is so smart. She covered her mouth and laughed, looking at Huo Jue. You get in, you continue. I'll see if you can compete with your daughter. Chapter 19. Are you trying to anger your only daughter? Huo Jue remained calm. This is in front of the school, you can't lose it. Qiuqiu hugged her arms, her face twitched in displeasure, and she angrily said, Are you going to get me an electric car or not? No. Qiuqiu angrily ran over, took the milk in Huo Jue's hands and said angrily, I'm not giving it to you, I don't love you anymore. Huo Jue said nonchalantly, Okay. Qiuqiu was furious. She almost cried. No, she couldn't let her pearls go so easily. Huo Jue would never care about her. He was as black as coal. She had to find a way to get an electric car. Su Yao watched their interaction and thought, Huo Jue not only scolds her, but also his own daughter. She felt better and had found an ally. Baby, fight. Defeat your father. Qiuqiu's eyes twinkled and she had an idea. She handed him the milk and said softly, Daddy, you drink it. Even though you won't get a motorized tricycle for Ball, you're still Ball's favorite daddy. Daddy works so hard at work, and Ball can't be mad at you. Ball loves you the most. Ball saved this milk for Daddy, and she doesn't even want to drink it, she wants Daddy to drink it. Su Yao was so happy that she leaned against the car window, her heart melting. My goodness. Her daughter is so cute. She knows how to win people over. She really wanted to say, if Daddy won't get you an electric car, Mommy will. I'll get you whatever you want. She glanced at Huo Jue and said, If you don't agree to your daughter's request, just look at her. You've lost, haven't you? But Huo Jue was completely unmoved. He looked at the milk and then at his daughter. Qiuqiu raised her eyebrows in secret. Humph, you rotten father, I'll see if you'll take the milk. If you do, you have to get me an electric car. If you don't, you can expect the next attack from your baby. Today, I must go home in an electric car. So you watched them with interest, waiting to see what Huo Jue would do. And he calmly took the milk. Qiuqiu couldn't help but smile, showing a few small white milk teeth. From her hair to her toes, she said, Hurry up and get your lovely daughter an electric car. Ah, can't you take me? Huo Jue took the straw and opened the milk. Qiuqiu was out of breath at this point, and she started crossing her arms. Her chin tilted up. In a huff. Comrade Huo Jue, you just couldn't resist my praise. Your concentration is so poor. Your daughter wins. Huo Jue unruffled, took in all her little expressions, and gave her a barely perceptible wink of the lips as a compliment for her quick wit. Then he handed the milk to Su Yao. Miss Su, you drink. Su Yao. Qiuqiu. Huo Jue said to Su Yao, This is your daughter's filial piety, try it. As the saying goes, he who eats another's food is short-tempered, he who receives another's favor is weak. Su Yao was embarrassed to accept the milk. She glanced at Qiuqiu, who was a little confused. Huo Jue asked Qiuqiu again, Do you have a problem if I let your mommy drink this milk? Qiuqiu could only shake his head, no. Mommy is tired after a long day at work. If you ask her to go to the pet shop to get you a battery-powered car, you'll make her collapse on the way. You're torturing your mother like this, and you're okay with that? Su Yao looked at Huo Jue and was shocked. Are you being petty? Your daughter is morally blackmailing you, and you are morally blackmailing your daughter. And you've dragged me into this. You're also shifting the blame. Your daughter is only 3.5 years old, how could she possibly react to this? Sure enough. Ball's mouth fell open, and she was about to cry. But who is Huo Balls? She is determined to become the Earth's flower. The Earth's flower cannot be defeated so easily. She giggled, okay, Daddy, give it to Mommy. I love Mommy most of all. Huo Jue knew from the expression on her daughter's face that she had another trick up her sleeve. He waited for his daughter to give him a difficult problem. Su Yao brought the milk over and took a sip. Wow, it's delicious, thank you baby. Ball stood outside the car, trying hard to stand on her tiptoes, and smile like a sunflower. Huo Jue was in a good mood, and was looking forward to seeing what she wanted to do. Mummy, do you love Ball? Su Yao, of course. Then do you love Daddy or Ball? Huo Jue. There was no way he could win this question. Su Yao didn't hesitate for a second, of course I love Ball. Hee, Ball loves Mummy too. Mummy, get off the car and let's go home together. Daddy can go home alone. I have a lot of pocket money, I'll treat Mummy to dinner and ignore Daddy. Su Yao's eyes lit up, yes. Su Yao pushed open the door and got out. Ball immediately wrapped her legs around her. Su Yao picked her up and kissed her hard. Let's go, we're going back. Qiuqiu gave Huo Jue a smug and provocative look. So, do you admit defeat? Look, your mommy ignores you. Huo Jue's thin lips curved slightly, his expression calm and collected, as he put an arm around the rear-view mirror and said, Miss Su. Su Yao looked back at him, huh? I don't think you've forgotten your job description, have you? If you're only responsible for Qiuqiu, you'll only get 20,000 yuan a month. But with me, you'll get 100,000 yuan, which means that the ball is a byproduct of your work. Given that you have been ignoring me these days and have not been doing your job, I have the right to readjust the contract and reevaluate your salary. Su Yao. The salary has been reduced from 100,000 yuan to 20,000 yuan, and she refuses to do it. She puts the ball on the ground and smiles. Boss, what do you want me to do? Get in the car. Oh. Su Yao moved closer to the car, and Qiuqiu tilted her head, looking confused. Su Yao looked at her, feeling very reluctant, but 100,000 yuan. Qiuqiu can't run away, but the salary will run away. The baby looked at her in disbelief, feeling her heart being put to the test. She made up her mind, don't argue with your father, get in the car and go home, I'll get in first. With a whoosh, she got into the car. Qiuqiu. Okay. She looked at Huo Jue again, her chin up, and said, you little brat. You're trying to make your only daughter angry. Huo Jue pointed at the car window and said, are you sure you don't want to come back? Qiuqiu said with great pride, no. Okay, your mother and I are going home to eat eggs, you do whatever you want. He went to the driver's seat and started the car. The engine roared, which scared Qiuqiu. Her round, big eyes were wide open, and she looked at him with a defiant expression. 3 seconds later, the car sped off, sending a gust of wind that made Ball stumble and nearly sit on the ground. She clenched her fists and pointed her short little fingers at the car's disappearing rear end. Huo Jue, you'll get spanked, darn it. The car was gone. Huo Ball. She slowly withdrew her finger, her face puffing up like a dumpling, full of displeasure. She was wrong. Her little teeth said, stupid dad, just you wait. She had to get lost today, I'm so worried about you, humph. Chapter 20, Father and Daughter Face Off. Qiuqiu put her hands in her pockets and wandered over to the kindergarten again. The guard saw her and teased her, why are you back again? Does your dad not like you anymore since he got your mom? Qiuqiu snorted, my father said that people who say things like that to me are not good people. Ah, rolling your eyes is quite cute, roll one more. So Qiuqiu performed a 2-minute rolling of the eyes at them, and in the end successfully made herself dizzy, and her eyes were about to return to their original position. She snuck into the security room, started eating their bread, watched another episode of Peppa Pig, and finally quietly unplugged the power supply, turning off all the surveillance cameras in the park. Then she slipped out of the school unnoticed by the security guards and ran out into the street. She knew that her father could see the school's surveillance cameras, but now he couldn't, and she was so worried about him. In the Porsche, Su Yao was extremely worried, and for the 5th time she asked Huo Jue, "Are you sure? What if she really gets lost?" Huo Jue didn't look worried at all, and said, "Don't worry, even if a human trafficker lost her, they couldn't lose her." But she was only 3 years old, she was still young. "Let me show you the surveillance camera." Huo Jue opened the kindergarten surveillance camera from his phone and saw Qiuqiu sitting in the guardroom, eating and drinking, crossing her legs, and looking very happy. Su Yao let out a long sigh of relief. After a while, the surveillance camera went out, and she became nervous again. She couldn't see anymore. Huo Jue, she must have done it on purpose. The screen remained dark, and 2 minutes later it came back, but Qiuqiu was no longer there. Huo Jue's phone rang. "Boss, Qiuqiu is shopping alone." Su Yao leaned towards him, wanting to hear what the bodyguard was saying on the phone. Unconsciously, her cheek came close to his arm. Huo Jue subtly leaned towards her. Su Yao's cheek rubbed against his crisp shirt. She didn't notice. Young master, Qiuqiu was staring at the cotton candy, so she went up to the person selling it and asked for some. Qiuqiu was selling candy and sold 3 in 10 seconds, so the shopkeeper gave her a reward. She ate the cotton candy and went away with her hands in her pockets. She went into another dessert shop, but it wasn't as high profile as the first one. She ordered a red velvet cake and sat down to eat it. Young master, the shop assistant is coming over to me. Oh no, Qiuqiu has noticed me." Soon, the waitress's voice came from over there. "Sir, a child in our store said you would pay. Are you going to pay in the store or here? I've brought you the payment code. The cake is 66. Su Yao burst out laughing. Her daughter was simply too clever. She tilted her head subconsciously and fell into his arms. Huo Jue also slightly curled his lips. After the bodyguard paid, the waitress went back. Soon the bodyguard panicked. "Boss, the ball is gone. Look around the neighborhood." "Yes." The bodyguard hung up the phone. Huo Jue also drove the car to the road where the bodyguard followed the ball. The bodyguard called again, and the ball was not found. He even got traffic surveillance to see where she went, and he knew that she left through the back door of the bakery. Su Yao was really worried and wanted to get out of the car, but Huo Jue stopped her. "I trust my daughter. As long as she doesn't run into any vicious criminals, she won't get lost." "Are you so sure?" "Yes." Huo Jue started the car again and headed towards the villa district in the depths of Lotus Flower. Su Yao was still anxious. Her heart was racing. She hoped nothing had happened. Where the hell had this little girl gone? How was it possible for her to avoid the surveillance of the security cameras and bodyguards and disappear? What was wrong with that little brain of hers? She was as anxious as a hot pot of ants, while on the other side, an electric car went into the depths of the lotus flowers and went to the villa at the innermost lakeside, a few minutes' drive from the central villa. After the electric car went in, the bodyguard took off his overcoat to reveal Qiuqiu's face, as if waking from a dream. The car was swaying so much that she almost fell asleep. She jumped out of the car and saluted, "Uncle, thank you." "You're welcome. My young master is waiting for you inside." Qiuqiu bounced into the door, and with ease, she entered the house. After entering the door, she put her arms behind her back and walked into the living room like an old cadre. She glanced around, and then she asked, "Why is there no one here?" "Shen. What did you call me?" A light and gentle voice drifted down from upstairs. Qiuqiu turned her head and saw a tall man wearing a dark blue homesuit coming down the stairs. He had medium-length flaxen hair that was fluffy and arrogant. He had his hands in his pockets and looked carefree. He walked up to Qiuqiu and cupped her head in his hands. "Say daddy or I'll break your neck." Qiuqiu giggled, "Second daddy." Shen Yefeng strode over to the sofa with long legs, his knuckles clearly visible as he pinched his black phone, spinning it around in his hand. "You sneaked and called me to send someone to pick you up on an electric bike. What evil deed did you do this time? Huo Jue disowned you? Can you be my daughter?" Qiuqiu sat down next to him, crossed her legs like him, and said childishly, "How could I do anything evil? You've done plenty. You set off firecrackers at my house a few months ago and almost blew it up. You didn't say anything about that. A few days ago, you put 2 pinches of salt in my tea. How is that not evil?" Qiuqiu. She jumped off the sofa and stood in front of Shen Yufeng. Her little face puffed up. Daddy, do you say you love me? Xin Yufeng raised an eyebrow. No. Ball waved his hand, his little eyebrows wrinkled, and he said matter-of-factly, but I love you, super love. Here comes this again. Every time you want me to be your slave, you do the same thing. You're just like your mother. Qiuqiu squeezed into his arms, the little tyrant hooked his neck, and Xin Yufeng refused. No, I don't have a wife yet, I won't kiss you. Qiuqiu stood on his lap, and Xin Yufeng had to hold her up for fear of her falling. She kissed Xin Yufeng's face over and over again. After the kiss, she jumped down. You're mine now. Xin Yufeng, okay, tell me, what else do you want me to do? My father will definitely come looking for you to ask me about you later. You said you've never seen me before. If my father gets so anxious that he cries and takes pictures to show me, is that okay? Xin Yufeng ruthlessly retorts, are you sick? If I were sick, my father would feel bad. Xin Yufeng loves and hates this little devil. He is the second young master of the Xin family, but what makes him qualified to live in the same community as her and be enslaved by her every day? Ever since she was little, she has ordered him around countless times. Just with that mouth that can say anything to anyone. She is right, if she gets sick, apart from Huo Jue, the first person who will go crazy with worry is him. Okay, I promise. Qiuqiu immediately gave him a flying kiss, then snuggled up to him and gave her second father a hug. She pouted, Daddy, I want fried chicken, buy it for me. Eat, eat, eat. Xin Yufeng sent someone to buy it, and pinched her flesh. Don't lose weight, little piglets are the cutest. Qiuqiu patted her chest, incredibly proud, I'm a little piglet, and Daddy loves me too, even the baby knows. Xin Yufeng, he was pretty much at the mercy of this little brat. 40 minutes later, the little girl was right, Huo Jue really came. Chapter 21, Help, the ball is dying. When Huo Jue arrived, Qiuqiu was hiding in Xin Yufeng's media room, munching on a chicken leg and drinking cola. The giant screen was showing bears, in which the bald guy drives a car at breakneck speed to chop down trees, while the two bears ride on a motorcycle behind him. After a fierce chase, the bald guy overturns the car. Ha ha ha. Qiuqiu, who had oil all over her face from eating, laughed until she fell over. I told you driving was no good, you should have ridden an electric bike. She continued watching. Downstairs. Huo Jue sat on the sofa, Xin Yufeng opposite him, both of them silent. Xin Yufeng had always wanted to steal Qiuqiu away, but had failed, so he had been unhappy with Huo Jue for a long time. He frowned his handsome brows and asked, what do you actually want? Huo Jue rubbed the bridge of his nose. It was getting dark, and the light in the living room shone on his handsome face. He opened his lips slightly and said, I was bored and came to visit. Qiuqiu has been talking about you for the past few days. Who else would my daughter be talking about if not me? Huo Jue glanced around the room. It was empty. Had he ever thought about finding a wife? Are you sick? Why did you come here to make fun of me? What, are you addicted to being a single father for 3 years? Does Qiuqiu have a stepmother? Do you have the right to laugh at me? After thinking about it, Xin Yufeng said again, I'm warning you, if you marry another woman, give Qiuqiu to me as soon as possible. Huo Jue pulled on the tie around his neck, looked at him sideways, and his eyebrows and eyes relaxed. He suddenly remembered Shi Yin's sister, Shinan, so he came to see you. Xin Yufeng suddenly heard the two words Shinan and his heart jumped. It had been a long time since he had heard that name. His heart felt blocked, but at the same time an invisible wind blew up the long-buried emotions deep in his heart. It was tingling. He took a deep breath. What the hell is that asshole Shinan bringing up? I forgot about her a long time ago. Well, forget it. Good, you continue to pine away, goodbye. He got up and was about to leave. Xin Yufeng couldn't help swearing, I'm fine, and you come here to mention Shinan, are you deliberately trying to upset me? Didn't you forget who Shinan is? Xin Yufeng said harshly, of course, what is she, just a passerby? Well, I don't have a passerby, I'm going home to be with her, so please take care of her tonight. Huo Jue walked towards the door. Xin Yufeng, what do you mean? Nothing, just wait patiently for Shinan to come back to you. A cold wind blew in Xin Yufeng's heart, and the eyes of the cold wind were full of Shinan, that bitch. At this moment, he really stabbed Huo Jue. Huo Jue left the community, and Xin Yufeng also got up. He went to pack Qiuqiu. He had to take it out on someone. But he happened to see a small bag of milk powder and a bottle in the entranceway. Xin Yufeng went over and took the bottle, then went upstairs and grabbed Qiuqiu, who was so engrossed in eating that he had forgotten all about his surroundings. Second father, if you buy me a saw, I'll chop down a tree too. Xin Yufeng gave her a finger in the forehead, which made Qiuqiu cry out in pain. I told you to be smarter, you've wasted so much good milk powder. As soon as you disappeared, you ran to me. Your father can tell where you are just by feeling with his knee. How could he be so anxious that he cries? Qiuqiu opened her pink little mouth into an egg shape. Stinky dad knows, right? Let's go to your house, I'll help you clean up Huo Jue. Good dad. Qiuqiu rubbed her hands together, ready to jump onto Xin Yufeng's back. Xin Yufeng looked at the oil on her hands and threatened, if you dare touch me, I'll chop off your hand. The uncle was smiling like a little villain, about to do something naughty and hug him, when suddenly his belly started to hurt. She covered her stomach in an exaggerated manner. Ouch, it hurts. Xin Yufeng, go poop. Great. Balls ran into her own little bedroom at her father's house, and with great familiarity, took a mask from the cupboard and put it on. She didn't want to stink up the place when she pooped. As she sat down on her little toilet, she flapped her hands and covered her ears with her hands. She laughed embarrassedly, blushing. Xin Yufeng waited outside, thinking about Shernan and that cold woman, his heart in a mess. Soon he heard Bao Bao wailing. He hurried in, and there she was, standing by the toilet, crying her heart out. Dad, I'm going to die, I'm definitely not going to live long. Wow, Dad. She reached out for a hug. Xin Yufeng picked her up and looked at the stinky stuff she had made in the toilet. Shit, the poop was reddish pink. Fuck. What happened? He quickly flushed the toilet, carried Ball out, called Huo Jue, and said something had happened, so they had to go to the hospital. When they arrived at Juju's house, he got into the car. Huo Jue drove, and Xin Yufeng held Ball in the back seat. Ball cried uncontrollably, shouting daddy over and over. Huo Jue drove at breakneck speed, coaxing in a low voice, it's okay, daddy won't let anything happen to you, don't worry. Qiuqiu wiped her tears on Xin Yufeng's shirt and said in a whiny voice, I'm going to die, I've lost so much blood, wow. Xin Yufeng's heart ached at the bitter crying, and he said to Huo Jue, hurry up. Huo Jue once again stepped on the accelerator. Qiuqiu blinked her eyes, where's Mummy? Huo Jue, at home. Xin Yufeng was surprised, Mom? Huo Jue, you fucking went behind my back and found a woman? Wow. Ball started crying again, and this time she began to say her last words, Dad, Ball was wrong, Ball will never argue with you again, and I won't play with you anymore. After Ball dies, you and Mom will have another baby. Huo Jue. Ball again placed her hand on Xin Yufeng's clothes and wiped them, while telling him, second dad. What? You can't bully me anymore, and you won't have a daughter in the future. You have to be good, eat well and go to work. Shut up. Ball cried again, you're still yelling at me, then you'll die with me, you'll die with me. Get out of here. Wow. You don't even want to die with me, I won't be your daughter anymore. She was out of breath from crying and wanted to accuse Xin Yufeng. The baby loves you so much, you can't even do this, you don't love me. Xin Yufeng patted her on the head, why don't you tell Huo Jue to die with you? If daddy dies, then Mummy won't have anyone to take care of her, don't let daddy die. Xin Yufeng. Call Grandpa, I want to talk to Grandpa. Xin Yufeng didn't even bother to respond to her. He saw that she was in good spirits. So he turned on the voice recorder on his phone. As soon as he did, she cried even louder. Grandpa, Qiuqiu is about to die, and she won't be able to keep you company in the future. You have to take care of your health, and you have to leave all your money to Dad. After Qiuqiu dies, if anyone bullies you, you can go to Qiuqiu's grave and tell her, and Qiuqiu can become a ghost at night and go beat them up. Xin Yufeng was both distressed and amused. Huo Jue slowed down. He felt that Qiuqiu was fine, except that she had eaten something she shouldn't have. The hospital was reached, and Qiuqiu's last words were almost said. She named her grandparents, great-grandparents, aunts, and uncles. Finally, she was held by Huo Jue, and she cried, I want to find a lot of daddies for Mommy, but I'm going to die. She sniffled, looking as pathetic as she could be. Xin Yufeng. Huo Jue was puzzled, find a lot of dads? Chapter 22, Shireen, where's your sister? Qiuqiu nodded, her eyes red, tears hanging on her thick eyelashes, falling patter. I want a lot of dads to take care of Mommy together, Mommy is so pitiful. Huo Jue. Xin Yufeng, how did you give birth to such a thing? The doctor's office arrived. Qiuqiu grabs the doctor's arm and cries, "Help, baby doesn't want to die, I'm still young, only 3 years old, if I die, dad will cry, uncle save me." Xin Yefeng steps back, really not wanting to know her. Huo Jue purses her lips and sighs silently. The doctor holds back a laugh and says, "Uncle will take a look, don't worry, be good." Qiuqiu nods obediently, "Okay." She turned around and tried to pull Xin Yefeng, but he didn't want to deal with her tears and just looked at her. Qiuqiu cried out, "Daddy!" Xin Yefeng had no choice but to give her his hand so she could hug him. She said shakily, second, daddy, you have to die with the baby." Shan Yefeng. He clenched his teeth in anger, wanting to peel her skin off. The doctor couldn't hold back his laughter after all. After a thorough examination and 2 hours of fussing, the doctor finally asked her what had happened. He learned that she had eaten red velvet cake, which had caused mild gastrointestinal discomfort and a reddish color to her stool. Nothing serious had happened. Qiuqiu stopped crying this time and sniffled, "Are you sure I won't die?" "No, definitely not. You're very healthy." Qiuqiu was happy, hee. The sight of her swollen eye smiling was so funny that Xin Yefeng took a picture of her and printed it out to put on the front door someday. Huo Jue was also a little relieved and left the doctor's office. Bulbul blinked her eyes and got a new idea in her head. She called out to the doctor, "Uncle, I want to poop pink poop tomorrow, is that okay?" "Doctor." Huo Jue. Xin Yufeng, he really couldn't stand the girl, so he grabbed her from Huo Jue's arms, picked her up by the collar, and carried her out of the hospital like a trash bag. Whoa. Help, robbery, stealing a baby. The baby was crying, so Xin Yufeng had to pick her up and cover her mouth to keep her quiet. The baby pouted, got tired of crying, and fell asleep on Xin Yufeng's shoulder, breathing heavily. Xin Yufeng kissed her and patted her head, saying, "I've never seen such a stupid kid." Huo Jue heard this and came over to hug Bulbul. He tossed the car keys to Xin Yefeng and said, "If you're so capable, you can ask Shernan to give you a daughter too." Xin Yefeng felt a stab in his chest, "I really owe you father and daughter." He took the car keys and got into the car. Bulbul fell asleep in Huo Jue's arms quickly, her little face pressed against his chest, her face red from crying. Huo Jue tenderly stroked her face and held her finger between his lips and kissed it. Little rascal. His phone rang. Su Yao had sent a message. "Where is Qiuqiu? How is it going? Are you okay?" Huo Jue replied, "I'm fine, I'm on my way. Go to sleep. I'll wait for you." Huo Jue looked at these words for a long time. For the first time in so many years, someone had said something like this to him. His heart couldn't help but burn. He transferred 52,000 yuan to her card. "Thank you for caring about Qiuqiu, you've worked hard." Su Yao sent out countless exclamation marks, "Mr. Huo, why are you giving money again? It's a reward for you, because Qiuqiu likes you." "Thank you, Mr. Huo, I will definitely work hard." Huo Jue's thin lips slightly curled. When they arrived at the community, the Porsche stopped in the courtyard. Su Yao, wearing slippers and holding a spatula in her hand, hurriedly ran out of it, worried about Qiuqiu. And when Xin Yufeng saw her, he was shocked. "Shireen? She's back? If she's back home, does that mean Shernan has arrived too?" As soon as the car came to a stop, he couldn't wait to get out and pulled Su Yao, who was rushing over, by the arm. Su Yao stumbled and almost fell, and before she could stand up straight, she was jolted again by the strange man. Her neck was about to snap. "Shireen, where's your sister, where is she?" Su Yao tried to break free from his grip, but as soon as she struggled, he squeezed her shoulder even tighter. "It hurts. Who are you? Let go of me." "Shireen, where the hell is your sister?" Huo Jue put Bao Bao, who had fallen asleep, in the back seat, got out of the car, pulled Su Yao out of Xin Yufeng's hands, and said sternly, "You scared her." Xin Yufeng tried to pull Su Yao away again, but Huo Jue took Su Yao in his arms. Su Yao clung to him tightly, not noticing that she and Huo Jue were hugging so tightly that they were completely airtight. She looked at Xin Yufeng. He was handsome and had an outstanding temperament, but something about him was a little off. Xin Yufeng's breathing was ragged, and he was trying hard to hold back. "Tell me where your sister is." Su Yao felt confused. "I don't have a sister. I'm the only one in my family." "What are you joking about?" Xin Yufeng gritted his teeth, "Don't play dumb." He tried to pull Su Yao again, and Su Yao suddenly wrapped her arms around Huo Jue's waist, while instinctively, out of self-preservation, she swung the spatula in her hand at Xin Yufeng. Xin Yufeng didn't even dodge, and he looked straight at the spatula as it smashed towards him. With a clang, the spatula hit him in the forehead, and he didn't even blink. The spatula fell to the ground. The sound was loud, and it echoed in the empty garden. Xin Yufeng looked straight at Su Yao, his eyes calm and hoarse. Tell me where she is. Su Yao was anxious. I really don't know, and I'm not Shireen. Xin Yufeng's heart's little bit of urgency instantly collapsed. Are you playing with me? I'd recognize you if you turned to dust. Su Yao turned her head away from him, her eyes closed, her cheeks buried in Huo Jue's chest, that profile exactly like Balbal's. Huo Jue hugged her and patted her back to comfort her. He said to Xin Yufeng, she is no longer Shireen. Xin Yufeng mocked, what do you mean? Wait. Huo Jue picked up Balbal from the back seat and put his arm around Su Yao again as they went upstairs to Su Yao's bedroom. Huo Jue was still holding her. Su Yao finally reacted this time and pushed him away. Huo Jue let go and said, did he scare you? A little. Su Yao was surprised. Who is Shirnan? Huo Jue, it doesn't matter. She has already forgotten everything, and he doesn't want to push her. He whispers, take a break, don't cook, don't tire yourself out. He goes downstairs. Su Yao holds Bao Bao in her arms, but she is puzzled. Shireen and Shirnan, she is sure she doesn't know these two people. But why does everyone say she is Shireen? Do they look that similar? What kind of story did Shireen have with Huo Jue and the others? Forget it, I don't want to think about it. A villa in the same community by the lake. Xin Yufeng dove into the cold swimming pool as soon as he got home. The water temperature was like 1,000 troops and horses surging towards his brain, so his nerves began to numb one by one. His clothes were soaked and stuck to his body, making him feel heavy. The water squeezed out all the itchy air in his chest, making him breathe rapidly and his chest ache. The figure of that woman still rushed through his bones and blood. He was in a state of disarray and collapse. For the first time in so many years, the panic and suffocation hit him suddenly. 20 minutes later, he got out of the swimming pool. The cold spread through his body, and his eyes were cold and indifferent. He walked to the living room, where Huo Jue was sitting, waiting for him for a long time. Chapter 23. The softness of their lips touching was like a world apart. Xin Yufeng had changed into dry clothes, his hair was still damp, his upright body leaned against the sofa, he lit a cigarette casually, and when he lowered his head to smoke, his eyelashes were wet and formed into wisps, adding an indescribable sense of charm to this playboy. When did Shireen come back? Huo Jue played with the lighter, not intending to smoke. A few days ago, there had just been some changes. She had forgotten about everything. She didn't know she had a sister, so don't keep asking about Shirnan. Ha! Xin Yufeng mocked, only you will always believe in Shireen so much. Has she not deceived you enough? Back then, she was with you with impure intentions. Did she love you? She didn't. You meant nothing to her. Otherwise, why would she get pregnant without telling you, give birth to a child, and then leave the child at the hospital and run away by herself? Huo Jue, if you had a little sense, you wouldn't believe her current claim of amnesia. Huo Jue put the lighter aside, his long, narrow eyes concealing his true emotions deeply, and said, she's back, and the ball also needs her. I don't want to care about anything else. Then you really are a great lover. No one knew why Shireen approached you 4 years ago, and you never found out. She said they were splitting up, and you didn't know she was pregnant. She told you to come to the hospital to pick up the baby after it was born, and you never even saw her face. Huo Jue, what do you want with a woman like that? Huo Jue clenched his fists, and those eyes became as sharp as an eagle's in an instant. Shireen is my woman, the biological mother of my daughter. If you say such things again, you and I will be enemies. Xin Yufeng slammed his eyes shut and sighed inwardly. He got up and got a bottle of whiskey and 2 glasses, poured 2 glasses, and gave one to Huo Jue. Huo Jue, we grew up together since childhood. No one wishes for your family to be happy more than I do, but that's enough. Huo Jue didn't touch the drink, and interrupted Xin Yufeng's next words, relationships are like water that can't be turned back. I feel about Shireen the same way you feel about Shirnan. If you have any prospects, forget about Shirnan and find someone else to marry and have children with. Xin Yufeng paused, tilted his head, and gulped down a glass of wine. The hot, burning wine poured down his throat and into his stomach like fire. His long, delicate eyelashes covered his expression, and he saw the darkness at the corners of his eyes was so intense. He poured another glass. His voice was a little hoarse. Don't worry, I will get married in this life, and it doesn't matter who I marry. Huo Jue, drink less, I have to go back to keep the girls company, so I can't get drunk with you. He got up and walked away. After taking a few steps, he stopped and looked back at Xin Yefeng, whispering, if Shernan doesn't come back, don't wait for him anymore. Xin Yefeng tilted his head to the side and swallowed half a glass of wine. After Huo Jue left, Xin Yefeng had already finished 2 glasses of wine and felt dizzy and lightheaded. The more he drank, the clearer his head became, and Shernan's face was like a branding iron burning itself into his heart over and over again. His muscles and bones ached, and his breathing became labored. The bottle of wine was quickly emptied, and he was so drunk that he leaned over the sofa. His disheveled hair hung in front of his forehead, his pupils were dark, and his thoughts were wandering. He muttered to himself, Shernan, are you dead? Shernan, I miss you. The night was like a painting in rich, dark colors, outlining him in the darkest, loneliest corner of the painting, until dawn. When Huo Jue returned home, the house was quiet. He went upstairs and quietly opened Su Yao's bedroom door. It was silent and dark. He switched on the bedside lamp. Qiuqiu missed her mother, but obviously hadn't yet got used to sleeping with her. She was sleeping in the middle of the bed in a big C, while Su Yao was sleeping obediently in her pajamas on the side. She was small and delicate, not even filling one hand. It's cool at night this time of year. Neither of them has a quilt, so he sits by the bed and covers Su Yao with the quilt. A feminine fragrance hits him in the face, and it makes him feel restless. He looks down at her. Shireen has a top-notch complexion and unique beautiful facial features. When she was a little hottie, she was like a little wildcat, but now that she is petite and cute, the aura around her features has weakened a lot, making people unable to stop themselves from wanting to protect her. She is fair and delicate, with a jawline free of excess flesh and soft, graceful lines. When she sleeps, she looks like a jasmine flower blooming at the tips of her fingers, and she can make people's hearts beat uncontrollably just by being there. His body sinks, and a shallow kiss touches her cheek. He smells the temptation of her body fragrance and can't help but move closer, kissing her on the lips. The softness of their lips together feels like a lifetime ago. Whether she is Shireen or Su Yao, it's good that she's back. It was early in the morning. Qiuqiu was awoken by the cold. She rubbed her eyes and sat up. She shivered from the cold and blinked her curled eyelashes. Mummy had covered her up well, but she didn't have any quilt. She thought, it must be that boy Huo Jue who did it. Mummy would never do that to her. Qiuqiu crawled over, pulled back the quilt, and dug in. She used her hands and feet to cling to Su Yao. Mummy warmed Qiuqiu up. Su Yao let out a small groan, feeling refreshed. She sat up, and the chaotic images from her dream all flooded back, returning to the depths of her memory. The nightmare had disappeared without a trace before it could become a memory. Waking up, she felt only emptiness. Mommy! Qiuqiu climbed up and saw her mother in a daze. Mommy, what are you doing? Oh, nothing. Su Yao took her into the bathroom, and soon the feeling of emptiness disappeared without a trace. After tidying up, they went downstairs, where Huo Jue was cooking. Qiuqiu ran over and said, Daddy. Qiuqiu woke up from the cold. Huo Jue ladled the noodles into bowls and said, It's good that you're cold, otherwise you'd still be asleep. Qiuqiu's eyes widened. Daddy, why are you like that? Be good and sit down. It's time to eat. Okay. Qiuqiu obediently ran to her own chair, and Su Yao went to the kitchen to get the noodles. 3 bowls of noodles. A hard-boiled egg was cut into 3 slices and floated in the noodle soup, garnished with chopped green onions and shredded meat. It looked delicious. After it was served on the table, Huo Jue said, although it's not good to eat leftovers, I don't want to waste it. This is the egg that Qiuqiu brought home, let's share it. Qiuqiu's eyes lit up at the sound. Wow, Dad, you're great. Huo Jue stroked the back of her head and whispered, You're great too, my dear. Eat up. Balls nodded, picked up a piece of egg, and gave it a kiss. Su Yao also sat down, glanced at Huo Jue, and thought to herself, I didn't know he could cook. Not bad. She picked up her chopsticks and followed Ball's example, kissing the piece of egg. The mother and daughter smiled at each other again. Seeing Su Yao's rosy lips, Huo Jue couldn't help but think of last night, so he asked, What's the point of kissing it? It's just for fun. It's meaningful because it was specially brought back from school by Ball. Huo Jue asked again, Have you ever kissed anyone before? No, I haven't. I still have my first kiss. Huo Jue looked at her deeply, his eyes smiling. Su Yao, why are you looking at me like that? Nothing, let's eat. Su Yu ignored him and ate in peace. After dinner, Su Yu thought of something and used her phone to transfer 20 yuan to Huo Jue. She crept up to Huo Jue and whispered, "Boss, next time don't transfer strange numbers, so as to avoid misunderstandings. I know you don't have the slightest interest in me, I understand." Huo Jue. Chapter 24, I am absolutely prepared to be a substitute. Huo Jue sighs, okay. Su Yu pats him on the shoulder like a good friend, "That's good, you must always remember that you like Shireen, and I am a substitute, understand?" She is giving him a heads up, "Don't be infatuated with me just because I look like Shireen." Huo Jue. He pursed his lips helplessly and couldn't help but ask, "Miss Su, don't you think it's also pretty good to be Shireen? Qiuqiu likes you, and I don't dislike you either. If you become Shireen, you'll have wealth and glory." Su Yu tilted her black and white eyes downwards. "Are you swaying in the spring breeze and swaying the heart? If you like Shireen, you'll keep liking her, you can't give up halfway. Don't worry, I absolutely have the awareness to replace her. I will never take over everything that belongs to the main person. As soon as Shireen comes back, I will withdraw. I want to earn your money, I'm not interested in your person, don't have those kinds of thoughts that you shouldn't have." Huo Jue, "My thoughts about you are 100% pure." "That's more like it." Su Yu didn't understand a word he said and left. She took Ball to school. Huo Jue pinched his eyebrows, wondering when she would understand that she was Shireen. "Dad, why don't we have an electric car yet?" Ball asked in the parking lot, frowning and looking very unhappy. Huo Jue didn't waste any time with her, lifting her into the car, and Su Yu got into the back seat and held her in the car seat. "Qiuqiu, humph, you stink, Dad." Huo Jue doesn't hold back. "Who was it yesterday who said when giving their last words that they would never argue with me again?" Su Yu is surprised, "Giving their last words?" Qiuqiu giggles, "Mommy, yesterday Qiuqiu almost died, but fortunately Qiuqiu is lucky and didn't die. It was a trivial matter, Qiuqiu can handle it. Qiuqiu is super brave. Smartly, she doesn't say a word about crying yesterday." She shot her father a little glance. "Daddy, you mustn't tell Mummy that I cried because I was afraid of dying yesterday, don't tell her." Huo Jue pursed his lips, and a light smile flickered past the corner of his lips. He didn't mention it, and Ball let out a huge sigh of relief. Otherwise, she would have been so embarrassed. Su Yu kissed her. "Ball is not going to die, she will grow up healthy and safe." Of course she did. She stuck out her little feet in a smug manner. With a relieved expression on his face, Huo Jue welcomed the morning sun as he walked Ball to school. When Ball arrived at school, she repeatedly instructed her that she must ride the electric bicycle today, otherwise she would not go out of the school. Su Yu kept saying yes. They arrived at the pet shop. Su Yu jumped out of the car, and a cute smile appeared on her pretty face. "Bye, boss, see you tonight." "Okay, see you tonight." She entered the shop. Wang Yu, who opened the shop every morning on time, was drinking soy milk at the moment. "Good morning, boss." "Good morning." Su Yao put down her bag. "Wang Yu, boss, I ran into Wang Shi last night. I saw her tangled up with a guy, cuddling and hugging." Su Yao. Wang Yu, her mother happened to see it. Her mother works in the hospital taking x-rays. She probably has traditional values and couldn't bear to see her messing around with guys, so she gave her a good hiding. And guess what happened to the guy? He took off running. Su Yu pursed her lips without saying anything. Wang Yu continued, "Then she had a big row with her mother and ran away. I don't know what's happened to her now." "That's right." At that moment, the doorbell rang. A crisp, mechanical female voice said, "Welcome. We have a visitor." Su Yu and Wang Yu looked up. Su Yu frowned slightly, while Wang Yu let out a whoop, "So handsome." White shirt, black tie, and suit pants, he looked every bit the elite, with an imposing air about him. His medium-length flaxen hair neutralized the fierce aura he exuded, adding a touch of charm to his carefree and uninhibited appearance. Wang Yu ran over in small steps. "Hello, sir." Xin Yufeng smiled at her, "You're a cute little girl." Wang Yu's heart skipped a beat, and she was overjoyed. "Xin Yufeng, I'm looking for your even cuter boss." He walked over to Su Yu, looked her up and down, and indeed the woman in front of him looked very similar to Shireen in terms of dress and appearance, but her demeanor was very different. The girl in front of him looked like she had just entered the mortal world, her eyes clear and pure, not as charming and aloof as Shireen Tong's. Su Yu, holding the belief that all guests are welcome, smiled and said, "Hello, please take your eyes off me, I'm not Shireen Tong." Xin Yufeng pulled a stool over and sat down, his eyebrows raised, exuding a badass aura. I seem to hear you gritting your teeth. Su Yu's smile did not reach her eyes. Haha. Your laugh is exactly the same as that little brat, Qiuqiu. Who are you calling a brat? Miss Su, I'll make a bet with you. If I can make you laugh in the next second, you'll have lunch with me. No way. I think you're a bit annoying and won't laugh. Xin Yufeng, pack up all the cat and dog food in your store, in the warehouse and on the shelves, I'll buy it all. Su Yu was shocked. Really? Of course. Su Yu couldn't help but grin like a blooming flower, and quickly poured him a glass of water. Handsome, drink some water. Xin Yufeng looked at her face with a smile that looked like it wasn't a smile, very understanding of the times. Am I handsome now? You're not annoyed by looking at me anymore? No, when do you want it? I want it now, you don't need to pack it, it's a pain, I'll arrange for someone to come and get it. He leaned forward, his beautiful, alluring peach blossom eyes. You just smiled, didn't you? Su Yu didn't even realize the problem herself. Did I laugh? One, you came over immediately. Boss, you laughed like you'd found money, so happy. Su Yu snorted at her, you're turning your back on your own. When you didn't even see her, her eyes glued to Xin Yufeng. Su Yu had to tell Xin Yufeng, okay, I'll buy you lunch. Good, someone will come pick you up at noon. Xin Yufeng said that and left. Less than 5 minutes after he left, 10 people came to pick up the goods. They emptied her store, so the total value of the goods was 200,000 yuan. She quickly contacted the supplier, and the fastest delivery time was the next morning, so when Xin Yufeng's people came to pick Su Yu up for dinner, Su Yu also gave Wang Yu a holiday. The driver took her to the Nanfeng building, the tallest building in the east of the city, 100 floors high, with the restaurant on the 90th floor. Su Yu stood in front of the restaurant window, looking out at the view, and almost fainted. It was so high up, and the visual impact made her feel dizzy, so she quickly retreated to her seat. Xin Yufeng arrived. Su Yu watched him while drinking water. His appearance was extremely elegant, different from Huo Jue's maturity and composure. He exuded a sense of frivolity from the inside out. Su Yu thought, this doesn't look like a good person. Huo Jue is secretly lecherous, and he is very much like a flirt. Xin Yufeng sat down and raised an eyebrow. Why are you looking at the food like you're picking it out at the market? What are you thinking? Chapter 25, she's actually being a flirt. Su Yu had red lips and white teeth, and her plump lips curled up slightly, revealing a few white teeth, making her look very attractive. So how much are you? Young lady, I advise you to be polite, because I might be your brother-in-law in the future. Su Yu, first of all, I'm not a woman, and secondly, I don't have a sister. Let's not talk about your sister, let's talk about something else. Xin Yufeng casually waved his hand, and the waiter came over and respectfully said, Young master, what can I get you? Clear the area, don't let anyone on this floor, and serve this young lady a king crab to start, and you can arrange the rest. Waiter, yes. The waiter went downstairs and closed the door. Su Yu let out a gasp in her heart, so rich. The man was really handsome when he said the word clear the floor. She asked, is a king crab expensive? Xin Yufeng said leisurely, not expensive, it won't be higher than 30,000. Su Yu drew a cold breath. What do you want from me anyway? I can't afford a king crab, just get some fried rice with eggs. For a moment, Xin Yufeng believed that Su Yu was not Shireen. That year, Shireen loved seafood, and Huo Jue once took her on a boat to an island to eat. A meal of king crab was enough for ordinary people to buy a house. When did she ever worry about making a living? Now she even feels bad about money. Xin Yufeng tilted his head, and the fragile hair at the side of his face fluttered, looking both arrogant and sinister. I'll treat you, you just tell me how you lost your memory, and I'll pay for all the seafood in your next life. Su Yu sighed. Last time, Huo Jue also asked me if I had lost my memory, but I really haven't. I remember everything that happened when I was a child clearly, my classmates, my school, my teachers, getting rejected when I was looking for a job after graduating from university, and then opening a pet shop. I'm so ordinary that there's no chance I've lost my memory. Xin Yufeng obviously didn't believe it. He believed that this was the sound of time. He got up and sat down next to Su Yu. Su Yu was on her guard. What do you want? A breeze quickly swept across Xin Yufeng's peachy eyes, and for a moment it made him seem very friendly. But the next second his eyes darkened, and he grabbed Su Yu's shoulders, holding her down. He picked up Su Yu's phone on the table and unlocked it against her face. He said, You've been pretending to be stupid, so I had to resort to this. I don't believe you're not Shireen, and I don't believe there are two people in the world who are exactly the same. What are you doing? Let go of me. Shen Yufeng put his arms around her and held her neck with his arms, not letting her move, while covering her mouth. He started to make phone calls one by one. There were 150 phone numbers in the address book, and Shen Yufeng called each one. His heart raced with each call. He wished so much that someone would say, "Enin, is there something you need from your sister?" But there was no one. The clients and friends all sounded unfamiliar, none of them the ones he wanted to hear from. The king crab arrived. Shen Yufeng hadn't finished making the calls yet when Su Yao bit him, pushed him away, and glared at him. "Hurry up and make the calls, then peel the crab for me. I want to eat both of them." Bastard! Shen Yufeng sat back down in his seat and gave the king crab a punch on the back. The shell cracked open, revealing the tender meat inside. He said ruthlessly, "Eat." Su Yao. I thought rich people were all refined and cultured, with substance. Why is he so rude, like a bandit? Shen Yufeng took her phone again and continued to make phone calls, and checked WeChat. There was nothing. He couldn't find the slightest bit of news about Shernan. He put the phone back on the table, lifted his eyes slightly, and casually took a cigarette, lit it, and held it between his thin lips. Su Yao was so engrossed in her food that she forgot about everything else. King crab is so delicious. This leg meat is truly peerless. She glared at him while she ate. Shen Yufeng felt a dull pain in his chest and went to the window to get some air. The harsh smoke filled his nostrils and seeped into his heart, tearing at his chest. Before he could finish the cigarette, something happened to Su Yufeng. He was breathing rapidly and his stomach was cramping. Shen Yufeng hurriedly took her to the hospital. While she was being diagnosed in the emergency room, Huo Jue arrived. Huo Jue was dressed in a suit and his eyebrows were knitted together. What happened? Shen Yufeng, seafood allergy. Huo Jue's first reaction, impossible. Shireen loved seafood the most, how could she be allergic? Shen Yufeng, I don't believe it either, but that's what the doctor said. He thought for a moment and added, could it be that something happened to Shireen over the past 3 years, such as an injury that required hospitalization or long-term medication, which caused a change in the allergen? Huo Jue was silent. It was not impossible. When Su Yao was transferred to the general ward, it was already sunset. She had already improved, but the rashes on her face and body were still there. She leaned against the bed with an 4 drip. Her hair was falling straight down, and her eyes were haggard. Huo Jue entered the ward with Shen Yufeng, and Su Yao pouted her lips, tilting her cheeks, not looking at anyone. Huo Jue's mood improved considerably when he saw her little expression. She really looked exactly like Qiuqiu. She was cute and delicate. He sat by the bed and looked at her pretty, gentle profile and said, "You're still very pretty, just a little red. You'll be fine." Su Yao glanced at Shen Yufeng, and Shen Yufeng's face suddenly appeared in front of her. Su Yao turned her head, and Shen Yufeng followed suit, determined that she would look at him. Finally. What are you doing, childish? Shen Yufeng, I said, what are you hiding from? Why didn't you tell me you were allergic? How would I know I'm allergic? I've never eaten seafood. You've never eaten it since you were a child? Yes. Shen Yufeng and Hua absolutely glanced at each other, a little puzzled in their hearts. Could someone really lose their memory so completely? Shen Yufeng left the ward and left the two of them alone. Once in the elevator, he issued an order to his loyal subordinate. Investigate Su Yao. Investigate every detail of her life, including her siblings, and don't leave anything out. He drove directly to the kindergarten to pick up Qiuqiu. Bol was quite happy to see her second father, but when she saw his big car, she was unhappy. I want an electric car. I don't care about your stupid car, just get in. From her hair to her toes, Bol was full of anger towards Shen Yufeng. When I grow old, I won't be nice to you either. I'll be angry at you every day and make you miserable. Shen Yufeng, let's talk about that when I'm old. Are you leaving or not? If you're not leaving, I'm leaving. You figure out how to get back on your own. Here we go again. Just like that kid Huo Jue. She tilted her chin up, you can let the baby get in the car, but I want strawberries, lots and lots of strawberries, and I want a poop pink poop, just pink. Shen Yufeng. He's going to be sick from her. Pick her up and throw her in the car and leave. Su Yao sat on the bed and licked her lips at Huo Jue. Huo Jue's eyes narrowed, what's wrong? Boss. She's being cute, she's actually being cute. Huo Jue's throat tightened, you said that as long as I could do it. Her sparkling eyes were full of anticipation. I also want to eat crabs, can I eat them while I hang water? Chapter 26, Mr. Huo is full of charm. Su Yao is beautiful, with rosy lips and white teeth, and well-proportioned features. In her early years, she competed with the #1 beauty in the Chinese community in country F, and she was in no way inferior. Now her temperament has faded away from being aggressive and sharp, but her charm and the proportion of her features are still unparalleled in the world. At the moment, she is smiling at him like a child, and Huo Jue doesn't want to refuse. But he can't refuse. No. The smile disappeared from Su Yao's face in an instant. How could you? Huo Jue petted her head and cooed, good girl, you can't eat that. Su Yao lowered her head, her expression pained as she said, you're just like your friend, fondling women and acting like a lecher. Huo Jue's brows furrowed, he touched you? Yes. He hugged me, put his arm around my neck, and pressed my head against his chest. It was too much. Huo Jue endured for 5 seconds, took a deep breath, and used it to adjust himself. Nightfall. Qiuqiu slept at her second father's house today. She brought 5 cats with her to keep her company, and she jumped up and down with the cats. She slid down the slide Xin Yufeng prepared for her, holding one in her arms, shouting from afar, Daddy! Xin Yufeng's headache got worse when he saw her running around like a headstrong horse. He was holding a cigarette in his hand, but when the ball rushed at him, he threw it into the trash can. He deliberately put on a cold face and said, if you have something to say, spit it out. If you say you're going to poop pink shit again, I'll make you eat it. Then I'll poop pink shit again some other day, Dad. Do you know that I love you? More than anyone else. Xin Yufeng sensed a plot, I don't love you. Then I still love you, and besides my father, I love you the most. In the future, when you're old, I'll buy you candies, clothes, and cars and buy you a house. I'll give you whatever you want, and I'll support you in your old age. Qiuqiu will always protect her second father. Xin Yufeng watched the brat say sweet things with a serious face. She was good-looking and said it matter-of-factly. If he didn't know the girl a little, he would have believed her. He said to her, don't give me pie in the sky. I'm your father, and I'm more knowledgeable than you. If you want me to take care of your affairs, you need to break off your relationship with Huo Jue and be my daughter. Qiuqiu blared at him and said, who is Huo Jue? I don't know. Xin Yufeng said, TSK, you're quick-witted. Tell me, what does your real father do? Qiuqiu ran over, grabbed her school bag, took out a test paper and slapped it on the table. Dad, you helped Qiuqiu do it, you're the smartest. Xin Yufeng looked at the homework and saw that it was to write 10 ones and 10 twos, and to count the number of small red flowers within 5. You don't know how to do it? Ball's eyes twinkled as she said, how could that be? This is super easy. Just babysit baby, and when you're done, I'll watch cartoons with you. Xin Yufeng gave her a finger, a bad student. Bao Bao touched her forehead, smiling sweetly, Daddy is the best, hurry up and do it. Xin Yufeng picked up the pencil, and when Bao Bao saw that he started to do it, she ran away in a flash. Go play. Still, my baby is smart, she doesn't even need to hold the pencil, hee. Xin Yufeng finished the test in 1.5 minutes and wrote a line of words in a flourish. Teacher, you've worked hard. This test has nothing to do with student Hua. She didn't even look at it Huo Jue. He folded the test. Qiuqiu ran over, excitedly put the test in her little school bag, and hugged Xin Yufeng's head, kissing him hard, not knowing what the test was about at all. After the kiss, she went upstairs to the video room to watch cartoons. A few cats lined up to join her. Xin Yufeng was downstairs, and before long, Huo Jue arrived. Ha! You weren't at the hospital with Shireen tonight? Huo Jue swung his fist and punched him in the chest. Xin Yufeng staggered back, covering his chest, and looked up. What are you doing? Huo Jue said coldly, did you hug Su Yao today? No, that wasn't a special circumstance. Huo Jue's fist wind came again. 5 minutes later, Xin Yufeng coughed violently twice, staggered and leaned against the sofa, and waved at Huo Jue, give it a rest for a while. I'm not interested in Shireen. You knew that a few years ago. Huo Jue rolled up the sleeves of his shirt, revealing a strong section of his arm, with distinct muscle tone and smooth lines. His voice was indifferent. How many of the women you've touched are of interest to you? Xin Yufeng finally lit a cigarette, curling it between his slender fingers in a provocative manner. Unfortunately, he was dealing with Huo Jue, who just thought he was being flirty. Xin Yufeng, don't say I'm picky, okay? I judge people by their appearance, and I'm crazy about her. I'm warning you, don't touch Su Yao. If a hair falls at your feet, you have to back off. Hey, do you have a heart? I'm here today to entertain your daughter. Huo Jue, no, that's your daughter. He left, he needs to go to the hospital. Xin Yufeng, so you came back just to beat the hell out of me. Forget it, go upstairs and bully Qiuqiu. Huo Jue arrived at the hospital, holding a warm sweet potato in his hand. He heard it as soon as he got out of the elevator. Me and President Huo? We're not related, I work for him. I really don't have anything to do with him. If you like him, I can pass on the message. Huo Jue. He walks over and sees Su Yao, in a hospital gown, leaning against the reception desk at the nurse's station, chatting with someone with her hands resting on the counter. The lighting is soft, and she is beautiful. Her eyes are bright and pretty, and when she smiles, her face is full of collagen. Huo Jue walks forward. Oh, he can't be here to see me. He definitely doesn't have any interest in me. Huo Jue, he pauses. Nurse, really? But I think Mr. Huo has a thing for you. Su Yao looks at her like she's joking, you don't understand. He's the one who asked me to think about someone. He really doesn't like me. He's rich and has a daughter, a really rich one. If you give me your contact details, I'll recommend you to him. Really? The nurse is happy. Of course, you'd better be able to win him over in one fell swoop. Then I'll use the excuse of his recent marriage to steal his daughter away from him. Don't you like him? Su Yao waved his hand. No, I only like his money. Huo Jue. His lips pursed slightly, and the image of those women from the past who kept throwing themselves into his arms came to mind. Why didn't Su Yao throw herself at him? He walked away again. Suddenly, he saw Su Yao fling her leg at him, as if to say, go away, don't show yourself. Huo Jue. He paid no attention and kept walking, stopping in front of her. He stood tall and handsome. The nurse held her breath, her eyes glued to him, every cell in her body trembling with excitement. He was so handsome. So you gave him a look, didn't you see my hint? Huo Jue raised his hand and lightly rubbed the corner of her eye with the pad of his finger, softly saying, what's wrong? Are your eyes uncomfortable? The nurse's mouth fell open. These two were so intimate. Where was the nothingness that Miss Su had said? Su Yao pushed his hand away, leaned slightly to the side, and whispered a threat at him, why are you touching me again? Huo Jue handed her the sweet potato, his arm half open. The angle looked like a hug to others. His voice was intoxicating like the spring breeze in February. I brought you some food. I know you like it. Don't run around, just rest up. Our daughter is calling for her mommy at home, wanting her mommy to keep her company. The nurse let out an astonished sound. Oh my God. Su Yao. Chapter 27 Mr. Huo tricks a kiss. Amidst the nurse's surprised and incredulous gossip, Huo Jue pulled Su Yao into the ward. The next second, the news spread all over the VIP floor. Not only did the president of Huo Holdings, the top young master of Dongcheng, have a wife, he also had a daughter. Big news. Some people were happy, some were sad. The sad one was naturally Su Yao, who didn't want to talk to him after going in. Huo Jue also did not show any joy, but his expression was relaxed, as if he could happily accept the sky falling. Su Yao sat on the sofa, crossed her legs, hugged a pillow, looked out the window, and did not move. Huo Jue sat facing her, leaned forward, and showed her his face. Su Yao turned her head and did not look. Huo Jue's chest vibrated as he silently chuckled. He offered her a sweet potato, but Su Yao said no. He took another sweet from his pocket and offered it to her, but Su Yao said no again. Huo Jue began to peel the sweet potato, revealing the dark outer skin and the sweet, soft flesh inside. The smell spread to Su Yao, and she couldn't help but swallow. Huo Jue took his long, slender fingers and bit by bit peeled off the skin of the sweet potato. The process was pleasing enough to watch, and for a moment she couldn't tell if it was the smell of his hands or the sweet potato that was so appealing. As she watched, her head twisted around, and she stared at him. After peeling off most of the skin, Huo Jue brought the sweet potato to his mouth. Su Yao gasped, how dare you eat it? Huo Jue suppressed a smile in his eyes and pointed to the door, look there. Su Yao subconsciously looked, but there was nothing there. She turned her head back suddenly. Ha! Her lips touched his face. The warm, unfamiliar touch made her whole body stiffen, her breathing come to a halt, and her pupils dilate. Ah! Her heart screamed in madness. Huo Jue. He paused for 2 seconds and stepped back. Seeing that she was still in a daze, he coughed. "Miss Su, why did you kiss me?" "My brain is down, I can't speak clearly, I didn't." "Huo Jue, I wanted to feed you a bite of sweet potato, but I didn't expect you." "Oh my god." She lost her first kiss. Su Yao's face was as red as a boiled shrimp, looking especially delicate and delicious, like something you'd want to devour in one bite. She was at a loss for words and stammered, "I didn't kiss you, you did it on purpose." Huo Jue spoke sternly, "How could I let you kiss me when I have Shireen in my heart?" Huo Jue pulled his tie, accentuating his sexy Adam's apple. His handsome face was expressionless, and his voice was indifferent, but it's a good thing it was just a kiss on the cheek and not anywhere else. "I've lived in the West for many years, so I'll take it as a sign of politeness and friendship from you, Miss Su." Su Yao went along with this line of reasoning, and said, yes, don't think anything else." "I dare not think anything else." "What if you ignore me again?" "What should I do?" Su Yao was not confident and spoke very quietly. Huo Jue added, "Then you didn't think I was being silly when I was outside just now, did you?" "I was telling the truth. The ball really does call you mummy, really misses you, really wants you to come home, and she ordered me to take care of you. You also know that a good family environment for a child is loving parents. Although we don't go as far as to use the word loving, we should at least get along and create an illusion for her." Su Yao felt that he had a good point. "Well, I'm not imagining things." "That's good, eat." Huo Jue handed over the sweet potato, Su Yao took it, took a bite, and the sweet flavor spread throughout her taste buds. Her little emotions disappeared without a trace, and she narrowed her eyes in contentment. Huo Jue looked at her with a smile that looked like it might turn into a frown. After a while, Su Yao remembered something. "Boss. Ha? When you were in the West, did a lot of people kiss you on the cheek?" "No, just a lot of pecking on the cheek, only sometimes Tong has kissed me." Su Yao moved closer to him and asked while eating, "So were you too close? Why did she leave you?" Huo Jue glanced at her lips, which were covered in sweet potato flesh, enchanting and watery, plump and soft. His eyes narrowed half closed. "We were very close, otherwise there wouldn't be a ball." Su Yao showed a bit of a mischievous expression, glanced at his there in the corner of her eye, and giggled. "Huo Jue." He took a deep breath. "Little grapefruit." "Ha? What kind of name is that?" "I suggest you don't think about unhealthy things while eating sweet potatoes. It's not good for you or me. I'm just curious." "Then I'll show you something that looks like a sweet potato?" Su Yao reacted, and stopped eating the sweet potato. "You're being a jerk again, I'm going to bed." She went into the bathroom, and Huo Jue went out onto the balcony to get some cold air. For a moment, he wondered if Su Yao really had amnesia, because otherwise she was just like Shireen, teasing him with those eyes that were sacred and untouchable. Half an hour later, Huo Jue entered the ward, and Su Yao was lying on the bed in a big, wide-eyed pose, glaring at him. "Boss, you go back to sleep, I'm here alone." "I'll sleep on the sofa. But I'm not sure about your character." Huo Jue took off his suit jacket, revealing a golden ratio body with broad shoulders and narrow hips. He sat down, his eyes deep and dark. "If I really did something to you, it would be the same outcome whether you trust me or not. You won't be able to escape." Su Yao shrugged her nose and glanced at his face, his figure, and his bearing. She thought to herself that this rascal is really good looking. She hugged the quilt and fell asleep, thinking about the kiss before falling asleep. The scoundrel really is bad to the core. The next day, Su Yao observed that nothing happened overnight, so she was discharged from the hospital. When she went through the discharge procedures, the nurses' expressions were different, respectful, enthusiastic, and polite, as if they were about to call her Mrs. Hua. After being discharged from the hospital, she went to the pet shop, where a shipment was due to arrive in the morning. Half an hour before school let out in the afternoon, the kindergarten called and asked her to go to school. This was the first time that Balbal had called his parents. Su Yao rode her bike as fast as she could and arrived in a hurry. In the office, she saw Xin Yufeng again. And Balbal, who was standing there with a test paper in his hand. As soon as Balbal saw her, his eyes darted around. Why did the teacher call his mommy too? Su Yao went over and took Balbal's hand. "Teacher Wang, what's wrong with Balbal?" Teacher Wang smiled. "It's not a big deal, it's just asking parents to do their children's homework for them, which is not good." She handed the test to Su Yao. Su Yao looked at it and said, "Teacher, you have worked hard. This test paper has nothing to do with student Hua." She didn't even look at it, it was Huo Jue. If this was actually done by Huo Jue, then why did Xin Yufeng come? Of course Xin Yufeng didn't want to come. It was that little bastard Huo Jue who stole it from the principal's office and used the principal's phone to call him and ask him to come. He thought the girl had been bullied at school, so he left a dozen shareholders behind and came running over for this nonsense. "Mommy," said Balbal with a smile, "you go back first. This is no trouble for mommy, I and second dad can handle it." Su Yao smiled at her, said a few more polite things to the teacher, and left. After she left the office, Balbal bowed to the teacher. "Teacher Wang, Balbal knows she was wrong, don't be angry." Xin Yufeng was calm and collected, and he just had to see how the girl would try to appease the teacher. Teacher Wang smiled sweetly. "I know you didn't do it on purpose, and I'm not angry, but this is still not right, do you understand?" Bao Bao understood, and said, "I'll let my father apologize to you." "Xin Yufeng?" Bao Bao pulled Xin Yufeng up from his seat and tugged at his clothes. "Apologize to our teacher." Xin Yufeng wanted to lift her head, but he restrained himself in front of the teacher. He bowed and apologized. Teacher Wang could not bear to have such a big shot bow to her, so she quickly returned the bow. Qiuqiu frowned and said seriously, "Teacher, it's because my father didn't educate me well that I wanted my father to do my homework for me. In the future, my father will definitely manage me well." Xin Yufeng, damn, it's still his fault? Teacher Wang couldn't help but laugh. Good, Qiuqiu is awesome. Qiuqiu made a deep self-reflection in front of her teacher and the school day was over. She got into Xin Yufeng's car as if nothing had happened, and with so many children, the car didn't even start. Qiuqiu leaned on Xin Yufeng, who was disgusted. "Get away from me." Qiuqiu sat on his lap and patted his chest. "Dad, it's all trivial, don't worry about it. You should have told me when you were being scolded. Why didn't you tell Huo Jue? My second father is nice to me, and he doesn't punish me. Of course I came to you. Xin Yufeng, next time I'll throw you in the river and you can be born again." "Dad." Balbal tilts her little head, accentuating her pair of wise eyes. "You must love me so much that you can't bear to let me go." "I love you my ass. But I love you. Again." Whenever Huo Qiuqiu confesses her love, it's never a good thing. Xin Yufeng stares at her. "What do you want now?" Qiuqiu takes out her homework book from her little school bag. "Dad, I'm counting on you. You've got some nerve, making me do my homework again. Don't panic, we have to be brave. You have to be clever this time, and don't let my teacher find out. You can imitate baby's handwriting." Xin Yufeng takes a deep breath and holds back. "Unfilial daughter, can you please make it easier for your father?" Qiuqiu giggles. "Daddy is the best, Qiuqiu loves daddy, remember to write." "No. You write, baby will help you find a wife." "Huh?" Xin Yufeng suddenly realizes that Huo Qiuqiu and Su Yao are so close, and maybe he can get some news about Shernan from Su Yao. He finds a photo of Shernan and shows it to Qiuqiu. "Daddy has packed your homework, you recognize the face of this person, if you see this person next to your mommy, come tell me immediately." "Okay, Dad." After saying this, Qiuqiu pushed open the door and ran. In the distance, Su Yao was still sitting on the electric bicycle. Mommy. Xin Yufeng, it was really comical when he looked at his school bag and the homework. His mother opened the door to comical and it was really comical. What was even more comical was that he pinned his hopes of finding Shernan on a 3.5-year-old child. What could she possibly see? Chapter 28, it looked like a family of 3. Su Yao returned the ball to the home, and the two of them sang along the way. She took her to the carousel and then to the supermarket, and they didn't return home until the sun was setting. Huo Jue had also returned, changed into his loungewear, and was waiting for them at home. "Good evening, boss." "Good evening, Dad." The big and little ones entered the kitchen with their shopping bags, with the little one holding the bag in front of her as she ran along quickly. She had bought a lot of candy, and her father had forbidden her to eat it, but she wanted to. How could Huo Jue not know what was going on in her head? He just didn't want to deal with it. In the evening, Yun's sister cooked dinner, and after dinner they took Balbal for a run together, just like a family of 3. They also went together to feed the 20 cats. These cats all live in the large flat in the backyard, more than 100 square meters, and each cat has its own bed, its own cat climbing frame, and its own toys. There are 2 servants who are responsible for feeding and caring for them. The next day, Su Yao still rides her bike to take Balbal to school, and when they get there, Xin Yufeng brings her school bag. "Good job, Dad." She pats her chest and draws a pie again. "Balbal will find you lots of wives, and they'll all be beautiful." Xin Yufeng puts on his sunglasses, looks down the court with superiority, and says, I thank your whole family. You're welcome, this is what fathers and daughters-in-law should do. Qiuqiu waved goodbye as Qiuqiu walked away with her school bag. Xin Yufeng looked at her and thought, if he and Shernan had stayed together back then, their children would be the same age now. Only Meow Pet Shop. The shelves were once again full, and in the morning alone, 3 cats and 2 dogs came to bathe. Su Yu and Wang Yu were so busy that they put an ad for a job in the paper at lunchtime. 2 people showed up in the afternoon, both girls, and Wang Yu took charge of them. The next day when she went to work, her neighbor called to say that something had happened at her father's repair shop. Su Yu hurriedly took a taxi back to her father's place. It was located in a remote area, and the rent was not cheap, 100,000 a year. As soon as she arrived, she saw that the shop had been vandalized. There were a lot of people gathered in front of the shop, a group of burly men. The man in charge of them pointed at Su Hua and cursed. Su Yu quickly dialed 110, and after that, she rushed over and stood in front of Su Hua. What do you want to do to my father? Su Yu faced these men, and her physique gave them the visual judgment that it would be as easy to crush her as an ant. Hey, the daughter of the little cripple is quite pretty, what's the matter, do you still want to stick up for your father? He dared to steal the check from my car after fixing it, if he doesn't hand it over, I'll waste his other leg today. Su Yu's father had a limp and didn't walk very well. She hated it when people called her father a cripple, just as she hated it when people called her mother a mute. My father could not have stolen your money, so why are you accusing him? If you're so smart, call the police. As soon as she finished speaking, 2 police cars arrived. Su Yu took the opportunity to look at Su Hua, whose face was lined with the vicissitudes of life. Dad, are you okay? Su Hua's eyes widened, and he looked at the police car nonchalantly before bowing his head and saying to Su Yu, Dad is fine. 5 or 6 policemen arrived, and the man looked very arrogant. At this time, Su Hua walked up to the man and patted him on the shoulder. The man said disdainfully, Don't touch me with your dirty hands. Su Hua laughed instead of getting angry. Young man, why get so angry? You lost your check, but you're sure it was in the car? You didn't look for it on you? Pa, I clearly put it on the man's side while I was feeling it, but I found a piece of paper in the lining pocket of my jacket. I took it out and looked at it, and it was his check. Su Hua's face was all streaked with tears, and it was impossible to see his expression. Su Yu walked up, the check is on you, you have wronged my father so much, apologize to my father, and then compensate us for our losses. The man glanced at the people around him, and slightly looked a bit at fault, but there was the police, so as not to get himself into trouble. Said, okay, you 2 figure out how much I'll pay. The police saw that the troublemaker was willing to pay compensation and left. As soon as they left, the man's face changed. I'll show you. He arrogantly put the check back in his pocket. I'm not giving it to you, what are you going to do about it? Su Yu was so angry that her anger shot straight through her body. She walked up to him, but Su Hua pulled her back. Just as a gust of autumn wind blew by, kicking up dust, everyone closed their eyes at the same time, including Su Yu. 2 seconds later, Su Hua said, Forget it then. The car is fixed, just take it and drive away. As long as you don't come looking for trouble in the future. The man rubbed his eyes and looked at Su Hua contemptuously. You old fool, you know better. Let's go. The 3 men drove off in their car. Su Yu was furious. Dad, why did you let them go? This is outrageous. Su Hua picked up the wrench on the ground. His clothes were covered in oil stains, making him look very disheveled, but his expression was calm as a meditating monk. It's fine, it's just a loss of some money, we'll just buy it again. Go inside and close the door, at noon Dad will give you some stewed bones to eat. Su Yu was furious, I'm not eating it. Su Hua helplessly pulled her into the house, closed the door, and went to the backyard. The facade was only 40 square meters, but the backyard was large, with some flowers and plants, a bedroom, a kitchen and dining room, and a small study. In the low-pitched house, her mother, Wanku, used a chopstick to tie her hair up on her head and was painting. She didn't apply any makeup, and her eyebrows and eyes were light. It was so noisy outside, but she was intent on painting, and her study was full of sketches. Su Yu often felt that it was simply miraculous that her mother and father had been able to get together. One was immersed in books, the other in the smell of gasoline. They were very different, and one was mute and the other was crippled. Mom! Su Yu went to the window and stretched her neck to take a look at the painting. Her mother was painting a bird. She didn't have any reference material, but she was able to paint the bird lifelike. Wank looked up at her, smiled, pointed to the dining room, and told her to go play there. Su Yao wanted to tell her mother what was going on outside, but then she thought, her mother just couldn't speak, and she could hear it, too. With all the noise from the shop being destroyed, how could she not hear it so close by? She guessed her mother didn't want to get involved, so she didn't say anything. She went to the dining room and sat there for a while. Su Hua came after getting changed, wearing a rough and tumble shirt that was probably worth a total of 100 yuan. Her father had given all his money to her mother to buy paints. My daughter. Su Yu didn't want to talk. Su Hua sat down and placed a piece of paper between two fingers in front of her. Su Yu took a look and saw it was a check for 3 million yuan. No wonder the man was yelling in a panic at such a large sum. She was taken aback. Dad, this. He smiled at Su Yu and said, what do you think? Dad, how did you manage to do it? Su Hua smiled without saying a word, got a bottle of AD calcium milk for Su Yu, stuck the straw in for her, and said softly, have some, it will calm you down. Su Yu took the milk, started to drink, and looked at Su Hua curiously, blinking her eyes without saying a word. Su Hua rubbed her head, silly girl, is it easy for a cripple like Dad to open a store? You have to avoid offending people without offending them. Dad, you're right, that's true wisdom. She said, so what's going on? A good wind from the east. Su Hua said without further explanation, don't panic when things happen. Of course you can fight back where you are if you are being bullied, but if you are in a disadvantaged position, you want to vent your anger, then poke at his weak points, so that he is unaware of it, so that he is at a loss, and the wise man will never suffer. Well, I will definitely listen to my father. Su Yao always felt that her father was very clever, wise if not stupid. What about the check? Su Hua took out a lighter, clamped the check in it, and burned it directly. Su Yao. But this is 3 million. She had to work at Huo Jue's place for more than 2 years to earn this much money, and her father didn't even look at it before burning it. Chapter 29. Are you two going to get close together? The paper got shorter and shorter as it burned, and in the flames she suddenly saw a powerful handwritten name, Huo Jue. She immediately went to get it, but Su Hua stepped aside to stop her. What are you doing? Be careful, it's hot. The two characters quickly burned away, and Su Yu had to withdraw her hand. This is a lot of money, Dad, don't you feel bad? Su Hua, it's just a piece of paper. Come on, let's go shopping with Dad and buy the ingredients. Okay. Su Hua walked in front of her, his broad back, walking up and down, just as ordinary as before, but Su Yao felt that her father's image in her heart had become much taller. Being able to so easily take a check from someone's pocket right under their nose and not get caught, what kind of skill is that? Most importantly, he doesn't even care about the 3 million. As they got into Su Hua's tricycle, Su Yao asked, Dad, will the man notice? Su Hua half closed his eyes and looked at the potholed road, saying, no, even if he does notice, he won't suspect me. Don't worry, Dad knows what he's doing. Okay, Su Yao didn't ask anymore. Although this kind of behavior is not good, some people just need to be taught a lesson to keep them in line. Her father had difficulty walking, so she had to accompany him to buy the materials and tidy up the shop. She definitely wouldn't have time to go to the shop again today. Dad, Su Yao said into the wind, when I earn some money, I'll buy you and Mom a big house. Su Hua's face was hidden by his beard, but she could see the gentle smile in his eyes. Don't tire yourself out, don't worry, and don't worry about buying a house. Your mother and I are fine living here. But how can that be? It's too small, and painting is expensive. Dad works too hard, she said. Su Hua said, if you don't have any money, you can steal one of your mom's paintings and sell it quietly. We don't need to buy a house, we're used to living here and we feel at home. Su Yu grabbed Su Hua's arm and said, Dad, can we really sell it? How much can we get for it? Su Hua shrugged and laughed again, changing his tone, I'm just teasing you. Your mom paints as a hobby, so how much could it be worth? Su Yu thought so too. If they could really sell them, the two of them wouldn't be living such a tight budget. The two of them went to the market and bought spare ribs and lamb, as well as some side dishes, to have a hot pot for lunch. Su Yu didn't leave until 4 o'clock, and went to kindergarten to fetch her ball and go home. When she got home, Huo Jue sent a message saying that he had something to do tonight and would not be back for dinner. The Huo building, standing in the heart of the city where every inch of land is worth its weight in gold, is an iconic building in Dongcheng. In the car, Huo Jue wore a Bluetooth headset, tired and depressed, his precious masculine aura spreading in the immaculate car cabin. He took out his phone and Su Yao sent a WeChat message. Okay, boss, you work hard, come on. Huo Jue silently raised the corners of his lips. Having a woman at home had become the greatest thing he looked forward to every day when he came home. Unfortunately, he couldn't go home on time tonight. Half an hour later, the car arrived at the largest entertainment club in Dongcheng. Huo Jue went in and went to their regular private room. Everyone was there. Xin Yufeng, Qiuqiu, and other friends from their circles. As usual, it was a gathering of friends. As soon as he arrived, Qiuqiu stood up. With his short, smartly cut hair, his bushy eyebrows and starry eyes, and his straight and upright figure, he looked like a soldier who had just been discharged from the army. He shook hands with Huo Jue. Huo Jue, welcome back, safety is best. Qiuqiu's dark eyes were sharp and had the spirit of a soldier. Thanks for asking. After the pleasantries, they sat down. Xin Yufeng pushed a glass of wine towards Huo Jue. Want some? I'm going to be home with my daughter in a while, so I won't be drinking. You haven't had a drink with me in 3.5 years. Do you only have your daughter in your heart and not me anymore? Am I not your favorite anymore? Huo Jue loosened his tie and looked at him indifferently. Try acting weird again. Xin Yufeng put his hand on his shoulder and his peachy eyes shone with light. Bro, you're both amateurs when it comes to chasing women. Let me teach you a trick. You drink some wine, get a bit tipsy, and then let Suzy come pick you up. She can't drive, so she'll come on her electric bicycle. You two will be crammed into a tiny bicycle, so will you hold her? Will you be pressed up against each other? Huo Jue fell into deep thought. 2 seconds later, he pushed away Xin Yufeng. He picked up his wineglass and clinked it with Qiuqiu. Here's to your welcome home. Xin Yufeng. Qiuqiu had a poker face and never smiled. I haven't been home for all these years, thank you for taking care of my family. I didn't do anything, you're welcome. The two men tilted their heads back, and Huo Jue gulped down half the glass in one go. I'm going to the bathroom. He got up and went to the bathroom in the private room to send a message to Su Yao. Miss Su. Boss, I'm here. Can you come pick me up? I've had too much to drink. Su Yao could hardly say no. With a monthly salary that high, this was also within the scope of her job. Okay. Huo Jue replied again. Both Uncle Huo and the family chauffeur have gone off duty. How will you come? Su Yao, then the boss will have to take my electric car. Don't mind the inconvenience. Just what he wanted. Huo Jue hid his emotions and replied in a normal tone, no, I'll wait for you. He sent a location. When he left, he heard Xin Yufeng and Qiuqiu say, in the early years, a chick dumped him over and over again, and gave him a daughter. She disappeared and recently reappeared, and she even forgot about Lao Hua. She lives in his house, and he still treasures her like his life. Qiuqiu played with a very precious limited edition lighter. In the light, he looked ascetic and masculine. Lip Qi, your woman doesn't treasure waiting for someone else to love her? Xin Yufeng, that's right, but I'm telling you this mainly so that you and I can laugh at Hua together, you fucker. Huo Jue walked over and had another small drink with Qiuqiu. Qiuqiu asked, do you and Yufeng still play racing these years? No. Huo Jue put down his wineglass, leaned back in his seat, rested his elbows on the armrests of the sofa, and exuded a mature and elegant air that was out of place at this occasion. He said, after having a daughter, I stopped doing any dangerous activities. Xin Yufeng lit a cigarette, held it between his lips, and his peachy eyes under his bushy eyebrows were dazzling and mesmerizing. Indeed, I also want to cherish my life. 5 years ago, a well-known racer from country F had an accident on the track, and no one knows whether he is dead or alive. What's more, this racing driver is said to be a legendary figure. It is rumored that he has the ability to remove objects from a distance. It is said that even if you stand in front of him, he can take everything from you without you knowing. This technique is truly amazing. Not only that, he is also a master of the casinos in Las Vegas. He continued, Old Huo and I once visited him, but we never even saw his face. If he is still alive, I really want to meet him and see what kind of person he is. Huo Jue didn't say anything, he was very mysterious. Qiuqiu, if you don't want to play, don't. He changed the subject. Brother Huo, since you have a woman at home, then my cousin Qiuqiu, I heard in the army that after my cousin came to the East City, she had a crush on you. I'll talk to her some other time and let her give up her illusions. Huo Jue, good, I have a girl I want to spend my life with, and she happens to be right by my side. I've already decided on her. As soon as he said that, the door to the private box opened, and a woman in a white dress entered. She saw Huo Jue among the crowd without a doubt, and looked at him with a smile. Chapter 30, When will he see her jealous? Qiuqiu saw that his cousin had arrived and got up, inging. Sun Ying had to turn her attention to Qiuqiu's face, cousin. After that, she gave her attention back to Huo Jue. Mr. Hua. Sun Ying stroked the dark hair at the side of her face, smiling, with two dimples as gentle as Su Yao's. Xin Yufeng watched the show, and more than once he felt that Sun Ying looked a little like Shireen. Qiuqiu got up, about to call out to her, but Huo Jue got up. I have something else to do, you guys talk first. He left, and Sun Ying happened to pass by him. She reached out to grab her, but Huo Jue avoided her. A trace of disappointment flashed in Sun Ying's dark eyes, but she quickly smiled again. Brother Huo Jue, are you leaving as soon as I arrive? Qiuqiu's mother is coming to pick me up, so I'll be going. He wanted to let her know that she had no chance, and Sun Ying was startled. Qiuqiu's mother? Who is this? Huo Jue left the door decisively. Sun Ying wanted to go after him, but Qiuqiu stopped her, inging. Cousin, don't pull me. Sun Ying. This is a warning. The low voice made Sun Ying stop in her tracks. Qiuqiu, Huo Jue has a girlfriend now, so don't go stirring up trouble. He has a daughter and now a family. You're a good girl, you must understand that not destroying other people's families is the moral bottom line for adults. Sun Ying couldn't accept the news for a moment. Obviously, not long ago, Huo Jue was still alone, so how could he have a girlfriend now? Sun Bao, clenched my fists in silence. Cousin, I understand. Qiuqiu nodded with relief, and Xin Yufeng, who was not far away, saw her expression of hidden suffering. He thought to himself that this girl would definitely get in the way between Huo Jue and Su Yao, and she would never give up. Downstairs. Huo Jue arrived at the parking lot, but Su Yao had not yet arrived. Leaning against the car door, he looked up at the dark sky with sparse stars. The shadows were dim, and his tall figure exuded the poise and elegance of a wealthy young master. He seemed like a strong shadow splitting the crowded parking lot, leaving an indelible landscape of masculine beauty. There was a lot of traffic in front of the clubhouse, and both men and women kept looking back. Eventually, a woman in a daring outfit approached. She didn't know his true identity, but she was attracted to his appearance. Sir, do you want to play? She gave a suggestive expression. Huo Jue, waiting for my wife. He did not scorn or belittle the woman's bold act of asking him out, but only stated it coldly. He is taken, so there is no need to ask. The woman was momentarily stunned, then smiled, revealing an expression of envy, backed up, and walked away. Not far away, the young girl on the electric bicycle came towards him in the nightlight, and the evening wind blew her hair about. He walked onto the main road to make sure she could see him. Whoosh! The electric bicycle stopped perfectly in front of Huo Jue. Her little face was flushed from the wind, but her eyes had a purity and clarity that the others lacked. She was unique in her beauty. Boss, my skills are good, aren't they? Huo Jue couldn't help but soften his tone. Good. You're not drunk enough to sit down, are you? Huo Jue paused for 2 seconds and replied, I think I can sit still. I'll hold on to you. Ha! Su Yao patted the back seat and said, Get in. Okay. Huo Jue glanced at the little electric car. He had never ridden in one before, and today was the first time. He didn't know how to get on, but wherever his eyes fell, in addition to the narrow seat, there was also her small waist that couldn't be held in one hand. It looked tempting and easy to hold. He lifted his step and was about to get on, when suddenly a man rushed out. President Hua, I finally found you. Huo Jue and Su Yao turned around together and saw a burly man. Is that him? The man who smashed her father's repair shop this morning. What a narrow escape, I actually ran into him here. Huo Jue said, Who are you? President Hua, I am Sun Ying's real brother, Sun Dian. What is it? The man said anxiously, Can you write another check? I lost that check. Huo Jue's expression was frosty. What check? When did you and I have any financial dealings? I know, it's the one you gave my sister. I know you have a thing for my sister, and gave her 3 million in pocket money. My sister and I asked me to cash it, but... Su Yao immediately poked her curious head out, staring at Huo Jue. Wow, you don't like Shireen anymore? Huo Jue's breath instantly turned cold, but he still drew a little tenderness for Su Yao, whispering, No, he's talking nonsense. Su Yao blinked, her face full of curious gossip. If you like someone else, just tell me, I'll help you woo them. Forget Shireen, look ahead. Huo Jue, when will he see her jealous? He looked at the man again, and the tenderness in his eyes disappeared completely. I don't have the slightest romantic feeling for your sister, and secondly, this money is not for pocket money, it is for Sun Ying's help with my daughter. Finally, since it was lost, I am not responsible. This was also heard by Xin Yufeng and Sun Ying, who were walking behind them, while Qiuqiu went to talk to other friends. Sun Ying's heart felt a pang as she heard this. She walked forward and saw Su Yao, who was sitting on an electric bicycle. She was not wearing any makeup, her skin was fair, her features were delicate, and she had a gentle temperament. Jealousy and inferiority instantly filled her heart, and her hostility towards Su Yao rose at the same time. Ying, tell me, is that check the allowance Mr. Huo gave you? Didn't you say that Mr. Huo has a special liking for you? Sun Dian asked, clutching Sun Ying's hand. Sun Ying was momentarily at a loss for words and dared not look into Huo Jue's eyes. Su Yao secretly tugged Huo Jue's sleeve, and Huo Jue bent slightly. Su Yao said to him, "This girl is very pretty, and she still likes you." Huo Jue frowned. "What does it have to do with me?" Su Yao pursed her lips, and said, "It's none of your business, but you gave her so much money." Sun Ying took several seconds to muster the courage to look at Huo Jue, and said sweetly, "Huo Jue, I'm sorry, maybe my brother misunderstood." Sun Dian poked her in the back, telling her to let Huo Jue reissue the check. Sun Ying found it hard to say, but the money was not a thank you fee from Huo Jue. When he gave her the check, he said he hoped that she and he would not meet again in the future. Her own brother always looked down on her, saying that she would never be able to make Huo Jue like her in her life, so she said the opposite. She didn't intend to give him this check, and it was Sun Dian who snatched it from her. Her lips moved a few times, but she didn't have the face to ask Huo Jue to make it up to her. When she didn't say anything, Sun Dian couldn't help it. "President Huo, I'm sure you don't care about the 3 million, but you promised to give my sister the money, and since the money hasn't reached us, you naturally have to be responsible for it." Puff. Su Yao couldn't help but laugh out loud. Sun Ying and his brother and sister all looked at her. Sun Dian had been so eager for Huo Jue to make up the check that he hadn't noticed her. Only now did he see her, sitting on the electric bicycle, small in stature. "It's you?" Sun Dian was furious when he saw her. "Did you father and son steal my check?" Huo Jue whispered to Su Yao, "Do you know him?" Su Yao, "Yes, this is the bully. This morning, he went to my father's shop to fix his car, falsely accused my father of stealing his check, and then smashed my father's repair shop." Huo Jue's gaze finally met his. Sun Ying already sensed a strong sense of danger at this time, but Sun Dian did not realize it. "Humph. If I find evidence that your father did it, I'll smash his people." As soon as he finished speaking, a shadow enveloped him, and Huo Jue's thunderbolt-like aura exploded. "Say that again." "Mr. Huo, I." Huo Jue kicked out with one foot, and this instantaneous explosive force made Sun Dian fly. "Ah!" he screamed. "Ah!" Su Yao laughed.